Chenlu has 27 days before the world collapses, and he is spending a fortune like a man who already knows the future. Everyone thinks he has lost his mind, but when the zombies rise, every truckload of food will become more valuable than gold. Chenlu doesn't say a word, just watches them leave. Then he opens the back of the truck alone and stands there smiling at a mountain of pork. Because in 27 days, every pound of that meat is worth more than gold by weight. 3 days ago, this man was starving in the apocalypse. 80% of humanity turns into zombies. The rest get eaten by them. A tiny number wake up with powers, and Chenlu pulled the rarest one, space, the ability that earned him the title Void Sovereign. Once he mastered void travel, nobody could touch him. So he did the smart thing and kept his head down while the world ate itself. He outlived all of it. Monsters everywhere, no humans left, nobody to talk to. Chenlu survived so long that living itself began to feel meaningless. So he buried himself, but then woke up at home 27 days before the first zombie. Most of his power is gone. However, the subspace came back with him, and inside that space time doesn't move. Whatever goes in stays exactly as fresh as the day it went in, so he starts buying. He barely finishes storing everything when his phone rings. The voice on the other end tells him to get to the office right now. They need to talk. It's his uncle Chengen. The office Jinan opens with concerned act. Jianan acts concerned after hearing that Chenlu sold 3 billion in shares for only 1 billion, and he demands an explanation. He even asks whether Chenlu still sees him as family and pretends he would deal with anyone threatening his nephew. Uncle's here and Chenlu sits there listening to this man offer to protect him, the same man who killed his parents. Because in the last life, when everything was already burning, his cousin Fei let it slip. The car crash wasn't a crash. Jianan planned it, and took the shares his parents left behind and spent years playing the loving uncle at family dinners. If Fei never opened his mouth, Chenlu would have died trusting this guy. So, he plays it dumb. Tells Jianan nobody threatened him, he just really believes in pork. Says the price is going to explode, so the million he spent turns into 5. Jianan is genuinely wondering whether his nephew has lost his mind, and the pressure is clearly getting to him. However, then Chen's phone goes off. He steps out, picks up, asks who's calling. Voice on the line says they found it, the black dog with one ear missing. This is the moment Chenlu lights up for real. Because back in the apocalypse, people started ranking the awakened elemental users. Like the top fire user was a woman called Scarlet Rose, but the strongest lightning user in the entire world was a dog. Anything alive that didn't turn zombie could awaken. So, the Lightning King was out there ranked above almost every human being on the planet. In the early days when food ran out, that dog looked like dinner to everybody who saw it in China. Chenlu was the only one who managed to catch it. He was also the one who ate it. Starvation had pushed him beyond ordinary choices. He remembers the taste. The memory even makes his mouth water for a second, but the photo confirms the missing left ear and proves this is the same dog. This time, Chenlu plans to raise the dog instead, because his second chance is about building something better rather than repeating the past. Chenlu wants the dog at his side. That choice mattered more to him than revenge. Then an hour later at Dog Meat Hall, Chen found the dog locked in a cage. The poor thing looked miserable and Chenlu couldn't help thinking how different it would become in the apocalypse. Then Chenlu walked up to it with a grin and quietly said not to worry. He had come to save it. He turned and demanded the shop owner come out at once. The owner Pasha appeared and politely asked why Chen had come. He pointed at the dog and accused Pasha of stealing it. He said if he had come any later, his black dog would have ended up as meat. Chenlu explained that the dog used to be a stray so he took it in. Then asked if Pasha was really trying to cause him trouble. In reply, Pasha said he bought all the dogs through legal channels and claimed they all looked alike, so Chenlu must be mistaken. Chenlu only smiled and repeated, legal channels. He warned Pasha to call the police and verify that story if he was so sure. He knew shady businesses never want real checks, and just as he expected, Pasha panicked. Pasha rushed at him in anger, yelling that he couldn't do that. Chenlu laughed, asked if he wanted a fight, and said he'd teach him a lesson. He grabbed Pasha's arm and kicked him down in one clean move. After all the training Chenlu had done in the apocalypse, a guy like Pasha didn't scare him. Pasha cried out in pain from the hit. Chenlu looked down at Pasha and asked how that felt. Then he asked if Pasha still wanted to fight. To his surprise, Pasha instantly begged for mercy. He claimed it was all a misunderstanding and swore he didn't know the dog belonged to him. Pasha quickly brought the dog out and said he'd deal with the person who sold him the black dog. He even told Chenlu to take the dog back for free. Chenlu accepted and said Pasha's attitude was decent enough, so he'd let him off this time. Deep down, he was thrilled. Chenlu had been ready to spend all his money for this dog, but since it was being handed over for free, there was no reason to say no. At last, he got the dog and Pasha eagerly urged him to leave the shop. He named the dog Blackie and told him they were going home. On the way, he wondered if the dog was already spiritual enough to understand people. He was right. Blackie could hear and understand him and was stunned that Chenlu had called him Blackie. Still, since Chenlu had saved him, he considered going along with him. Seeing that Chenlu was overjoyed, the dog really was spiritual, which meant he had picked up the Lightning King with almost no effort. Once they were settled in the car, Chenlu told him that from now on his name would be Dharma King, and that they'd live together. Dharma King answered with a happy bark. As they headed home, he thought about how to build trust between them. He told Dharma King they'd first go get some supplies for him. On the way, Chenlu spotted a guard and stopped in front of him. The guard was Sudzaju, and seeing him stirred old memories. He was glad to meet Sudzaju again. In his past life before Chenlu got the void ability, Sudzaju had used his own body to hold back mutants so Chenlu could run. He died protecting him. Chenlu smiled at Sudzaju and decided that in this life, he'd make sure Sudzaju lived well. He invited Sudzaju to hang out after work, but Sudzaju refused. His mother had taught him that boys who wander around can turn bad. He asked what else his mother said. Sudzaju replied that nothing good came from that kind of thing. It was basically like robbery. He could only stare shocked that Sudzaju was comparing a night out to robbery. Chenlu didn't know what to say. They weren't close enough yet, but that didn't matter. Sudzaju would be on duty when the apocalypse began, and after that, Chenlu was certain they would eventually become brothers. The scene then shifts home. What shocked him was the pool in Chenlu's house. Chenlu led him over and said that for now, this was his home, and the first thing they needed was a shower. While bathing Dharma with a scrubber and soap, Chenlu thought about how different this life would be. After being reborn, he didn't want to repeat his old life or end up as the only survivor again. That gave him an idea. Since many gifted people would show their talents later, why not build a gathering place? What he did for Dharma King, he could do for others too. He even used a blower to dry Dharma, and Dharma was impressed by it. Chenlu also felt this could make up for the void ability's weakness in direct combat. If he wanted to build a safe place, he'd need huge supplies: grain, fruit, salt, vegetables, seeds, generators, medicine, tools, and more. Most important of all was water. Since every water source became polluted after the apocalypse and the virus in it couldn't be purified. If anyone wanted clean water, they'd have to wait for rain. Then Lu suddenly slapped his forehead, startling Dharma. He yelled that he'd forgotten something important. He needed to prepare a batch of high-voltage electric batons first. That made Dharma nervous, but Chenlu patted him and said not to worry. They were for zombies, not him. In the early days of the apocalypse, those batons were practically divine weapons. Fired up by the idea, he decided to order a few sets of alloy armor too. He quickly pulled out his phone and started placing orders. After choosing his equipment carefully, the scene moves forward to Chenlu and Dharma eating together, with Dharma devouring his food far too quickly. After they finished, Chenlu told Dharma there was plenty of food stocked up, so delicious meals wouldn't be a problem in the future. As he tossed aside a leftover chicken bone, Dharma copied him, which made him smile. Still, Chenlu was lost in thought when suddenly someone knocked at the door. He opened it and found a beautiful young woman outside, so he asked who she was. She introduced herself as Mayu. Hearing that, Chenlu froze for a second. She was the cooking teacher he had hired. He quickly apologized for forgetting about the cooking lesson and invited her in with a smile. Mu, meanwhile, thought that anyone paying 50,000 yuan just to learn cooking had to be rich. She'd worried this employer might have bad intentions, but after meeting Lu, she felt much more at ease. She also couldn't help wondering how many women outside could resist someone like him and whether Chenlu had any interest in her. In the kitchen, he showed Mayu that all the tools and ingredients she asked for were already prepared. Privately, he knew supplies alone weren't enough for the apocalypse. He also needed cooking skills, which was why he had spent so much to hire her as a chef. Mu got started and said she'd first teach him sweet and sour pork ribs. Chenlu agreed, pleased, because he knew he'd only need to pay her for 1 month, a future that wouldn't even arrive once the apocalypse began. As Chenlu cooked, Mayu guided him step by step. She told him to chop the ribs smaller and blanch them in cold water for a while. Next, she told him to add oil, but he poured in way too much. Mu could only ask if his oil was free. Then, when it was time for salt, he grabbed sugar instead, making Mu yell and asked how he still couldn't tell them apart. In the end, the dish looked so awful that Mu handed it to the dog. Even the dog refused to eat it. Still, she told Chenlu he had at least made some progress. But Chenlu only felt miserable. If even the dog wouldn't touch his cooking, there was no need to comfort him. Dharma started barking at Mayu too, as if asking why she was trying to poison him. Mu defended herself by saying the kitchen hadn't burned down, so that was already a win. Chenlu was speechless and finally accepted that cooking just wasn't for him. He'd have to rely on a real chef, After that, Mayu said goodbye and left his house. Once she was gone, Chenlu thought about her skill and admitted she was actually pretty good. He couldn't help wondering what had happened to her after the apocalypse in his past life. He was thinking about recruiting her as a chef, but in the end, all he could do was hope she got lucky. The scene shifts again, and while out walking, Chenlu suddenly noticed someone familiar. It was the sister pair, Millie and Myling. Chenlu knew they were far from ordinary. After Myling awakened her firepower, she became the first known user of that element and earned the title Scarlet Rose Spirit Flame Princess. Even more amazing was her younger sister Millie, who had a light ability. Her fighting power was weak, but she was an incredible support healer. Chenlu had even heard that later on she could use a revival skill. That made him serious. In his eyes, this wasn't a choice. He planned to bring both sisters over no matter what. So, he called Raka, the same person who had helped track down the dog, and gave him 3 days to gather information on the sisters, even down to what they liked to eat. To Chenlu Wu, food was the best way to win someone's heart, so whatever they loved he'd stock up on it. A few more days passed, leaving 5 days before the apocalypse. He learned that Milling liked Sichuan food and loved grapes, while Millie preferred braised pig's trotters and watermelon. That also reminded him to stock up on classic dishes since they tasted great. The next day, Chenlu checked the armor he bought for himself and Sudhaju. Once he tried it on, he figured it was heavy but solid enough to keep him safe. With only 3 days left before the apocalypse, he started thinking about how to get the second set to suit Haju. He also picked up an electric baton. The seller warned that its high voltage could drop someone fast, so it had to be used carefully. Chenlu, though, was thrilled. He was already imagining using it to wipe out huge numbers of zombies. Then he kept getting ready for what was coming. The next day, Chen asked about buying a truck. The owner agreed and said he'd tell him the price soon. That night, right before the apocalypse was supposed to begin, he lay in bed unable to sleep. His mind kept racing. He wondered if after being reborn, the apocalypse would still happen at all. If it didn't, all the supplies he had stored up would become a massive loss. A part of him even wished it wouldn't happen. If peace stayed, losing money would still be better than living through that cruel disaster. He'd remain rich either way, so a normal safe life sounded far better. The next morning, with just 1 hour and 20 minutes left, Chenlu called his uncle Jianan. He apologized for contacting him so early and said he needed help. Jian gladly told him to go ahead. Whatever the problem was, he helped. Chenlu said he believed virtual currency was about to surge, maybe 8 to 10 times higher. Then he got to the point he reminded Jan that he had used his money to buy pork, then said he wanted to mortgage the whole stockpile. It was worth 1 billion, but he only wanted to borrow 500 million. Chen promised that once his 500 million turned into 5 billion, he'd pay everything back with interest. Then he paused for Janan's answer. After that, he asked why Janan didn't just wait for him at home. He said he'd come over in person to talk, and it would be even better if he was there too. Janan agreed and told him to come as soon as possible. As Chenlu left the house for Janan's place, he smiled and muttered that today would be the day they died. Then, he kept driving. When he got close to Janan's house, Chenlu told Dharma to stay in the car. This was personal and for safety. He didn't want him running off. Dharma barked and shook his head, but Chenlu headed out anyway. That's when he spotted Sudorjo. He remembered that Sudhaju had survived just fine in his past life without any help. Still, he took it as fate and decided to help a little, so he went over. Sudhaju noticed him and asked if he was leaving. Chenlu said no. He came to warn him. Ever since waking up, he'd had a bad feeling that something huge was about to happen. He told Sudhaju to be extra careful at 9:00 a.m., and even made him promise. So, Haju agreed and said he'd stay alert. A little later, the scene moves to Janan's house where Fat and Jinan were talking about Chenlu. Janan said Chenlu wanted to put money into virtual currency and that shocked him. Sure, the price was rising fast, but to him it still had no real value. Fat didn't get the concern and asked why they wouldn't take easy money brought right to their door. Janan said he knew he was being set up, so why would he offer a deal that only helped them? That made him suspect he was running some kind of trick. He disagreed. He said this was just how speculation worked. People rushed in when they smelled profit. He was in a hurry and there weren't many people who could hand over 500 million at once. That's why he came to them. Just then someone knocked at the door. Both of them instantly got cautious. A moment later, Chenlu walked in. It was already past 9:00 a.m., but since they'd been shut inside with the air conditioning on, they had no idea what was happening outside. Without even greeting him, his companion joked that if he were as bold as Chenlu, he'd invest too, and sarcastically told him not to forget him after making money from it. Chenlu played along and said, sure, if he made 5 billion, he'd buy Faye a supercar. That was enough for Faye to rush over and hug him, making him repeat the promise. He then said dinner was ready, so they could talk while eating. Chenlu hated the hug, but he had no problem with the food. By 9:15 he was eating like a starving animal, as if he hadn't tasted food like this in ages. Janon and he both stared, confused by how strange he was acting. But then, an odd sound came from outside the room. Janon said it seemed to be from the maid's room, and told Chenlu to check it. Chenlu agreed and went to look. At the same time, Chenlu turned serious. He knew that sound meant only one thing. The apocalypse had arrived. He got up and told Janon he'd go too, saying that if the maid was hurt, he could help him take her to the hospital. Inside, though, he was pleased. This looked like the painful end waiting for Janon and him. He followed right behind. When Shenf opened the room, he froze. The maid was dead and a zombie was inside. Blood was everywhere. The shock made him drop to the floor, and when the zombie started moving toward him, he tried to slam the door shut. However, this was where his nightmare really began. Chen stopped him from closing it and coldly said they came to see what was going on. So why was he trying to shut the door now? Stunned, Chenlu Fei demanded to know what he was doing and why he wouldn't let him close the door. Before he could finish, Chenlu struck him with the electric baton, dropping him to the floor. Laughing, he said he wouldn't let them die that easily. He wanted him torn apart by zombies slowly and painfully. With that in mind, he pulled the door open and let the zombie rush out at Chen Fei. Janine saw everything and charged at Chenlu in fury, shouting about what he'd done and swearing to kill him himself. However, Chenlu was ready. He told Janine to come closer, then hit him with the baton the instant he moved in. Seeing that, Janine raised his hands to block and he mocked him, asking if he really thought his hands could stop electricity. The shock knocked Jan out. Chenlu then walked over to Chenlu Fei and laughed, saying the pain had to be awful. He could tell just by looking at him. Fei screamed as the zombie bit into him, writhing in unbearable pain. Then he begged both him and his father to save him. He told him to shut up, saying he didn't have a useless son like him. Even while suffering, Chenlu Fei dragged himself over and grabbed Chenlu feet, apologizing and hoping that would make him help. However, Chenlu stayed ice cold, hardened by what happened in his past life. He sternly told Fei not to come any closer while his father lay on the ground. He tried to curse him out, but another wave of pain cut him off as his condition got worse. Watching him fall apart, Chenlu softened only a little and said he couldn't enjoy a scene this exciting alone. He needed someone to watch it with him. So he pressed the baton to Jian again, jolting him awake. The moment Jan saw what had happened to Fei, panic took over and he moved toward Chenlu. Then he dropped to his feet and begged him to save him, reminding him that he was his cousin. He gave no response. Left with nothing else, Jan confessed that he was the one who had secretly cheated him out of his shares. He claimed, knew nothing and was innocent. He then asked if that wasn't enough reason for a bigger apology. That left Jan stunned. He couldn't understand why Chenlu said that and started to wonder if Chenlu already knew the truth. Even now, MCGN won't apologize for killing Luo's parents. Luo coldly asks if that's really his final answer, because Fei is almost out of time. Instead, he snaps and demands that he save him right now. He even says he won't call the police, then warns that if the cops get involved, his future is finished. Chenlu says he already gave him one chance and there won't be another. That makes Jian explode, cursing him as an ungrateful bastard for turning on his own uncle and cousin. Chenlu fires back that the truly ungrateful one is Chenlu. He slaps him and reminds him that Chenlu's father still gave Chenlu a place in the company after all his failures. Yet Chenlu repaid that kindness by plotting against his parents. He can barely believe he can speak so shamelessly. Then he dies and he is hit with grief and rage. He loses it. Chenlu shouts that he was Chenlu's father's own brother and helped build the company too. So why did he get only 10%? Was he supposed to live like a beggar and die for that? He then warns Chenlu that modern police will never let him get away. Chenlu is furious. He points out that even back then that 10% was worth 1.5 billion. What worker could ever earn shares worth that much? Shares. Seeing how rotten Chenlu really is, Luo throws him toward the zombies. Deep down, he feels a grim bit of peace. His father was too kind to someone like him, and this is the only thing he can do for his parents now. Tears even well up when he thinks of them. After a while, another zombie comes at Chenlu. Just like he expected, once someone turns, all that's left is the urge to eat people. So, as soon as it gets close, he shocks it with the baton. He explains that zombies may not feel fear, but they still feel pain and stun attacks still work on them. After stunning the zombie, Chenlu draws his sword and drives it between the eyebrows, the precise weak point that makes early zombies easier to kill. Chenlu smiles a little, thinking that while killing is disgusting, piercing that spot reveals a hidden treasure, the core crystal. After taking the crystal, he stores it in his void and notes that things are happening just as he expected. At the start of the apocalypse, these crystals are still low rank. He recalls that early in the outbreak, both zombies and ability users form a crystal between the eyebrows. The energy inside helps awakened people recover faster and grow stronger. So to Chenlu, it's a treasure worth collecting in large numbers. McHugh adds that a crystal's size and color change with the owner's power. A fire-type zombie or ability user has a red crystal while a wind-type one has a green crystal. A space-time crystal is transparent in color. Then he remembers the lightning core crystal he once took from the Lightning King's head, a dark purple crystal about the size of an egg. Once outside, Chenlu runs into another zombie and mocks it, saying it must have tried real hard to help his uncle. The zombie lunges at him. Lu, who pulls out the baton and shocks it, sarcastically, telling it to come closer so his uncle can reward it properly. The zombie is stunned by the baton, and while taking the crystal, Chenlu mocks it again, asking if taking a little payment for all that help is really too much. He treats the whole thing almost like a joke. On the other hand, Dharma is shocked to watch Chenlu wipe out zombies so ruthlessly and wonders why he is being so cruel. Chenlu goes back to the car and tells Dharma they should awaken soon, so staying outside is dangerous. He says Dharma needs to come to his house for now, and can leave after awakening. Inside, the floor is full of zombies. Chenlu already killed. Dharma panics and barks, but Chenlu calms him down and says he'll get used to it. After that, he quietly peels an apple and eats it while Dharma starts feeling something strange in his body. Then Chenlu notices lightning-like sparks coming off Dharma. That makes him nervous since he has no idea what Dharma's awakening will do. As Dharma's lightning power starts forming, Chenlu quickly hides behind a sofa, wondering if he's about to be the first one struck. But Dharma doesn't attack him. He just settles down after the awakening. And Chenlu explains that strong talent depends on two things: awakening early and growing fast. Then Chenlu grows a little gloomy, realizing Dharma might already be at the top when it comes to lightning talent. He's honestly jealous that the dog seems more gifted than him. Out of nowhere, apples suddenly drop to the ground. He startles at first, then breaks into a strange smile, realizing he might be talented too as well. Chenlu gets back up. Now looking serious, he forms a ball-like object in his hand, and out of nowhere he fires it at the wall with it. The wall is punched through, and Dharma is left stunned, but Chenlu isn't pleased. His void ball used up 25% of his power, and still couldn't instantly kill even the weakest zombie. So he decides his first goal is to absorb a core crystal and level up. In his past life, Lightning King Dharma and Ling Yangji both reach King rank. Tenluk says his own body was King rank too. However, after absorbing the Lightning King's crystal, he rose to an even higher rank. At the time though, he didn't know how useful it was. With no food, no water, and no one beside him, life felt empty, so dying seemed better. Die? He keeps thinking like that. 5 minutes later, Chenlu is still pondering. This time he figures that if he absorbs around 20 core crystals, he should reach rank 2. After a yawn, Chenlu tells Dharma he needs to practice using his power. He tells him to gather the energy in his body, move it to his throat, charge it up, and fire it where he's looking. Dharma follows the instructions, and the lightning blast that shoots from his mouth is huge. Seeing that, Chenlu happily pats his head and calls him a smart, good dog. Then he says they need to visit the cold storage first and secure all the supplies they stocked. Dharma gladly agrees. After that, Chenlu heads to the supermarket. Standing outside, he grins and tells Dharma the place is huge, which means plenty of resources are inside. He jokes that good stuff shouldn't be left for zombies to take. Then he asks if they should beat the zombies and claim everything. Dharma eagerly agrees and wants to start it. Chenlu equips his armor and weapon, then tells Dharma to attack only when he can and not fight head-on. Just use his speed to dodge. Dharma says he understands, so the two of them jump into the fight and start crushing the zombies with ease. However, then Dharma hits a girl with lightning and freezes when he sees there isn't a single scratch on her. He doesn't know what's wrong with her, but Chenlu tells him not to panic and just lure them away. Dharma gets it and keeps fighting while drawing them away from the supermarket. Seeing him handle them well, Chenlu warns him to stay careful while he goes inside and says he'll be back soon. Inside the Super Jan, Chenlu is thrilled by the high-end goods and materials. He was right. This place near the villa really does have top-quality supplies. He opens his void and starts taking in everything useful, laughing that it all belongs to him now. Little by little, Chenlu clears the place out and even pulls the crystals from the zombies. While finishing up the food and crystals, he walks back out with a happy yawn. A big storage space is great, especially when everything is free. Then he tells Dharma it's time to go, but looks up and sees him running for his life from a zombie. Ulua steps in and easily kills the monster. After that, Dharma starts whining, upset that his master can kill zombies so easily while he can't. Chenlu pats his head and tells him not to feel bad. He's already doing great if he keeps working hard. He'll become the strongest and coolest dog. Hearing that, Dharma perks right up and smiles like he just got the best reward ever. Chenlu told Dharma they were heading to the cold storage. On the way, someone behind them called out and asked MP to stop for a second. It was a young guy who wanted to talk. He asked if he knew what was going on since the police never answered. He calmly said it was obviously the apocalypse, a zombie outbreak. That answer made the boy panic as the truth sank in. However, a moment later, he brightened up and asked to team up so they could watch each other's backs. Chenlu shut that down right away, said he didn't need a partner and kept moving. The boy kept yelling for him to wait, but Chenlu ignored him. After leaving, Chenlu thought about how he might take followers someday, but only the best ones. His supplies were huge, not endless, staying picky was necessary. He had to be careful. Then something ahead made him stop. It was the road in front of the car. A huge group of zombies was blocking the only route to the cold storage. Chenlu remembered there was no other way through. That meant he had to clear them out. He got out and told Dharma to roam nearby and stay alert. Then the fight began. The zombies rushed in and Chenlu started dropping them with his electric baton one after another. A few tried to jump him from the side, but he read them easily and turned the tables. They never had a chance. One zombie even clamped onto his arm, but Chenlu just flung it away and mocked them. His alloy armor wasn't something weak zombies could bite through. Then he joked that if they broke their teeth, there wasn't a dentist left in the city to fix them. But he quickly laughed and added that it didn't matter anyway. They had no future. Then out of nowhere, his electric baton ran out of power. For a second, Chenlu froze and tensed up. The zombies lunged for the weapon, and he let them grab it, acting like he was giving in. However, that was only to stall. He needed a moment to pull out another baton from his void. As soon as the new one was in hand, he went right back to wiping out the zombies. Once they were all down, he dug out every crystal from inside them. A little later, Dharma came over, confused about why they still hadn't gone to the cold storage. Chenlu called him closer and pointed something out. It was a truck. He told Dharma this heavy truck was even better than alloy armor or an electric baton, and he'd hidden it away for the apocalypse. Dharma looked thrilled. He told Dharma to hop in because he was driving. Up ahead was a closed gate, and he basically said, "Watch this." There was no reason to get out and open it by hand. He smashed straight through it with the truck. Dharma was stunned while Chenlu felt like he just pulled off a hero move. Deeper in they ran into hundreds of zombies, and Chenlu Luju knew killing that many with a baton would take forever and waste too much power, so he drove right through them and cut down the rest. Dharma watched in shock, nearly in tears at how savage his master could be. In his eyes, Chenlu looked downright ruthless. Meanwhile, on the second floor of the cold storage, two boys, Fang and Lang, and a girl named Mia, watched from above. Lang was amazed by how much tougher Chenlu's truck looked than the vehicles there, and Mia suggested asking him to take them out. Fang shot that down. He was alone, so why would he risk helping them? He wasn't their father, and Fang already saw him as a cold, dangerous guy. He said a man like that only came for the supplies. Once Chenlu got what he wanted, he'd leave without caring about them. So, instead of begging, Fang suggested helping themselves by stealing Chenlu's truck, the safest ride they could ask for. As they planned, Lang pointed out that he seemed to be wearing armor. Fang still pushed the idea. If they got the truck, they'd be safe. Lang angrily agreed, saying Chenlu was here to take the cold storage's resources, and that was unforgivable. A few moments later, while Chenlu was pulling crystals from the zombies, Mia walked up and thanked him for saving them. Chenlu immediately guessed where this was going, that they wanted him to escort them out safely. Luo asked if they were the only survivors left. Mia said yes. Only the three of them had made it. While she kept him talking, Fang and Lang came up from behind and grabbed his shoulders. Chenlu instantly understood they were trying to rob him right after pretending to thank him. So that was their plan. Fang told him not to resist and claimed they wouldn't hurt him. That only made Chenlu more disgusted, thinking how the apocalypse brought out the worst in people, and how kindness had become both worthless and dangerous. Then, to everyone's surprise, Dharma rushed over barking. Fang stared at the dog and Lang guessed it hadn't been infected. That distraction gave Chenlu the opening he needed. Now that he didn't care about hiding it from them, he opened his void, pulled out a baton and struck. He coldly added that dead people keep no secrets. In the end, he killed both boys. Mia panicked and begged Chenlu not to kill her. He saw no reason to spare her just because she was a girl. She turned and ran, screaming for help. Chenlu noted she was fast and told Dharma she was his target. Dharma didn't hesitate and attacked Mia from behind. She crashed to the ground and Chenlu walked over and stunned her with the baton, saying that was why striking first mattered. After finishing them off, he told Dharma to get ready to store everything. Inside they found seasonings. Seafood, chicken, duck, all kinds of meat, pig trotters, awful instant food, vegetables and fruit. Each in massive amounts over 9,999 tons. In total, Chenlu told Dharma they'd taken 60,000 tons of supplies from the cold storage. On the way back, Chenlu said they'd head home, rest a bit, then hit the grain storage next. He also wondered how Sudhaju was doing. Then, a boy stepped in front of the truck, begging for help and asking for a ride, but Chenlu noticed a bunch of stuff hidden under the boy's shirt, which made him instantly suspicious. He stayed guarded because his survival rule was simple: never allow even a small threat to grow. When he didn't stop, the boy kept shouting, but he had already decided that if he didn't move, he'd get run over. Once the truck got close, the boy panicked and jumped aside. Then he started yelling that Chenlu had actually tried to hit him. He swore Chenlu would regret it and that he'd get revenge the first chance he got. That threat annoyed Chenlu. In the old world, grudges meant gossip or schemes. Now with awakened powers, grudges could turn into murder. So, he asked Dharma, the Lightning King, if he heard that boy saying he wanted to eat dog meat. Dharma replied that he didn't really understand human words. However, he was pretty sure the boy never said that. Once Chenlu stopped, the boy marched over angrily, ready to fight back, then froze when he saw Dharma charging at him. The boy raised a rod to defend himself, but Dharma had already made up his mind. Whether the boy mentioned dog meat or not didn't matter if his master wanted him dead, then he needed to die. A lightning strike dropped the boy on the spot. After that, Chenlu told Dharma to make sure the boy was really dead, not just shock him. Dharma looked confused. Chenlu explains that hesitation in a fight can be fatal, so Dharma has to adapt if he wants to survive this world. That clicked. Dharma bit down on the boy and he praised him, saying that was exactly the point. He was happy Dharma had handled the guy on his own so easily. After that, Chenlu told Dharma to head home. When they reached the villa, Chenlu said the road was too narrow to park the heavy truck easily. He told Dharma to get out and lure the zombies away while he pulled the truck over to the side of the road. Dharma agrees, jumps out, and pulls the zombies away from the truck. That makes Chenlu pretty happy. In his mind, Dharma is doing more than clearing the road. Once the zombies wander back, they can guard the truck for free and keep other survivors from messing with it. That thought helps him relax. He's also glad his rebirth didn't change this part of the future. Sudhaju still didn't turn into a zombie, so he should be alive. Then a zombie lunges at Chenlu and he drops it with his electric baton. While he's fighting, Sudhaju shows up with a girl. Sudhaju praises him and the girl says that baton is so strong. No wonder he's this fearless. Once the zombie is down, Sudhaju calls out to him. Seeing Sudhaju alive, Chenlu feels relieved just like he expected. Still, the girl surprises him. He recognizes her right away as Luo Jing. The three of them start talking. Chenlu cuts it short and tells them to move fast instead of chatting out in the open. If more zombies show up, things will get messy. He clearly doesn't like that and makes a face. Even so, she still says yes. However, inside, Chenlu is already thinking ahead. If she can raise Chenlu's favor, then with both Sudhaju and Chenlu protecting her, she can stay safe until the country rescues them. The scene then shows what happened from Chenlu's side when he first entered the villa district and immediately started thinking about Sudhaju. Had he run deeper inside or climbed a wall and hidden in one of the villas, he gets annoyed because he can't remember which villa Sudhaju might be in. He only remembers the general area, so Chenlu stops overthinking and goes with a simple plan. He starts yelling Sudhaju's name, asking where he is if he can hear him. Dharma's stunned. His master is basically calling the zombies over too. Inside a villa, Sudhaju hears the voice and realizes it's him. Chenlu Jing tries to stop him. She says Chenlu has gone crazy, shouting like that means he wants to die and drag them down with him. Sudhaju also finds it strange. Chenlu is smart, so how could he not know yelling is dangerous? Why use a method like this? But he keeps calling for him. So Sudhaju has no choice but to go out. Sudhaju quickly says she's coming too and begs him not to leave her behind. The second they step outside, they see Chenlu fighting zombies. Chenlu Jing keeps trying to stir things up, but then Sudhaju praises Chenlu and Jing is stunned to see him like that. What really goes through Chenlu's head when he sees her is simple. How did he forget this girl? In his last life, she was dead weight and nearly got them killed. He remembers how sneaky Luo Jing was. Back then, she thought the water wasn't clean and was scared to drink tap water, so she always had Sudhaju try it first. Later, after he teamed up with Sudhaju, she kept acting sweet to both of them. With Sudhaju, she said she felt safe beside him unlike Chenlu. Then she turned to Chenlu and said he seemed sincere from the start. Unlike brother Sudhaju, when food was handed out, she would hide some first, then act starving and pitiful. So Saju would give her his share too. She played him for a fool. So Chenlu decides that if she dares to act that shameless again in this life, he won't feel bad using her to teach Saju how ugly people can be. He invites Saju to stay at his house so they can watch each other's backs, and Saju gratefully agrees. Then Jing cuts in, introduces herself, and even tries to bond with Chenlu by saying they share the same surname. Maybe they were one family 500 years ago. But while she's talking, Dharma suddenly attacks her. He leaps in, rips her bag open, and supplies spill all over the ground. Even Luo is surprised by how much she was hiding. No wonder she was guarding that bag so hard. He figures she probably planned to save the snacks for herself later. Instead of caring, Chenlu casually opens a cold canned drink. He tells Chenlu Jing he's hungry, so he's taking it. He tosses Sudu some snacks too, and says they should eat first, then go look for more supplies. That makes Sudhaju furious. He had risked his life to save her. And all this time, she'd been hiding food while lying that she had nothing. Now he understands she never planned to share, so he decides he's done caring about her. Chenlu Jing panics when she sees them eating. Teriad, she goes to Sudhaju and says he can't eat that because it's her food. Sudhaju sets it down to give it back, but Chenlu sticks out a leg and trips her to the floor. She drops hard, cries out in pain, and yells that they're bullying a poor girl. Are they even men? He just smiles. He says she should ask the zombies if they care whether someone is a man or a woman. Still, he knows this alone isn't enough to open Sudhaju's eyes, so he decides to push her into showing even more of her true self. Chenlu calmly asks why she's crying. They need food to have the strength to search for more, right? So this time she can stay behind. Since they ate some of her food, they'll bring back double later. Hearing that, Chenlu Jing realizes she can't afford to turn Chenlu and Sudhaju against her, so she has to accept it. She quickly apologizes and says it was just instinct. When she was younger, she often went hungry and she didn't mean what she just did. Chenlu is annoyed she's way too good at making up stories. Then Chenlu tells Sudhaju to come with him to the supermarket. He says he'll go first and get a few things ready, and Sudhaju agrees to follow his lead. Next, he goes to Dharma and tells him to head outside and lure some zombies into their house. Dharma is completely confused. Luring zombies away made sense, but bringing them into the house. Seeing that reaction, Chenlu tells him not to worry. He'll understand when Chenlu comes back. After that, Sahajas pulls garlic out of the void and lets out a small laugh. The show is about to start. He walks over to Saju and Chenlu Jing with fresh garlic juice, asks if they've rested enough, and tells them to look at this. The smell instantly puts her on edge, and she asks why he made so much garlic juice. Chenlu says he's not totally sure either, but when he came back earlier, he saw someone copying a movie scene by hanging garlic all over himself. According to Chenlu, the zombies got scared and backed away. He's pleased they buy the story. Too bad for them though. In real life, garlic doesn't repel zombies at all. If anything, the smell draws them in even more. Then he says it's a shame the house only had enough garlic for 2 people. So he asks Sudhaju to go with him to the supermarket to look for more. Right then, strange noises echo nearby and Chenlu smiles. Sounds like a group of zombies is getting close. He goes pale. Meanwhile, he watches her, waiting to see if she'll stand with them or grab the so-called life-saving garlic juice for herself. As the noises get louder, Chenlu Jing nervously asks if that's the iron door being broken. Chenlu immediately tells Sudhaju to use the bowl of garlic juice, but Saju hesitates. He may be angry at her, yet he still doesn't think she deserves to die. With that many zombies outside, if he uses the bowl, wouldn't that leave her dead? Even starts thinking about giving it to Chenlu Jang while she stares at the bowl and reaches a colder thought. There's only one bowl, which means only one person gets to live. Saju moves to take it and hand it over, but before he can, Chenlu snatches the bowl and dumps it all over herself. In her mind, she's the one who should survive. That makes Saju furious. He had actually been ready to give it to her, but after this he's done wasting concern on her. Chanlua steps over and asks Saju if he saw that clearly. In the apocalypse, he says kindness is wasted on some people, they simply don't deserve it. Hearing that, Chenlu understood right away and asked if he had set her up. The Chenlu just smiled. Did he really? She chose to pour the garlic on herself. He never forced her. Then he laughed and told her the truth. Zombies are drawn to garlic, so she was basically dead already. That made Chen panic. She yelled, asking if he had lied about the juice and what was so wrong with wanting to survive. He said wanting to live wasn't the problem. The problem was using other people's kindness and pushing him around, especially Sachu. Since she said everyone wants to live, then sacrificing her so they could survive wasn't wrong either. After that, Chenlu pulled out armor and weapons from his void. He figured Chenlu would die soon, and the dead don't leak secrets. As for Sacheju, he'd tell himself that his power was the void. Watching him take out the armor, Chenlu was stunned. She realized he had planned this from the start, which was why he never poured the garlic on himself. Chen told Sudhaju to find a room and hide, saying he'd only slow him down otherwise. Suhaju agreed and went to hide. Even then, he moved close and tried one last trick. In a sweet, tempting tone, she begged him to spare her and promised that later he could do whatever he wanted. With no options left, she tried to win him over with her charm and body, but Chen didn't budge. Coldly, he said he only wanted her to die, and once she was dead, he'd let her off. That made her snap. She cursed him out, saying she had never wronged him. So, why had he been making her life hard ever since they met? A moment later, the zombies got her. As she died, Chenlu screamed that he would meet a miserable end too. The scene shifts a bit. Chenlu had already wiped out all the zombies, but he admitted he had misjudged things. He'd lived there for over 10 years, and today had been way too lucky. Sudhaju came over shocked to see him dead and was about to speak. He cut him off. They didn't have time for feelings. The house was a disaster, and they couldn't stay like this. So, he told Sudhaju to help drag the bodies outside. After half an hour, they got every corpse out. Now only the blood was left and Chenlu had to clean it. He couldn't help thinking a maid would make this job much easier. That made him think of Mayu. She looked good, worked hard, and wasn't so bad overall. He started wondering if she was still alive. While he was thinking about Mayu, Sudhaju cut in and asked about going to the supermarket. Chen smiled, told him not to worry, and said he had better food with him. Then he suggested they go upstairs to eat. When Chenlu brought out food and drinks, Sudhaju was stunned that it all appeared out of nowhere. He immediately asked about it in shock, but he answered with a question of his own. Had Sudhaju noticed any changes in his body? Sudhaju said his head had hurt earlier in the day, but now he felt much stronger. Chenlu explained that changes like this often happen before an apocalypse, and he had gone through one too. Everyone changes in different ways. Since Saju seemed tied to strength, Chenlu guessed his own might be linked to the void. He told Sudhaju he had suddenly gained some control over void power. Feeling that a disaster might be coming, he had stocked up on supplies. Sigu said he understood. Chenlu felt relieved this story was way easier to accept than something wild like reincarnation. He then told Sudigu he had a feeling they'd become like brothers, so there was no need to hold back. They should just eat. Sudhaju looked at the spread and said it was way too much for them to finish. A couple dishes would be enough and they should save the rest. Chen brushed it off, saying even if they ate their fill, Dharma the Lightning King still hadn't eaten. Hearing that, Dharma protested at once. He didn't want to be treated like a leftover eater. Remembering how rough life was as a stray when even trash food felt lucky. He thanked him, then sadly asked if cleaning blood stains was a dog's job now. And yes, Chenlu really had made Dharma clean the blood. After eating, Chenlu tried making a void sword, but it only lasted 5 seconds before vanishing. Lying on the bed, he laughed to himself. He had absorbed 42 core crystals and even made a void sword. In his past life, he couldn't do that until level 7. Back then, he only learned the void passage at rank 9. At this rate, he might reach it as early as rank 4 now. He also wondered if he could unlock the elemental blade much sooner this time, instead of waiting until king rank. Just thinking about it felt great. The next morning, Sudhaju happily told Chen that he had been right. After absorbing 7 core crystals, he felt way stronger. Dharma answered by barking 9 times in front of them. He smiled and asked if Sudhaju had heard that right 9. Then he joked that at least it wasn't 99 or Dharma would be barking forever. Sudhaju, meanwhile, was stunned that a dog had absorbed more crystals than he had. Chenlu opened his void and pulled out a set of armor for Saju. He told him not to underestimate Dharma, because the dog was seriously gifted. Chen said Sudhaju should try the armor on after breakfast. Since they were heading to the grain storage after that, Sudhaju agreed. Later, they headed for the truck. Zombies were wandering around it, and that actually pleased Chenlu. In his eyes, they were free workers guarding the truck. Sudhaju asked if they should clear them out, but he stopped him and said the free workers would be handled by Lightning King Dharma, who would lure them away. Just as he said that, Dharma started pulling the zombies away. Sudhaju could only ask why it felt like the dog was more useful than him. Chen told him not to compare himself to a dog. Some things a dog can do he can't, and the other way around too. Everyone has their own use. Saju, surprisingly serious, asked if there really was something a dog could do that he couldn't. Chenlu said yes. Then asked if Saju dared to eat poop like a dog. He meant it as a joke, but Dharma froze, then turned away in outrage, barking that it was slander and he never ate stuff like that. The scene moves to the grain storage where Chan is mowing down zombies with the truck. So, Haju praises him for bringing it along, but Chenlu felt something was off. A place like this should have had plenty of workers, and they shouldn't all be dead. With all the noise outside, someone should have called for help. So, Haju guessed there might be a basement where people were hiding, which would explain the silence. He thought that made sense. When they reached a passage, he said it might lead down to that basement. He told Sudhaju to come check it out. As they moved deeper, they found a human skull. That shocked Chen. Regular zombies bite people, but they don't usually strip someone down to a single bone. He started wondering if a mutated creature was inside and said it could be ants or rats. Both move in groups, And if there were that many, he couldn't risk it. Staying alive came first. Then they heard a noise. Chenlu looked closer and his face changed. A whole swarm of rats was coming. Chen shouted for everyone to run. The rat horde was rushing straight at them. As Chenlu and Sidhaju tried to escape, Dharma stayed behind for a moment to hold the rats back. Seeing that, he yelled for Dharma to protect himself. So the dog turned and ran with them. Then, a slightly mutated rat appeared. The moment it saw the humans, it got excited like it had found fresh meat. It leaped to Chen, eager to see how they thought they could escape. Because of the sudden hit, Chenlu was knocked to the ground. Sidhaju quickly pulled him up and said, they might really be finished this time. Realizing how bad things were, Chenlu told Sidhaju not to freeze up and to fight the rats. Together, and with Dharma's electricity, they somehow managed to wipe out the smaller rats. Still, Chen stayed tense about the Rat King. It was obviously a mutant. Even more unsettling, the Rat King seemed to be smiling as it watched them. He explained that survivors, zombies and beasts all usually grow stronger little by little. But sometimes a mutant burns through its life force to make its power rise like crazy. Chen cursed his luck. Those mutants get stronger fast, but their lifespan dropped since somehow he had run into one this early. While fighting the smaller rats, Sidhaju fell to the ground. The Rat King saw the opening and decided it was the perfect time to attack. Sidhaju swung a baton, but the Rat King slapped it away like it was nothing. Then it launched a non-stop assault on Sidhaju's armor. As the armor neared its limit, Sidhaju realized one more strike might pierce it. Chen rushed over and shouted for him to be careful. He said the Rat King was at least level 3 or 4, so there was no time for fancy moves. He'd have to use normal methods to kill it. Chenlu throws out some food to pull the rats away. He thinks that if he hadn't reached rank 2 last night, they all would have died down there. The Rat King watches Chenlu raise what looks like an electric baton and wonders if it can hurt him. If it can, he plans to kill Chenlu first, then Sidhaju. However, it isn't a baton at all. He is charging in with the Void Sword, his last shot at killing the Rat King. This is his final chance. The second the Rat King realizes it's a Void Sword, he panics and tries to escape. Chenlu grins and mocks him. Running now? Keep dreaming. After killing the Rat King, Chenlu finds a core crystal inside it that's much bigger than the others, and that makes him happy. Then he tells Sidhaju the Rat King's front fangs look useful and could make a good weapon later. Since he isn't strong enough to pull them out, he asks Sidhaju to do it. Sidhaju agrees and tells him to step aside. After struggling for a bit, Sidhaju finally rips out one fang. Chenlu praises him, then says they should keep searching the basement. Later, Chenlu starts storing the grain. Sidhaju is amazed and asks how big Chenlu's void space really is. Chenlu says it's still nowhere near as big as the grain storage. Once everything is packed away, he walks over and warns Sidhaju not to tell anyone about these supplies. No matter what happens, this secret has to stay hidden. Sidhaju tells him not to worry, he gets it. Even if someone beat him to death, he still wouldn't talk. Then the lights suddenly cut out. Sidhaju asks why it got dark so fast. Chenlu says it's probably a blackout, so they need to finish up and head back. Later, they return to Chenlu's home. Chenlu says the fight with the Rat King was way too risky, so for now, they should stay home and get stronger first. He adds that at his current rate, he should reach rank 3 in 2 or 3 days. Until then, if anyone gets bored, they can play games or watch movies. Sidhaju says that's fine with him. Chenlu smiles, says it's settled, and tells everyone to go eat. Then the scene shifts 3 days. He tells Dharma he should learn how to wash bowls. Dharma immediately gets nervous, hoping he won't be too hard on him. Chenlu says he's been training for 3 days and it's worn him out. Then asks if Dharma reached level 2 last night. Dharma happily says yes. Chenlu says getting stronger takes training, so Dharma should go test his new lightning skills on some zombies' skills. Dharma looks a little down and slowly heads for the door, but Luo suddenly stops him. That makes Dharma perk up. Maybe Chenlu is worried about him or at least wants to remind him to be careful. Instead, he hands him 2 trash bags and tells him to take them out. Dharma gets mad, calls him a bastard, and storms off with the garbage full of anger. Chenlu says that kind of sulking is childish. In his view, Dharma becomes a real grown-up dog only when he can clean, take out trash, and handle chores without being told every time. Even Sidhaju watches this and feels bad for Dharma. After that, Chenlu thinks he really needs Mayu around to handle daily life. He remembers she lives in a nearby 5-star hotel staff dormitory. So, once he reaches level 3, he plans to go find Mayu. That night, Chenlu suddenly feels a strong jolt. When he wakes up, he realizes something huge in his past life. Reaching rank 3 took half a month, but this time it only took 3 days. He even thinks Dharma should be glad he stayed with him, or he might have been taken out without even seeing it coming from him. Chenlu also notices the Void Sword now lasts 20 seconds instead of 5. At last he can go out now. Mu decides that in the morning they'll find Mayu and collect the core crystals too. The next day, near the hotel staff dormitory, Chenlu fights off zombies while Suju manages to locate the dormitory. Hearing the noise outside, someone comes out and begs them for help. He introduces himself as Lu Wbo, a waiter from the 5-star hotel. Luo is glad to see him. After killing zombies for half an hour, he's finally found someone alive. He doesn't waste time and asks Luo right away if he's seen Mayu. Then the scene shifts to Mayu getting beaten by Lin Li. Lin wants her gone, but Mayu refuses to leave because she has just as much right to stay alive and have a place there. Lini gets even angrier at that and grabs Mayu in rage. A wealthy businessman named Lilan steps in and says the vegetables they have left may not be enough for everyone. If Mayu won't listen, he says they should throw her out. Lini agrees, saying, Mayu asked for this. Then the hotel manager, Harry, tells Mayu there isn't enough room, so for everyone else's sake, she has to be the one sacrificed. So he calmly tells her to leave and find somewhere else to hide. Mayu, panicking, asks if he's serious. Outside is full of zombies. How is she supposed to get through that? But before she can resist, the guards grab her and drag her out. As she's pulled away, Mayu says Harry is basically sending her to die. He snaps back, telling her to stop talking and get lost. Mu is thrown out of the room. Afterward, Lini says this is what happens when someone refuses her. The zombies start moving toward Mayu. In that moment, Mayu forces herself not to cry. She won't give them the satisfaction. She's so angry that she'd pay any price to find someone who can help her kill those bastards. Suddenly, the zombies lunge at her and Mayu thinks this is it. She won't even get the chance to take revenge. Out of nowhere, Chenlu appears and saves her. Mayu tries to thank him, but Chenlu covers her mouth and tells her to stay quiet. He says they'll talk after he and Sudhaju finish cleaning this up. He also praises Dharma for easily taking down that boy by himself. Bit by bit, Chenlu and Sudhaju wipe out all the nearby zombies. Seeing them clear the area, Lini and the others are thrilled. They've finally been saved after holding out for 5 days. Once the zombies were gone, Linli and the others come outside. She thanks Chenlu and Sudhaju for saving them and introduces herself. But inside, Linli is already hoping Chenlu and Sudhaju will become her supporters. Chenlu ignores her and asks Mayu what happened and whether she wants his help. Mayu breaks down crying and tells him everything from start to finish. At the end, she cries even harder and says she never should have saved them. She gave them shelter and now they all turned on her. Hearing that, Chenlu gets annoyed and thinks this is exactly why kindness is so hard. Then Linli walks up and asks Chenlu to escort her home safely. On top of that, she offers him a job at her company after the crisis with a monthly salary of 2 lakhs. Hearing that, Sudhaju angrily asks what being rich changes. Then he suddenly punches Linli hard, saying he hates people who repay kindness with betrayal more than anything. Lu was stunned by what he sees. In his eyes, Chenlu and Sudhaju are unbelievably bold. Those people are powerful. Yet, the two of them don't seem scared of revenge at all. After taking the punch, Lini slowly says she understands. They're angry over what happened to their friend. Even so, she again asks them to get her home safely and says they can name any condition they want. That only makes Chenlu angrier. He says he almost feels sorry for them, but he lives by one rule. If someone becomes his enemy, he won't spare them when he gets the chance to end it. Then Chenlu opens his coat and pulls something out, telling them not to worry. He won't kill them even if they hurt his friend. Chenlu smiles and says he'll just tie them up and leave whether they live or die to luck. Leland snaps back that it's basically the same as killing them and asks how Chenlu and Sudhaju can be so cruel. Suchu fires right back. Were they saying that when they threw Mayao out into a zombie-filled death trap? Leland drops to the ground in front of Chenlu and begs him to save her. She says she'll do anything to stay alive and he realizes she's even ready to offer her body if that's what it takes. He tells her to get lost. She's filthy. As Suhaju ties them up, Lian Li says she hasn't bathed in days, so of course she's dirty. Then shamelessly asks if he can help wash her body. At the end, Chenlu and Suhaju stuffed paper into their mouths so none of them could yell. Once they left the dorm and headed back, Lua ran up and asked to come with them. Chenlu asked what made Lu worth taking along, and Lu froze. However, before he could answer, Chenlu handed him a baseball bat and said to kill 10 zombies with it. If he could do that, he'd earn a spot with them. Without pausing, Lu refused. He admitted he didn't dare fight zombies with just a bat. Chenlu smiled to himself. He had given Lu a shot, and Lu wasted it. Hilo told Lu he couldn't join them, but he could still get some help. Chenlu gave him 3 minutes to grab whatever he wanted, then said he'd escort him back to the dorm as thanks. Lu immediately ran to the hotel to collect supplies. While Lu gathered essentials, Chenlu spoke to Mayu. He said they needed someone to handle food and cooking, so he thought of her. He'd rather fight zombies than wash pots, and he promised to keep her safe. He also swore he'd treat her well, saying meeting him was the best luck she could have had in this mess. Then Chenlu asked if she wanted to return with him. Mayu answered yes right away. She was willing to join. Chenlu gladly welcomed her to the group and said that after taking Lua back, they'd return home and celebrate with a big meal. He added that she'd obviously be the one cooking, and Mayu lit up and agreed. That night, back at his home, he talked with Sudhaju about their powers, then asked Mayu if she'd felt anything strange these past few days. Maybe her ability had awakened. She said she had a headache on the third day, but since she was starving, she never paid attention to it. Chenlu said awakening on day 3 wasn't especially good or bad, just average. Then he told her to focus and slowly feel the power inside her body. When Mayer tried to sense it, flames appeared in her hand. Both of them were shocked. Chenlu was surprised but also thrilled. Mayer had a fire ability, which meant her cooking could be even better. About an hour and a half later, a huge spread of food was set in front of Sudhaju and Chenlu. They were amazed, and Lua told everyone to dig in. As they ate, the food tasted incredible, like heaven. They felt bringing Mayu back was absolutely the right choice, and he was especially happy he wouldn't have to do dishes anymore. Later that night, Chenlu told Mayu not to worry because he was taking her to her own room. He had her check inside and tell him if she needed anything. He also said she could shower, but she had to be careful not to get water in her mouth. Then he asked if she'd lost her phone, and since she had, he gave her a new phone and a portable charger. He said it already had movies and novels on it for when she got bored. Mayu was touched and started blushing. Chenlu added that they wouldn't go out for the next few days because they'd stay home and level up their abilities, and he'd explain the method later. Thanking him, Mayu happily went into her room. More days passed, and in the present, Chenlu was glad he'd fully reach rank 3. At this pace, rank 4 would still take a few more days, so he decided to go out for more core crystals and also look for the sisters, Myling and Millie. He wondered how much the two sisters had suffered during these last 10 days of the apocalypse. Chenlu knew it still wasn't the right time to help them, but he wanted to keep watch so no one else could get to them. He was thinking that if one of them really had a revival-type power, that person had to end up on his side. Otherwise, it could cause serious trouble. Before heading out, Chenlu gathered everyone and told Mayu that he and Sudhaju were leaving to collect crystal cores. While they were gone, she was not to open the door for anyone. No matter what, even if someone dropped dead right in front of her, she still couldn't open it. He also told her to keep the doors and windows shut, not look outside, and never go out under any condition. If she ignored that, the consequences were on her. Mayu said she understood and told him not to worry. Sometime later, he and Sudhaju were out killing zombies. He asked how many core crystals they gathered, and Sudhaju said around 500. That was enough for the day, so Chenlu suggested they stop collecting and check on the Mi sisters since he remembered they lived up ahead. He told Saju to head back to the truck first while he took Lightning King Dharma for a walk and cleaned up the remaining zombies. Saju happily agreed with that. A little later, Chenlu arrived at the Mi sister building with Dharma. He remembered they lived on the 3rd floor, room 2011. Chenlu told Dharma to check whether anyone was in room 2011. To his surprise, Dharma answered yes, and Chenlu got excited because for once he was giving Dharma a job that actually fit a doctor. All of a sudden, Dharma dashed toward the bushes and started fighting something, catching him off guard. He kept yelling for him to come back. Then he saw a cat jump out of the bushes and realized Dharma had just been chasing a cat. Chenlu felt bad for it and even thought about taking it as a pet, but Dharma was already biting the cat, so Chenlu hurriedly told him not to hurt her. Then to his shock, the cat talked back and told him to make that stupid dog let her go. Hearing a cat speak, Chenlu was stunned and wondered if she had awakened telepathy. That only made him more excited, and he decided he wanted her as his pet. He told Dharma to back off and complained that he was being way too rough, but Dharma kept giving him a strange look, so he had to step in and separate them. After pulling them apart, he scolded Dharma, who made a weird face like he knew it was his fault. As Chenlu Lua held the cat, she complained that she hadn't done anything to Dharma and hadn't attacked him, so getting bitten was unfair. Chenlu Lu agreed the dog had behaved badly. Then the cat sniffed the air and suddenly asked if Chenlu had dried fish. That stunned him again, and he wondered how she knew. Was it instinct or something else? Even so, he figured he didn't mind feeding her. If she ate his food, she'd be his cat soon enough. Just then a girl's voice called down from above, asking for her rice. When Chenlu looked up, he was surprised to see it was Millie. He quickly realized the cat's name was Rice and that she belonged to Millie. At the same time, he wondered why he'd never seen this cat in his past life and why the sisters had never mentioned her. While Chenlu was thinking that over, Millie came downstairs and asked him to return her cat. Chenlu just smiled, thinking the trip had already been worth it. Millie grabbed Rice back from his arms and apologized to Rice for something. Watching them, Chenlu guessed the sisters probably weren't staying together, If the older sister were around, she wouldn't have let Millie come out alone. Millie said goodbye and started to leave, but Rice suddenly struggled and told her to let go, because Chenlu had dried fish and wasn't a bad person. Somehow, the cat slipped out of Millie's lap. Rice ran to Luo and begged for dried fish, saying she hadn't had any for a whole week. Luo started thinking this might be the perfect chance to convince Millie to come with him. He picked Rice up and told her that Super Hai definitely had dried fish and he'd take her there. Then Chenlu asked Millie why she and her sister weren't working together to gather supplies. Millie hesitated before answering, but Rice urged her to agree. She said she could tell Chi and Luo meant no harm and that they could trust him. Millie still couldn't decide, so Rice got mad and told her fine, don't come stay home alone, and she'd go with Luo instead. Rice even tugged at Millie and said she was still the same, so she should just wait for her to bring food back. That made Millie feel ashamed, and she quickly denied that was what she meant. In the end, Millie agreed to go with Chenlu, but asked him to wait while she grabbed something. After a few minutes, Millie returned wearing a helmet and holding a wooden rolling pin. She said she was ready, but then got startled when she saw Sudhaju and asked who he was. He said Sudhaju was his buddy, basically the warrior of the group. He also introduced Dharma, explaining that the dog was a lightning king who could use lightning attacks. Millie was shocked that a dog could control lightning, and she realized it wasn't just Rice. Other animals had powers too. Chenlu then introduced himself as Chenlu, and said his own ability was like a void magician's. After that, he asked Millie about herself. Millie says Chenlu already knows Rice can talk to people, then introduces herself as Millie. Her class is like a priest. Right when Rice suddenly yells that zombies are coming, Chenlu warns Millie to stay sharp, and she says she can boost their strength. She activates her skill, and he is shocked that even at level 1, Millie raises his power by about a third. However, while Sudhaju is busy fighting, Chenlu gets distracted thinking about her skill. A zombie slips past him and rushes straight at Millie. He reacts at once, telling her to get back and leave it to him. To Luo's surprise, she refuses. Millie says she can't rely on him forever, and since she's never fought a zombie before, this is her chance to learn before she has no choice. Later, that impresses Chenlu. She looks fragile, but she's tougher than he expected. No wonder she survived so long before. Still, he knows a rolling pin won't do much against zombies, so he tells Sudachu to hand her the iron rod. As he does, Sudachu tells Millie he knows she can handle it. With the rod in hand, Millie tries to steady herself, telling herself not to be scared. At the instant the zombie grabs at her, she swings the rod and strikes it. Even after it drops, she keeps smashing it. Seeing that, Chenlu tenses up and nearly tells her it's already dead, but he stays quiet so she can build confidence. Once it's over, Millie throws up from seeing the corpse. Hilo praises her and gives her water to help her calm down. Millie quietly thanks him. Meanwhile, Rice is annoyed they're wasting time. Instead of looking for dried fish, the story then jumps ahead to the mall's second floor, where the group is clearing out zombies. When the fight ends, Chenlu tells Millie to grab a bag and pack as much as she wants. She agrees. Rice comes over next, asking Chenlu to open a packet of fish. He starts thinking the cat's power might be more than simple mind-based ability. As telepathy usually shouldn't appear this early in the apocalypse, so he starts thinking about getting Rice onto his team. Then he tells her not to eat too much of the packaged fish. He also has fresh fish, and later he'll even cook braised fish. That instantly excites Rice, and she declares she'll definitely go with him. At the same time, Millie is filling her bag and doesn't notice a mutated zombie creeping up behind her, but Dharma senses it first and barks to warn everyone. At the sound, Millie turns and is horrified to find the mutant right behind her. She tries to back away, but her foot catches on something, leaving her stuck as the danger closes in. The zombie is thrilled, too. It hasn't eaten in a while and thinks Millie is its next meal. Millie throws something at it to distract it. After that, she tries to run but crashes right into Chenlu. He had already come over to check on her, but seeing the mutant shocks him. From one look, he recognizes it as a devourer, a monster he saw many times in his past life. He explains that devourers are strong, tough, and can charge or self-destruct. Judging by its size, this one is level 3. He tells Millie not to panic and stay behind him. Chenlu starts forming his void sword, but before he's done, Dharma fires a lightning strike at the devourer. The hit distracts it, and Lua takes the opening, slashing with his void sword. With a single clean strike, the devourer is killed. After that, Chenlu steps in front of Millie and tells her not to look. The body is too nasty. Shaking, Millie grabs onto him and stares in awe at how he erased that monster in one hit. This makes her see him as incredibly cool. Noticing how scared she is, he takes her hand and leads her away. A few seconds later, once they're safe, Chenlu tells Millie they made it out and she can open her eyes. When she looks at him, Millie starts blushing, thinking he looks smart and handsome. She can't believe she only noticed it now. Chenlu Lu, meanwhile, gets flustered by her reaction. He even thinks the devourer unexpectedly helped him pull off a perfect hero saving the girl moment. Taking the chance, he asks if they should team up and watch each other's backs. Flustered and red-faced, Millie blurts out a yes. Chenlu then says they should head back and eat together, but Millie apologizes. She has to go home and wait for her older sister Milling. If Milling returns and Millie isn't there, she'll panic and worry about her. So Millie tells Lu to go first while she waits for her sister. Rice gets mad and asks why she'd turn that down. Rice says Millie can just leave a note so Milling won't worry and adds that she has a feeling Milling won't be back today. Chenlu throws in that he'll make braised fish, and Rice flat out says Millie has to go because she wants that fish. Hearing Rice pushed so hard, Millie gets torn for a moment, then finally agrees to go with him. She asks if his place is far and he happily says no. The story then cuts to Chenlu home where Millie and Rice are stunned by the meal in front of them. Millie says it's her first time visiting yet Chenlu prepared a feast. Chenlu tells her it's nothing. They're companions now and urges her to eat before it gets cold. As she eats, Millie tears up because the fish tastes even better than she imagined. After the meal, she thanks him, then apologizes again and says she needs to go home. She's worried Milling will panic if she doesn't find her there. Chenlu says it's already late and staying home alone would be dangerous. He then suggests another plan. Sudhaju and Mayu could stay at her place for now. He also wants to meet Milling, or since there are empty houses nearby, they can move in next door and look out for each other. Millie says okay. Then Shiley corrects him. It wouldn't be everyone taking care of each other. It would mostly be Chenlu taking care of them. He just smiles and accepts it. He then tells everyone to pack up because they're moving. Later, the group arrives at Millie's house. As they get there, he tells everyone to be careful getting off the truck. Once they're down, Millie hesitantly asks why they can't all stay inside her house together. She says there are 4 bedrooms and a living room, so there should be enough space if everyone would be okay with it. Chenlu smiles, secretly pleased that Millie is giving him a chance to stay close and protect her. Later at dinner, he hands out watermelon to everyone. When he gives some to Millie, she starts thinking about everything he's done. Even with the world so dangerous, Chenlu keeps protecting her, feeding her, giving her light, and now even her favorite watermelon during a blackout. Then, to everyone's surprise, Millie suddenly jumps forward and hugs Chenlu, saying meeting him and her sister was the luckiest thing that's happened to her. Even Chenlu gets flustered. Millie's charm is so strong that the hug completely throws him off. She adds that from now on they should be friends, help each other, and stop acting so formal with her. Huo almost feels sorry for himself. The cute girl is hugging him, but since they only met today, he knows he can't rush things or his real thoughts will show. Chenlu smiles and asks if she really doesn't want the watermelon still in his hand before hugging him. Embarrassed, Millie quickly lets go and goes quiet. Chenlu Lubo then asks how everyone should split the rooms. Millie says Mayu can use the room she keeps for guests and Sahaju can stay in her sister's study once a bed is set up. Finally, she says Chenlu can stay in her sister's room. That catches him off guard and he wonders where Millie will sleep when her sister returns. For now though, he decides not to overthink it and agrees. Then he gives Millie some crystals, shows her how to use them, and asks if she gets it. Looking a little lost, she gives a hesitant yes. Mio tells her to head back to her room and try it herself while he gets some rest. Millie agrees and wishes him good night, but when Chen got to his room and opened the door, he froze. Rice was already inside. She asked why he was back so late. Then Rice moved in close, acting like a spoiled cat, and said she wanted to sleep with him tonight and with Millie the next night. Chen was thrilled and started playing with her, figuring a cat loves attention from its owner. He called her a naughty cat, so he'd spoil her tonight, but tomorrow she had to sleep with Millie. Rice simply agreed. In the morning, the scene shifts to another place where someone with fire powers was burning through zombies. That's when Meiling appears with 2 new boys. The boys' names were Zhang Zhan and Wang Wu, both Millie's classmates. As they fought, they got scared and complained, asking Meiling why she wasn't the one handling the zombies. Hearing that, Meiling snapped and told them to stop hiding behind her. But when more zombies came, both of them panicked and ducked behind Meiling again. She kept trying to fight them off, but before long, she felt how badly the firepower was draining her energy. Even at rank 2, she still couldn't keep fighting non-stop. Later, Meiling returned to Millie's home and finally met her sister again. Chen was glad to see Meiling back, and watching the sisters reunite right in front of him was nice to see. Then he noticed Zhang and Wang and wondered who those 2 were. Meanwhile, Xiang quietly told Wang that Meiling was the campus beauty. However, Millie was just as pretty, so coming with Meiling had been the right move. Wang agreed and said if they could win over both sisters, that would be perfect. Then they looked at Chen. Wang asked who that guy was doing with Millie, and Jiang said he had no idea since he'd never heard Meiling had a brother. At the same time, Meiling also asked Millie who Chenlu was. Millie explained that while Meiling was gone, Chenlu had been the one taking care of her. Meiling said she understood and thought Millie looked healthy, which meant she'd clearly been well looked after. Of course, Wang was thinking Meiling was hard to approach, while her little sister looked easier. Jiang started wondering if he should switch targets and go after Millie first. So Jiang stepped up with a pack of bread and told Millie she must be hungry, so she should take the bread. Wang immediately got nervous and pulled out a sausage, telling her not to be shy and offering that instead. Jiang got mad, thinking Wang was trying to compete with him. After this, Millie felt awkward with both of them suddenly pushing food at her, so she apologized and said she wasn't hungry. John just smiled to himself. Their motives were way too obvious, so he told them to head upstairs first and catch up later. Millie agreed and urged Meiling to come home since staying out on the road was dangerous. Meiling thought she'd been stupid to bring along two useless burdens. She couldn't keep letting them drag her and her sister down, so going back sounded fine to her too. Hearing that, Jiang got excited, already dreaming that living with the campus beauty was about to begin. Wang was just as happy, thinking that if he stayed with Meiling, they'd naturally grow closer. Neither of them noticed the truth. They'd only made themselves look worse by hiding behind her and being dead weight in Milas's eyes. Meiling asked Millie if there was food at home. Chen thought that of course there was. If they hadn't followed him, they wouldn't even get to dream about eating. So, Chenlu asked Mu if there was rice. If there was, she should start cooking. Since Meiling was Millie's sister, he figured it would be rude not to feed her. Miju looked confused and asked if they weren't making barbecue. Once inside, Zhang remarked that times were hard for everyone. Yet Chenlu was still feeding a dog. Wang backed him up, saying Chenlu had just said they only had some rice, so if it all got eaten, what would be left? That instantly made Dharma angry. Those two were talking like they wanted to eat him. Seeing Dharma react, Jiang nervously shouted that the dog was fierce and said, if it might hurt Millie or Meiling, they should cook it. Wang acted bold too, saying they should leave that job to him and get ready to eat dog meat. Chen cut them off and said that was enough. Then he mocked them, saying when he talked about dogs, he meant the two of them so they should get lost. Hearing that, Jiang got furious and told him to watch his mouth, asking if he'd ever even fought a zombie. Chenlu answered no. Jiang smirked and called him a coward who only hides at home. Then he turned to Meiling and complained that they had suffered following her, and she knew how dangerous the trip had been. If food was so precious, then feeding it to a dog was just a waste of food. Jiang shouted too, saying they'd been starving the whole way, so shouldn't they be the ones eating it? Jiang quickly added that they didn't mean all of it. Everyone could share. Meiling had heard enough and told them to shut up. She said she knew exactly why they followed her and how much they had really done. That only made Jiang and Wang angrier, and they warned Meiling that she would regret provoking them. At that point, Chen patted Dharma and told him to kill them or else he'd have to deal with the bodies himself. Dharma had been waiting for that order and happily said to leave it to him. Meiling saw Dharma heading for Jiang and Wang and got confused, wondering why the dog was going after them and if it had a death wish. After that, Meiyu came over and said it wasn't a problem, but if she started cooking now, it would still take at least an hour. Meiyu said that was fine. She could take her time and finish one dish at a time. Then Chen asked Millie to come into the room because he wanted to talk. She agreed and followed him. Seeing that, Melon got tense. A man and a woman going into the same room alone made her wonder what he was planning to do with Millie. Inside the room, Chenlu pressed Millie to the wall in a close, almost romantic pose and asked if she was worried about food and water. After following him, blushing hard, she still admitted yes. He moved on and asked if being with him made her feel safe and less afraid. She said yes again. Tammy leaned in closer and said he treated her well because she listened and was capable. But what about her sister? Would Meiling obey him or not? Millie thought about it and realized Meiling always had her own opinions since she also didn't know Chenlu well. There was a good chance she wouldn't listen to him. Then he asked who Millie thought could lead the group better, him or her sister. Without any pause, Millie chose him. After that, she grew nervous and asked what they were supposed to do. Chen thought saying it out loud would sound cruel, like he wanted to train Meiling until she obeyed. So he explained it plainly. Meiling had to accept him as captain. Otherwise, when something serious happened, he and her sister would argue, and that would cause trouble. Then he asked if she understood or not. Millie said she did. She needed to help make Meiling listen to him. Chenlu added that until Meiling obeyed, he wouldn't share any resources with her, so she would only be able to watch the others eat. Once Meiling listened, then she could be fed too. He even told Millie this was for her sister's own good and Millie agreed. In the kitchen, seeing all the vegetables, Miling asked Mayu why she had taken out so much food, how many dishes she planned to make, and whether she wasn't thinking about tomorrow. She felt it was pointless arguing with Mayu, so she decided to speak to Chen directly. Ming told Chenlu to have Mu cook less. If they ate everything today, what would they eat tomorrow? Chenlu answered that today was her reunion with Millie, and if Millie was happy, then they should celebrate. Still, Ming didn't agree. Making that much food felt way too wasteful. He told her it was his issue, not hers, so she didn't need to worry about it. Ming then wondered if maybe she'd eaten too fast. She still wanted more, but her stomach was already getting full. Even so, she doubted they could finish all those dishes, though the smell was amazing. An hour later, the meal was ready, and Mayu started setting everything on the table. Millie noticed there were 5 people, but only 4 bottles, and wondered if there wasn't enough, so she decided not to take one and would just eat the food and drink soup instead. When Mayu finished setting the table, she told everyone they could start it. Everyone takes a seat, but Millie is shocked when Chen asks why she sat down too. Upset, she asks if this isn't where she always sits. She feels hurt and wants to apologize, but since she still thinks Chenlu is a good person, she decides to endure it for now. Chenlu coldly says the seat isn't for her. Then he tells Milling that if she just wants to watch, she can sit nearby near them. Millie freezes, confused, and asks what he means. Does that mean she doesn't get a share? Milling also reminds him that he said this meal was for her reunion with Millie. Chen says he never promised Milling could eat with them. Everyone else is on his side and he'll only share the food he risked his life to get with people who stand with him. Then he turns to Millie and asks whose side she's on. Millie quickly says she's with him and he asks Sudhaju and Mayu next. Sudhaju says he'll stay with Chenlu no matter what. Mayu adds that ever since Chenlu saved her, her life has belonged to him. Dharma barks that he is staying with his master, while Rice makes it clear that food this good is more than enough reason to stay on Chenlu's side. Chenlu tells Milling to look around, because everyone at the table stands with him, and he is happy to share his supplies with his own people. However, who is Milling to him? In his eyes, she has no right to eat with them unless she agrees to follow him too. Milling immediately takes that as a humiliation and angrily asks whether Chenlu is really excluding her over a single meal. She jumps up and slams a hand down on the table, warning Chen not to push it too far. Masling says she won't eat it. She's not that desperate. But while she stands off to the side, he starts praising Mu's chicken and says it tastes amazing. Chenlu tells Millie to try the spicy crab as well, praising the flavor, and Millie happily thanks him. After that, Chen gives Millie braised fish and reminds her it's the dried fragrant one she asked for. Hearing all this food talk drives Ming crazy, and she tells Millie she's going to her room. But once inside, she gets even angrier when she spots Chenlu underwear there. Furious, Miling yells for Millie. She can't believe her sister was nice enough to let that jerk Chenlu stay in her room. So Millie rushes over and apologizes, saying she forgot to mention that he had been staying there while Miling was gone. She tells her not to worry. He is a gentleman and won't mess up the room. Miling reluctantly says fine since he did take care of Millie her room. Millie then says Miling can still bathe. She just needs to keep water out of her mouth, and if she doesn't feel safe, she can just rinse off. Miling says she understands so Millie can go back. Miling then goes to take a bath. While washing up, she feels completely left out. Even her own sister chose someone else over her just for good food. She also thinks about how little food a small fridge can really hold, then decides she'll make Chen see who gets the last laugh. After bathing while getting dressed, she hears Chenlu asking why no one is eating fruit like grapes. That only makes her madder. Out of all the fruit, they had to pick her favorite. Miling starts craving grapes, but forces herself to resist, telling herself it's the apocalypse. Those grapes must be frozen, not fresh, and probably not even tasty. She says she's not hungry at all. Then Mile comes out and calls for Miley. Shen is stunned by how beautiful she looks, even having dirty thoughts for a second. Miling ignores that and asks Mai to come to her room. She wants to talk. As Mei leaves, Chenlu tells her to come back soon because the grapes are really sweet and he'll save some for her. He even jokes about how people only spit out grape skins when they aren't really eating grapes. Clearly trying to tempt Miling on purpose. She knows exactly what he's doing, and it only annoys her more him. Once inside the room, Miling shoves Miley onto the bed, grabs her hand, and asks if she's really gotten bold enough to team up with a stranger just to get on her sister's nerves. Then, she starts tickling Miley, and demands the truth about what's going on and why she didn't help at dinner, laughing and begging her to stop. Miley finally gives in and says they've already become a team that understands each other to avoid arguments at important moments. Everyone agreed Chen should be the captain. She goes on to explain that he was worried Mile wouldn't listen, so he did this on purpose. He had told Mage beforehand, and Mage admits she thought it made sense. Hearing that, Myling stiffens and asks if Ma got brainwashed. Myling snaps that if Chenlu showed real fighting skill, she'd naturally follow him. Instead, he used a cheap cowardly trick. Then she scoffs. Did he really think one meal would make her join him? Nervously, Myling asks what Myling plans to do, since keeping this fight up with Chen won't end well. Myling says that if Chenlu wants her obedience, he has to prove his strength. She'll challenge him and see who really gets the last laugh. After getting ready, Myling heads out. Myling quickly asks where she's going, and Myling says she won't eat someone else's food, so she's going to the district to find her own food and drinks. Myling tries to stop her, warning that it's late and dangerous, but Myling won't listen. So Myling asks him to please talk her sister out of going. Chenlu says he's sorry, but he has no good reason to stop her. If Millie is worried though, Rice can go with Myling. As for Rice, she's unhappy about leaving Chen and wonders why Myling has to be so stubborn. Still, with Rice along, Myling can sense danger early. Chenlu also tells Dharma to go with Myling, and Dharma clearly hates the idea of going outside in the heat. Seeing that he is sending the pets, Millie asks if she can go help too. He says of course, but she has to be careful and should take a baton with her. After they leave, Chen wonders why he used this method on Myling. Then he remembers a past life when Myling used to yell at him for stealing vegetables, and even beat him up over it. So, in his mind, this is just payback for all the times she kicked his butt before, not going too far at all. But he soon admits he may have pushed too hard trying to force her onto his side so quickly. The scene cuts to 10 minutes later. Myling comes back and says dinner tonight will be braised beef cup noodles and 2 eggs. It's not as fancy as someone else's meal, but she's satisfied. Chen laughs to himself, thinking anyone who doesn't know better might believe there's real beef in those noodles. In his eyes, it's just the label tricking people. He calls for Mu and says he wants beef cup noodles too. Mu agrees. Chenlu is clearly doing it to annoy Myling by showing her what real beef noodles look like. Then he walks over and tells her not to be so fragile and asks to talk. Myling agrees. Once they start, Chen apologizes first and says he went too far that afternoon. Myling immediately asks if this is just another trick and why he's acting like this. Chenlu says the apology is real, but until she accepts him as captain, he still won't share food with her. He says a captain needs both fighting power and brains, and he'll prove he completely outclasses her in both. First, he proposes they test combat skill. They can fight in 3 days, and if he loses, he'll listen to her. That makes Myling light up, and she asks if he's really serious or not. Chen says yes. Myling gets ready right away, but asks why they have to wait 3 days instead of fighting now. He says he can't fully control his power yet, and is worried he might seriously hurt her. In truth, he expects to hit rank 4 in 2 or 3 days and handle his ability better then. Chenlu then needles her, saying she better not tell him she can't even beat the Lightning King. Myling explodes, asking what kind of nonsense that is. Does he think she can't even beat a dog? Chen shrugs and says fine. He understands she's stronger than Dharma. That only makes Myling feel more mocked and humiliated. Suddenly, Dharma starts growling and barking at the door. A woman from a nearby home, Aunt Maya, is outside knocking and calling out, asking if May and Myling are in there. Mia kept begging through the door. She said she came to see them and hadn't eaten in 2 days, so she wanted anything they could spare. Mick coldly pointed out that if Mia ate 2 days ago, then she clearly wasn't starving the whole time. Hearing her answer so smoothly made Chen tense up, so things quickly turned awkward. Minnick told Mia to leave because they had no food to spare. Mick stepped closer, looking like she wanted to ask her sister to show some mercy. However, Minnick stopped her and said it wouldn't matter how much they gave Aunt Maya. She'd finish it in a day, and once it was gone she'd just come back again. Were they supposed to keep feeding her forever? Even with their own survival already hard enough, Minnick stayed firm. Shen was pleased and praised her for it, but Minnick snapped at him to shut up and wait 3 days. Then he'd see where his confidence came from. Minnie just answered with a calm okay. Right then, Rice ran over and hugged Chen. When he looked at her, she told him Aunt Maya felt hostile, so he picked Rice up and held her close, saying he already knew. He added that whatever their reason was, if they dared come here with bad intentions, they would die. The scene moves to Mia heading downstairs, furious that Myling had been so heartless. She cursed both sisters the whole way down. Then Mia met up with a group of boys. They asked if she checked in whether Myling was home. Maya said yes. She had just spoken with her and both sisters were inside. She also mentioned 2 boys had been going in and out. The group got excited. One said it would be a waste if Myling died, and the others started making filthy comments about her body and the sisters. It was obvious they planned to attack them. In the end, they decided not to wait any longer and to rush the house. Maya agreed right away, saying she had always hated the sisters, and she even urged the boys to torment them after they were done. When they reached the house, Sadhaju looked out the window and told Chen that Aunt Maya had returned with armed men. It looked bad for sure. After hearing that, Chenlu decided to kill them. He told Sadhaju to wipe them out, but then remembered not to let anyone die in the corridor. They'd have to clean it up. Sadhaju said okay. Got his weapon ready. Millie came over and said she'd help him some. Cedric said he'd be back soon and headed out. Dharma barked and went with him. While Cedric and Dharma went down to fight, everyone else watched from above. At that moment, Melling ended up close to Chen and suddenly noticed how handsome he was. She quietly hoped both he and Cedric Seb were truly strong. Down on the street, the boys got cocky when they saw only one man and a dog. They even joked they'd get dog meat for dinner. Suddenly Sudu attacked and they panicked, but they still rushed him together. Then they were stunned. None of their attacks hurt Sidhu at all. That's when they realized he had awakened an ability. Once Dharma started using lightning too, they completely lost their nerve and felt death closing in. After the boys and Aunt Maya were beaten, Chen told Millie to dig the crystals out from between their eyebrows. She froze and nervously asked if he meant her. Chen said she'd need to do this in the future anyway, so she should start getting used to it now. Migling backed him up, saying Millie needed the experience too. Chenlu handed Millie a knife and told her to go ahead. He'd stay with her. Millie got even more nervous since both her sister and he were pushing her now. She even tried asking Dharma for help, but he refused. So in the end, Millie had to do it herself. She even threw up while doing it, but Chen said she'd get used to it, so there was nothing to worry about. After that, they all sat down for dinner, and when the beef noodles came out, Myling was shocked that noodles could be made like that. Chenlu offered some to Millie, but she turned it down and said she had no appetite. Myling was annoyed that she couldn't even eat properly at her sister's place. The next morning and afternoon, watching them eat so much only made her more frustrated and wonder how their fridge could still hold that much food. That night, Milling finally lost her patience and checked the fridge herself, then stood there stunned because it was full again. She stormed over and demanded Chen explain the food, and then Millie revealed Chenlu's ability. Myling got mad at her sister for not telling her sooner, but she still reminded Chen that their duel was in 2 days. Deep down, Myling was already dreaming about beating him and turning him into her personal food servant. Meanwhile, Chenlu thought he needed to reach rank 4 fast to raise his combat power. So before sleeping, he decided to use the Rat King crystal since normal level 1 zombie crystals weren't enough anymore. The moment he absorbed the Rat King's crystal, a strange pain shot through his head. Seeing that, Rice got scared and wondered if Chen was okay. A few minutes later, Chenlu was thrilled. He had finally reached rank 4. He gave the leftover Rat King crystal to Rice so she could level up too. Then he went to test his new power and instantly appeared in the hall. The sudden teleport scared Dharma, who started barking loudly. Chen told Dharma to relax. It was just him. Dharma was still annoyed since he'd been guarding the door when Chenlu startled him. The barking wakes Milling, who suspects Chenlu did it on purpose to disturb her, but he only laughs at the accusation. Then he said they'd fight after breakfast. Ming was surprised since the full 3 days weren't up yet, so she confirmed the bet and Chen raised the stakes. From 20 m away, he said he'd make her admit defeat in 3 seconds. If he failed, she'd be the winner. Milling is shocked and assumes Chenlu is looking down on her, so she decides she will never give him an easy opening once the fight begins. Then she asked what the prize was with a strange grin. Chen said it was simple. She had to stick her butt out and let him kick it once. Milling thought that was weird, but she agreed, adding that if she won, she'd do the same to him. The scene moved outside where they got ready to fight while the others watched. The moment it began, Milling felt confident. She was sure Chenlu couldn't beat her in 3 seconds. Then, to her surprise, Chenlu vanished from the front. The next instant he was behind her, locking her down with his void space. Milling realized she couldn't move at all in his grip. That was it. Milling had lost and she knew that if Chen had a knife, she'd already be dead for sure. After that, she started thinking about the bet, but to her surprise, Chen just told her to drop it and come eat with them. He also apologized for what happened 2 days earlier, saying that if they were comrades now, they needed to understand each other. After that, they all ate together, and Milling was honestly impressed by how they treated her. He was happy too. Without any trouble, he had gained a new comrade. At the end, Chen said that once everyone finished dinner, they should gather in the living room to talk about their future plans. Chenlu explained that zombies were getting stronger, so they needed to stay together and fight as a unit. Supplies were also getting harder to find, so they had to think about how survivors were adapting. Right now, the trend was surviving in groups. Even if their team was strong, a big zombie horde could still injure them, and he didn't want that. He then brought up the problem with joining someone else's team. He wouldn't want to live under another leader. On top of that, if they joined a larger group, some men might start making dirty demands toward Millie and Mile. Mei immediately said she'd kill anyone who had thoughts like that about them. So Chen suggested making sub-teams and building their own larger team. Millie and Sudhaju thought it was a great idea and agreed. Chenlu then said that before people in the city center hid in bushes to avoid zombies. Based on that, he guessed there should now be a gathering place with lots of survivors somewhere in the suburbs. Mei was impressed and praised him, saying his thinking made sense, and even she hadn't looked that far ahead. Hearing that, he figured she was finally convinced, and he wondered if it was time to collect what she promised. Part of him even hoped Mei would break her promise so he could kick her more than once. However, he also knew doing that in front of everyone would be too much. Tin ended the meeting by saying there was no need to rush. Then asked Mei to come to his room because he needed to discuss something in detail. Mei asked why, confused, and Chenlu answered that it was private. She quickly realized it was about their bet and knew she couldn't take back her word. Once in the room, Mei stood there quietly and told Chen to kick. Chenlu stares at her and asks whether she has misunderstood the punishment or simply has no idea how she is supposed to pose for it. Hearing that, Mei wonders why he is taking the punishment so seriously. She pauses, then asks him about it. Chenlu almost changes the deal, thinking maybe one kick on the butt would be enough if he doesn't go too far, but he shuts that down and asks her straight up if she's going to keep her promise or not. He's clearly getting annoyed. Mei realizes she really has to bend over and let Chenlu kick her. That part sinks in fast. Luo is thrilled too. He never imagined the future fire fairy and war god would one day stand in front of him like this. It feels unreal. Then Chenlu starts taking off his shoe, and Mei wonders if he's really about to kick her hard. She tenses up, then tells him not to drag it out. She'll count to 10 and if he still doesn't do it, he'll never get another chance. So now Chenlu starts doubting himself. Kicking her there feels like the kind of move that could leave him single forever. Still, by the time her count is almost over, only 2 seconds are left. So without thinking, he smacks her butt with his hand instead. Mei turns red and asks why he used his hand. Chenlu awkwardly apologizes, saying he forgot, and asks if he can do the kickover. That only makes Mei angrier. She storms up, pinches him hard, and warns that if he tells anyone she'll kill him. Then he changes the topic and says he'll ask Mayu to make some of her favorite food to celebrate her joining the team. At first, Mei is still mad, but then something feels off. He shouldn't know what food she likes. She figures Mei must have told him. Soon Mei eats happily and thanks Chenlu for looking after Millie. He tells her not to worry, that's what he should be doing. After that, Chenlu gathers everyone and says they need to move back to his mansion for safety and easier supply runs. If they find capable survivors, they can recruit them too. The next day, while driving back, Chenlu is thinking about Mei's training and the others' progress when he suddenly hears someone yelling for help. He finds Chenlu fighting zombies with one of them holding the line for the others. The three tell Fang to run, but he refuses. If they die together. Chenlu is impressed. Even after Olin was hurt by poisonous zombies, Fang still didn't abandon the other three. Then, Fang spots him and begs him to save them, promising they'll repay his kindness. Chenlu tells Dharma to help them. Then the boys introduce themselves one by one. First is Fanglu, whose power boosts his strength and body. The second says his name is Yang Xuan and he uses ice. The third is Li. His power is lightning, though it's much weaker than Dharma's. The last boy introduces himself as Xuan and his ability is sand. Fanglu explains that they all work security together. They came out for supplies and ran into poisonous zombies. Chenlu then asks about forming a team with him as captain. Fanglu agrees right away. Luo tells them to get in the truck. If they need to grab anything first, they can go do it. Otherwise, just sit in the truck. The scene shifts to Chenlu's villa where he lets Fanglu and the others stay for now in the empty house next door. After they leave, Mei praises Fang and the others for being brave enough to fight, but Chenlu tells Sohaju and Mei not to relax yet. They need to watch the newcomers first just to be sure. Then he sends Mei and Miley to pick a room on the 3rd floor, and says Sohaju and Mayu will stay on the 2nd. Next, Chenlu asks Sujaju to come with him and check on the new neighbors. When they arrive, Chenlu Lua hears the boys talking about Dharma, and how they probably couldn't beat him. So Lua coughs to announce himself, then asks if any of them know how to cook rice, and he hands over some food. Fang is too polite to accept, saying they still haven't repaid Chenlu for saving them. He just smiles and tells them to take it now that their teammates sharing food is normal. He also tells Sudhaju to give them a communication device. Chenlu adds that they'll be staying there a while, so they should take care of themselves and settle in. Later, Milling gets upset with Chenlu for bringing her along instead of Sudhaju. She's worried about Millie being grouped with someone else if danger shows up. Suddenly, Chenlu senses someone nearby and tells Milling to hide. Someone's coming. A girl steps out of a car and he is stunned. It's Mutant G. He blurts out that he can't believe he forgot about her. Miling, surprised, asks if he knows the girl. Chenlu says she's the CEO and lead designer of a clothing company famous in her field. Then he remembers something worse. Moon-jae is completely insane. After the apocalypse began, she and her staff built a shelter that only accepted female survivors. That part sounded fine, but the real problem was her rules. She wouldn't allow her followers to fall in love, and anyone caught was punished badly. He also remembers Mu Ching-X later became notorious for her twisted desires. In the end, she died too, and after that, Miling took over and allowed male survivors to join. Thinking it over, Chenlu is pleased. Muteng could make a useful subordinate. As he keeps staring, Miwang asks why he's looking at her like that. Before he can answer, Muingji's group notices them. One of the girls calls out asking who's hiding there. When Chen looks closer, he remembers the girl's name is Xuan. She's a very strong ice user, though in his last life she died early. Muingji walks up to Milling, introduces herself, and asks who Milling is. Then she explains that their group is made up only of girls and invites Milling to join them. Chenlu is instantly irritated that Muji is trying to steal one of his people, but Milling refuses, saying she already has a team. Much then asks if Chenlu is her boyfriend. Chenlu cuts in and says that's none of her business, then tells Miling to come on. They need to check how the others are doing. Much is shocked. In her eyes he is a lustful creep. So how does a girl like Miling stay with him? She decides to show Miling his true face. So Muyenji tells her group they'll stay there for the night and starts thinking of the best way to turn Miling against Chenlu. The scene shifts to night where Chenlu and Muyenji talk alone. He says he didn't expect to spend the night chatting with her, and Muyen says she wants to work with him on something. Chenlu tells her to explain, and Mutianjae says they plan to raid a shopping mall in the east for supplies. She believes zombies will be there, so she wants his help. If he joins, he can take 30% of the supplies while her group keeps 70%. Hearing that, Hiluo gets tense. It sounds like the same mall where he and Millie met mutant zombies, and he already took all the supplies there. So what exactly is Mian after? Because of that, Chenlu refuses, acting like a coward and saying he doesn't dare go. Muin-jae gets angry, wondering how a loser like Chenlu ended up with someone as beautiful as Miling. Her real plan had been to expose him in front of Miling by setting something up at the mall. That won't work now. So she decides to get help from someone else. On the other side, Chenlu realizes Mukshi and Jae is trying to get rid of him just because he's with Miling. That makes him mad too. If she's really hostile, there's no reason to spare her, and he starts thinking about who he can send to eliminate the threat. Then he spots Dharma and decides to use him. Meanwhile, Mukshi and Jae goes to someone's place, knocks and calls for Fang. When Fang comes out, he tells her not to call him brother. Mukshi and Jae is annoyed, but for Miles' sake she swallows it. She says she needs a favor, and a few minutes later, she explains the whole thing. In the end, she asks Fang to use his wind ability to draw zombies toward Chenlu's place. Fang agrees, saying it would be an honor to help CEO Mutant Ji get rid of trash like Chenlu. He starts to make a demand, but before he can finish, Mushin promises he can join their group once he is gone. Fang accepts. Truth is, he was already willing to do it because of a girl named Wang Ling. He wanted to stay by her side anyway. Fang also happens to know Su Jiaju and thinks he might find him at the mansion since Suaju worked there as a bodyguard. That matters. In the next scene, Fang leads a group of zombies toward the mansion, but he's shocked to see Sudhaju standing there too, along with a dog and a boy. Dharma moves to attack, but Chenlu tells him to wait. Fang asks Sudhaju why he's at the mansion. Right then, Fang realizes Michin-jae never told him his friend was inside, and he can't let his friends get hurt just to join some girl's team. So he turns around and draws the zombies away instead. Seeing Fang, Chenlu, Lure remembers he used to be one of their friends, and once helped lure zombies away so they could grab supplies. In Chenlu's last life, Fang died badly after being bitten by too many zombies. Fang comes back and apologizes for leading the zombies there. Saju says he knows Fang wouldn't do that on purpose to hurt him. Then Chenlu asks if Muin-jae was the one who told him to bring zombies to the mansion. Fang freezes and asks how he knew. Then it hits him. The trash Muel-jae talked about was him. Chenlu asks Fang if Mutian said anything else. Nervous, Fang says, no, only the two of them were there, and she just mentioned showing up at a key moment. Then Chen spots Mutian arriving on a bus with her team. Right then, the noise draws a level 5 zombie, and it mutates as it charges at them. Behind them, Mutian is still assuming Fang brought the zombies in. She had really come to take Mueling back, so she orders everyone to prepare. As the zombies rush in, and the fight begins, then the zombies start firing fireballs, which terrifies the girls. Mutian panics and tells everyone to get off the bus fast. The fuel tank is full. Even though she can't understand why these zombies are so strong, she still orders a group attack. So Mutian swings her sword, but the zombie dodges and sprints straight at her. That instantly scares her, and without thinking, she yanks one of her own teammates in front of her like a shield. Chen is stunned by that. At that point he decides Muin has to die, and he wants the mutant crystal too. Meanwhile, the other girls are horrified to see Muin using her own people to block an attack. They can barely believe it. Cornered, Muin suddenly decides she can use Chen to block the zombie. So she runs toward him, but Chenlu meets her with a furious punch and blasts her back, calling her out for treating her comrades like a shield. Muin is shocked by how strong he is, but it's already too late. The zombie hits her. Jian tells the girls to run and says she'll hold it off for them. That earns Chen's respect, and he decides to save her because that kind of bravery is rare. So, Chen steps in, clashes with the mutant zombie, and cuts it apart in a single strike. Everyone is left stunned. The zombie went down in one slash. Then Chenlu tells Xi Jun to throw the gas tank away already instead of standing there with it. The second she tosses it aside, the tank explodes into the air. After being saved, Xion breaks down crying, relieved that the battle is finally over. Meanwhile, Chen pulls the crystals from the zombie's head and walks over to Xiayun, telling her to stop struggling since he'll help her up. He also tells her to comfort the others. The dead still need to be buried. Xiayun is moved and thanks Chen for the help. Then Chenlu asks what they plan to do now. At that, Xiayun realizes he's right. They need a plan because the survivors still have to keep living. Later, Xiayun comes to Chen's room and asks if he's inside. That makes him happy since he'd been waiting for her. It looks like offering 50 tons of rice to bring her over wasn't for nothing. Her back at the fight, he had told Shuin that if her group joined him, he could make sure they wouldn't starve for a while. She asked for time to talk it over with her sisters, then said she'd come back with an answer. Now, she returns and says their remaining 20 people want to join. Chenlu agrees, but says they must follow his rules. First, everyone obeys his orders at all times. Anyone who refuses will be dealt with harshly. The main. Second, he won't treat men and women differently. Everyone fights under the same rules. For the third rule, Chen says that if anyone wants a partner, it has to be someone from inside the team. No outsiders unless marriage brings them fully into the group. When they ask why, Chenlu says he won't let his people get taken away, and he especially won't allow creeps to target the girls. Genuine and the others agree with it. He thanks them for joining and says he has a surprise waiting. A little later, the girls are stunned by how many supplies he has. Some even cry with relief. Yuan Chenlu and the other boy figure their chances of getting girlfriends just went way up. There are only 7 guys and more than 20 girls. Fang asks Chenlu if he can join too. After that, Chenlu records everyone's powers. In total, there are 6 physical types, 4 fire, 2 lightning, 4 ice, 2 earth, and 1 each with light and nature. When he hears about the light user, he realizes it's Wang Ling, the girl Fang likes. He decides to keep an eye on Wang, and he also sees that Xiwen has the potential to reach king rank. Chenlu tells Fanggu and Shulin to guard the house while he trains the team. If one person shows up, beat him. If it's a group, wait for Chenlu to return. Sometime later, everyone heads to the training area by bus and truck. Chen picked that spot on purpose because it only had around 300 to 400 zombies, which made it perfect for training. He tells Fang to lure them in, but no more than 30 at a time. Once Fang brings the zombies over, Sud Deju asks the others if he can lead the charge against the zombies. Melling takes command of the magic users and tells them to attack, but training is messy. Some can't even strike while others fight over the same target. A few even start crying mid-battle. That puts Chen on edge. The girl's combat skill is still terrible, and if not for his men, they would have been wiped out by now. After 2 hours, training ends, and Chenlu still praises them for doing well on their first try. Then he tells everyone to hurry and pick clothes that fit them. While they do that, he secretly takes a black cloth and stores it in his void. Maling notices him collecting black clothes. At first, she thinks he has weird taste, but then she starts wondering who it's for, maybe even her. That guess only makes her more annoyed since black doesn't suit her sister anyway. A girl calls the others over after finding a pile of supplies. Everyone is thrilled when they see bottled water, but John tells them to wait and asks Chen how it should be handed out. He says to give 2 bottles each. Watching all this, Millie starts wondering if staying with Chenlu is the best thing that ever happened to them. Since joining him, she's never gone hungry and has always been protected by him. She'd been keeping something in her heart. That night, she decides to tell Chen. Later that night, Chenlu is playing a game when Millie quietly comes in. Seeing her at his door that late, he instantly starts getting the wrong idea. Millie tells him she knows how lucky she is to have him, which leaves Chenlu confused. Then she admits there's something she's wanted to say for a long time. Seeing her blush, Chenlu starts reading into it. However, before he can guess any further, Millie directly asks if he'll be her boyfriend. Chen lights up, moves close, and eases her onto the bed, saying of course, he's been waiting for this. Then he kisses her cheek, which makes her tense up as she admits she's not ready for more yet. He says there may never be a perfect time. In a world like this, nobody knows what tomorrow brings. He's already died once. Then he kisses her forehead and asks if they'd really want to leave things unsaid like this. Millie understands what he means and decides to accept it, reaching out and holding on to Chen. But Chenlu notices Rice is still in the room, so he tosses her outside. Rice gets mad and starts clawing at the door. A little later, Myling finds Rice in the living room and asks why she isn't with Chenlu. Rice says Chenlu is bullying Millie, and because Rice looked upset for Millie's sake, he threw her out. Hearing that, Myling wonders what kind of bullying is going on and heads over to check. Dharma tries to stop her, but when Myling knocks, she hears her sister moaning inside. Then she understands what's happening and backs off. If Millie wants this, interfering would only make things worse. The next morning, Chen is in such a good mood that he tells Mayu to give every team member 20 kilos of pork. Mayu asks where Millie is since she usually wakes up early in the morning. Myling says it's all because of someone. Chenlu immediately realizes she knows what happened last night. Major starts wondering how Chenlu is going to deal with Milling. Chen also notices Rice sitting there quietly angry and refusing to eat, so he asks what's wrong. Rice says if she's mad then it's serious. He laughs and asks how serious. Rice says one dried fish won't be enough to fix it, so Chenlu offers 10 then 20 dried fish. At 20 Rice finally forgives him. Then he tells Rice to sleep by herself from now on because she's grown up. Deep down though, Chenlu really means he has a woman now, so he can't keep sleeping with Rice. After that, everyone eats dinner together. Everyone was having dinner all together. While dinner is going on, a car pulls up outside Chen's villa, drawn in by the smell of the food. A girl named Liwi wants to eat right away, but Lemming tells her to wait. They need to solve the water problem first. Then Liing heads inside and asks if they have water to trade for food. Chen agrees to the trade and tells Shu Yun to bring out 2 bottles of water. After the trade, Liing tried to pull Liwi away, but she stopped and asked him if his group was a team and if they were still taking new people. Chenlu told her that if they wanted in, they had to prove themselves first. He told them to kill 10 zombies, bring back the crystals, and then come see him again. Li Hui was glad to hear it since that was something they could actually do. Chenlu was willing to give them a shot too. They were siblings and they didn't seem like useless people. Once they left the villa, Li Hui said she thought only they knew about crystals, but now it clearly wasn't a secret. Lemming replied that plenty of smart people were still out there, and the fact that Chenlu could feed a whole team meat showed he wasn't ordinary. So, Lemming decided they wouldn't just kill 10 zombies, they'd kill 20 to prove their value. An hour later they returned with the crystals. He praised them, then asked what their powers were. Then Liviering introduced them both. His own ability boosted his body while Li's power was like a magician's. Chenlu asked what kind of magic she had. So Li He gave him a quick show that got Chenlu's attention. Her power had a dark element which meant it could become curses, undead summons, or direct attacks later on. It would be a big help to the team. So Chenlu told Mayu to make braised pork for Liming and Li Hui. That night, Chenlu waited for Millie to finish absorbing the crystals, hoping they could spend some time together after. He told Rice to go sleep with Millie because he had things to do. Rice proudly said she was a good cat so he could handle his work and she'd stay quiet. At that he quickly left, leaving Rice confused about why he suddenly didn't want her around at night. Then he went to Millie's room and gently brought up doing it again that night. Millie hid under the blanket and said she couldn't. She was still sore. Chenlu accepted that and just held her as they went to sleep. Then he remembered her healing power and suggested she try using it on herself. Millie blushed and got even more nervous. The next morning, everyone headed out in the bus. Chenlu explained that their target was the Yulin community in the south, where they'd gather supplies. Since the place would be packed with zombies, everyone had to stay alert. He told them not to panic. First, they'd use the vehicles to deal with the zombies chasing them. When they arrived, there were zombies all over the road, so Chenlu had the elemental users attack while the others protected them. He also told Fang to draw part of the horde away. After that, Shu took command of the assault, and the fight began. Seeing their attacks land much better this time, Chenlu was pleased. Su and the other boys stacked stones nearby to build a barrier. Meanwhile, he took a short break with Rice and out of nowhere, Rice repeated Millie's words. That left Chenlu stunned. He asked where she heard that and Rice admitted she had sneaked over to listen last night, through the balcony. Lu warned her to be careful. She knew too much now and he might have to kill her for it. That made Rice both scared and tense. Half an hour later, once the outside was cleared, Chenlu told everyone to grab weapons and get ready to fight inside. Millie guessed it used to be a restaurant, so there should be plenty of good supplies. Chenlu agreed and reminded everyone they were split into 4 groups and not to move alone. Bit by bit, they loaded the truck with rice, noodles, oil, and meat. Then a girl ran over and told him Luo there was a supermarket that hadn't been touched. When Millie entered the supermarket, she started looking for something. Shu noticed Millie hiding something, so she went to check and saw Millie putting away protection. That made Shu wonder if Millie and Chenlu were already in that kind of relationship. Millie tried to explain that Shu had it wrong, but before she could say much, Shu left, saying someone was calling her. After that, Millie felt horribly embarrassed. If not for Chenlu, none of this would have happened, and she got mad at him again. At the same time, Luo felt eyes on him. Looking up, he noticed a bunch of people hiding in the hotel. A woman upstairs called down, saying she knew he was a kind young man, and since she hadn't had watermelon in forever, could he bring her some? Then more people started shouting down requests for all kinds of things. Chenlu was speechless at how shameless they were. Chenlu answered that his legs were bad, so he couldn't climb the stairs, and because of that, he wouldn't be giving them anything. That set them off. They decided to come down, kill Chenlu's group, and take all the supplies, including the truck. Then someone suggested calling Guang's group, but Lioi refused, saying Guang was their enemy. Instead, they demanded he leave behind all the supplies he had been taking. Chenlu shot back that this wasn't their home, so they had no right to order him around. Lioli yelled that it was his brother's supermarket, which made it his too. They even tried to take the truck. Chenlu told them to get lost and stop asking for trouble, but they still wouldn't back off. Lioli even walked right up to Chenlu and dared him to hit him. He was ready to play dead and act like the victim. Chenlu got tired of hearing it, so he slapped him and said he'd grant his wish. One hit was enough to kill Lioli, but the people in the hotel still thought he was just putting on a show. He laughed at them and asked his teammates what they were waiting for. These people wanted to steal their supplies, so they should just wipe them out. Only then did the hotel crowd realize Lioli was actually dead, and they tried to bluff by saying they knew magic, but the second Fang and the others moved in. The whole hotel group ran. Soon after, a young man arrived with 2 others. Chenlu recognized his face after a moment. It was Chenlu Guang, someone who used to look down on him when he was weak. Guang laughed and said, those old fools were just his neighbors, so he had shown them some respect. He never expected them to die at his hands. He asked if he came to avenge them. Chenlu Guang told him not to get the wrong idea. They were here to make friends and ask a favor. Chenlu asked what kind of help he wanted. He explained that there were lots of supplies in the neighborhood, but 2 days ago, a husky turned into a zombie. It stayed hidden when they moved in groups, then attacked whenever someone was alone. Since Chenlu had so many people, Chenlu wanted to team up and kill it. Chenlu asked what the reward would be. Chengguang offered 300 caddies of rice and 5 barrels of water. Rice came over and told him not to worry. She could tell they didn't mean any harm. Chenlu agreed. He told Guang to lead the way and had Dharma come with him. He also ordered the others to guard the supplies while he went and came back soon. Guang was shocked that he was really going with so few people. He just asked if he couldn't see the dog right behind him. Chenlu Guang couldn't help noticing how well Chenlu Luol was living, and that so many girls were around him. Millie walked up and asked if she could come too and help. Seeing that Chenlu could only think that he was still single while Chenlu already had a dog, a cat, and even a wife. As they moved on, he asked if he had any plan for dealing with the zombie husky. Chenlu said he'd use a dog to handle a dog. That shocked Guang. He asked if Luo really meant to send his own dog in and whether he had some grudge against it. Luo told him to relax, everything would be fine. A little farther in, they caught a heavy smell of blood. Then Dharma spotted the zombie husky ahead. Chenlu immediately told Dharma to charge. As the husky attacked, he used his speed to dodge, then dropped it with a lightning strike. Guang and his men were stunned by how fast he moved. Even Chenlu was impressed that Dharma had picked up new skills without being taught. Then after beating the husky, Luo told Guang to hand over the promised supplies. Guang was still shocked by that speed. Then he asked Chenlu if they could join forces. His own team had killed more than 10 zombies already, and they had enough food for over half a month. However, Chenlu had no interest in sharing command, so he said Guang's group wasn't good enough for an equal alliance. He could wipe them all out by himself. Guang answered that this was exactly why he wanted to join him. Weak people naturally follow the strong. He said they could join, but only if everyone obeyed him. Before Chenlu Guang could answer, one of his men rushed over and said their teammate, Zhang Ling, had been hurt by a zombie that could shoot fireballs. Chenlu Guang ran off to check on him. Chenlu told Millie to come with him and look at the injury too. When they reached them, he asked him if there was any way to save Ling. Chenlu turned to Millie and told her to handle it. Then Millie used her power and healed Liang. On the way back, Lu told Guang to think about his offer. So he talked it over with his people. They wanted to join him, and since his condition was simple, that they treat him as captain and follow his orders, they agreed one by one. After that, they told Chenlu they were ready to follow him. He made it clear one more time if they joined, they had to obey him and fight zombies. Then Chenlu asked if they were fine staying at his place. Now that they were one team, Chenlu and the others agreed. The story then moves on. Near Chenlu's villa, a group of boys was beating someone for blocking their way inside. They were trying to force their way into the villa. Their real goal was to search the place for supplies. A little later, Wei and his group got close to the villa. Xuan asked Fang what they should do since there were too many people and a direct fight would end badly. Then Lu suggested pretending they hadn't seen them, but Fang Yu refused. They couldn't just watch others loot the place. So Fang Yu said they should warn the survivors coming back. If things turned into a fight, they could still run. Luckily Zhenlu spotted Chenla's bus coming back, so they no longer had to worry. With that, they went to confront Wei's group at the villa. Meanwhile, Hill noticed a lot of vehicles ahead. That told him many survivors had gathered there. However, when he got to the villa, he was surprised to see them right at his gate. Once Chenlu and the others arrived, he saw a crowd there, including many girls. The moment he looked at them, he recognized old enemies from his past life. Fein Wei and Chenlu Jing. Harry saw the truck and asked him group to share their supplies with them. Instead, Wei suddenly slapped Harry. He snapped at him, asking who he thought he was and why they should hand over supplies they earned through hard work. Wei actually has his eyes on the girls, so he quickly changes his tone, apologizes to Chenlu's group, and orders his own men to back away. He remembered that Wei had a poison-type power, which made him a real threat. Rice nervously came over and said she felt strange, like those people were aiming hostile intent at her. At the same time, Harry complained that Wei had come back empty-handed. Wei slapped him again and said a direct attack would be tough, so they'd strike at midnight instead. Harry happily said he understood, but that smile vanished at once when his head suddenly exploded from an attack, so it was Chenlu. Right after that, he told his team to finish the rest. He said he already knew they meant harm, and waiting for them to attack first would be stupid of him. That night, Chenlu thought about the next day. Some zombies would evolve to rank 1, so he needed Chenlu Guang and the others to bring back as many supplies as possible. Then someone knocked on his door. He figured it had to be Mei since only Mei and Myling lived on his floor. But when he opened it, he was surprised. It was Myling. Without a word, Myling handed him a bag full of protection. Chenlu stared at it in shock. Myling asked why he looked so surprised, saying she used to do the same for Miley when she was younger and had free time. She also told him that if he was ready to become a father, then he could stop using protection. After that, she ran off. Once she was gone, Chenlu thought he shouldn't waste Myling's effort, so he headed to Miley's room for some romance. The next morning, everyone gathered for a meeting. Miley Lu said they had all noticed zombies seemed to be using magic now, and everyone agreed. So, he said he was about to share some important information. He explained that rank 1 zombies would have powers like theirs to fight them. The best team setup was 4 people, 2 close-range fighters and 2 mage types, so they could battle directly or escape if they ran into a horde of zombies. Next, he said he'd show them how to dodge attacks and asked Shu and Myling to attack him. The 2 girls attacked together, but Chenlu dodges both with ease and explains that reacting only after seeing a spell is already too late. A fighter has to read the attacker's movement first and predict the path of the spell, a method that works well against ordinary rank 1 zombies. Myling then asked him to dodge one more attack, but this time she said he wouldn't escape it because she had already predicted where he would move while dodging. Chenlu appraised her and deep down he was sure she really was a fire fairy. Then he told everyone not to panic. Zombies weren't smart enough to predict like that, but if anyone ever met a zombie that could, they should run immediately. He ordered everyone to split into groups and practice because they would head out after lunch. By evening, Chenlu gave them a task. Each team had to bring back 3 rank 1 crystals. Any team that failed would lose dinner. On the way, he knew that as more zombies evolved, survivors would start killing each other. Then he and Myling noticed some men threatening a girl and her father. Millie recognized the girl as her classmate, her best friend, and asked Chenlu if they could help. Chenlu said that if she really was Millie's best friend, then of course they would step in. He only had to call Dharma's name and Dharma understood at once and rushed the men. Seeing Dharma, the boys got excited and talked about eating dog meat for dinner. But before they could do anything, Milling and Sadaju hit them with a sneak attack. The other side rushed in too and a full fight broke out. In the chaos, Yen Li was killed. Furious, Chenlu's group cut down 3 or 4 of the men responsible. Then their boss, Lu Yuan, showed up. He said the ones who started it were already dead, and he had also killed one of his people. so the matter should end there. He refused. Killing Yan Li wasn't something they could pay back that easily. In his eyes, they all deserved to die. Lu Yuan told Chenlu to be reasonable, but Chenlu still wouldn't back down. Lu Yuan said he had never seen anyone as arrogant as Chenlu. He then asked if he really wanted to fight people who had already killed zombies. His group started to head back before it got too late. At that moment, Chenlu Yuan realized that if he wanted to keep his subordinates in line, he needed to show his strength. He hadn't fought in front of the new members yet, so he told everyone else to go back. He would handle this alone. Lu Yuan was stunned, thinking Chenlu wanted to die. Then Chenlu Yu struck at Lu Yuan with his void sword. Luan panicked and tried to fight back with his sand power, but he was too slow. One slash was enough to kill him. The rest of Luan's team was left frozen in shock and fear. Chenlu was pleased too, because Millie had boosted him with her ability. One by one, Chenlu Guang and the others were stunned by his strength. Even the new subordinate Fang felt relieved he had chosen not to oppose him. Millie told everyone not to leave any danger behind. So, they joined Chenlu and wiped out the remaining people. After it was over, Chenlu praised Chenlu's strength and courage. Chenlu said it was nothing. He felt bad about Yan Li's death. But his real goal was also to toughen everyone up through real fights. No matter what, anyone who bullied his teammates would pay. Then he told everyone to gather the supplies, and since it was getting late, whoever could cook should head back and start dinner. Sometime later at the villa, two boys named Yaoi and Saida came looking for supplies. The moment they saw Dharma, they were stunned. They started thinking about catching him and turning him into dog meat for dinner. Sidi immediately moved to attack, but Mioi stopped him. He said they couldn't catch a dog that fast, so they needed to lure him. Then Yaoi came up with a disgusting idea. He wanted to use his own crap as bait because he thought dogs liked to eat it. It was completely ridiculous. That was enough to break Dharma's patience. He had ignored them up till then, but hearing that filthy plan made him snap, and he struck them down with lightning. When they saw the attack, both tried to run, but it was too late, and in the end they died. He came over and asked Dharma what happened. When Dharma said the intruders were both, he was left speechless. That got Chenlu thinking. If he ever ran into a team of 100 numbers alone could crush his group, and he couldn't protect everyone. With his current people, he didn't even know how many would still be alive in 2 or 3 months. Since he had plenty of supplies, he decided to recruit more people, and put up a notice outside the villa. Sometime later, a recruitment board was set up and Lua Guang sat there to speak with survivors who came by. Soon, a group of boys in a car noticed the sign, stopped, and started talking it over. Then Lu Qi asked Wangcha what he thought. Wangcha said they should join, but only he and Louis met the requirements. The others were just level 1, so they went to ask whether family members could come too. When they asked Chenlu Guang, he apologized and said only blood relatives were allowed. Otherwise a level 1 survivor could still join by paying 3 level 1 crystals. Louis then said he was a healer, hoping that would count as an exception. Chenlu Guang was impressed since healing was rare. He said it might be possible, but they would have to obey their captain's orders. So, they went to meet him, and he told him some people wanted to join, and one of them was a healer named Lu Qi. The name rings a bell for Chenlu. He remembers hearing it in his past life. Louis later became a famous healer. Rice assured Chen they meant no harm, so he let them stay and told Guang to show them their rooms. That night, Chenlu sat in his room feeling lucky. He had just recruited a well-known level 2 healer without even trying. Then he took out a crystal and figured that if nothing went wrong, reaching level 5 should be easy. At rank 5, he could cut through big groups of zombies without getting hurt. Even a level 1 zombie wouldn't be able to injure him. After absorbing the crystal, Chen really did break through to rank 5. Reaching it in less than a month made him happy, but he knew this was only the start. Without special chances, it would still be hard for him to grow. Still, he pushed that thought aside. For now, he wanted to celebrate with Millie. So he told Rice he was going to spend the night with Millie. Rice got annoyed once again. She had to sleep alone. The next day, Chen announced a group mission. This time he was going too, and their target was the vegetable market on Xingfu Road. He told Bran to stay behind with his people and Dharma King to protect the home. After that, the team left the villa. On the way, he explained that the market had cold storage grain and oil plus farm goods. Since it used to be crowded, there would also be a lot of zombies, so they needed to work in teams. He added that once spells were used together, timing and position got tricky. Their usual 4-person setup wouldn't work well, so they had to move carefully. Then he told F to draw the zombies out so everyone else could kill them one at a time. Millie even begged Phone to lend a hand. Fang started pulling the zombies in. Chen reminded them that if they stayed about 20 m from the zombies, they wouldn't get hurt. He said they should use that trick anytime they faced a bigger group, but if the numbers got too crazy, run, otherwise their deaths were on them. With that, everyone began clearing a path to the market entrance. An hour later, Chenlu counted around 100 zombies down. Then he decided to head lower and lure more out. He also remembered hearing in his past life that this market held a sand-type mutated zombie with combat power around level 4 or 5. So, he already knew where that zombie liked to hide. All of a sudden, Chen sensed something rushing at him fast. When he turned and saw what it was, he was actually glad they had found that zombie much sooner than expected. Chen Lu used his void space, slipped behind the zombie, and cut its head off in one strike. After that, he pulled the crystal from its body. Everyone stared in shock after Chen killed the mutated zombie so easily, but their surprise only grew when he suddenly ran and yelled for them to run too. He did it because a zombie horde was rushing straight at them. While they ran, Chen told them to ready their spells, turn and fire with rough aim, then keep running. Somehow it worked. In a short time they wiped out 200 zombies, and the group started feeling like together they could beat any kind of zombie. However, Chenlu warned them that only worked if they could keep up with how fast the zombies were evolving. The others were still celebrating, so Chen snapped at them to quit staring around and load the supplies into the truck. Meanwhile, Chenlu guessed the cold storage had been out too long, so the meat inside would probably be bad. Even so, his void could hold it for now, and later he could refresh it there. 2 hours later, he was heading back to the villa, but someone named Long spotted their bus and stepped in front of it to stop them. Shane told the guy to move aside and stop blocking the road. Then, Chenlu noticed another boy riding toward them on a bike. When he took off his helmet, Chenlu was surprised. It was Xia. In the future, Xia would become known as the Invincible Iron Fist. Xia had come to talk to Long. He asked if the rumor was true that Long had a live chicken. If so, could he have one? His mother didn't have long left, and before she died, she wanted one bowl of chicken soup. Xia even said he'd give his life in return. Long refused and his men mocked Xia, acting like he wanted to be fed forever. Hearing that, Chen lit up. In his eyes, this was a great deal to make. He walked over to Xia and said he had chicken. Since he was a chef, he could grant that wish if Xia was serious about giving his life to him. Xia agreed right away, but said the chicken had to be good quality. Chen then told Su Haju and Millie to swap vehicles with Xia and go help bring his mother to the villa. Until then, he would ride the bike. When they reached Xia's house, Chen realized Xia's mother had cancer. That hit hard, especially since Millie's power couldn't heal her. Chenlu told Xia he'd prepare the chicken soup as soon as they got back. At the villa, Chenlu asked Shu Yun to get a room ready for Xia and his mother and take care of her personally. Meanwhile, he went to find someone to cook the chicken soup. He found Mayu and asked her to make the best chicken soup she could, then listed the ingredients she would need. Maj got offended and asked if he thought her food wasn't good. Chen quickly explained that he meant it had to be better than ever. Mayu said it would take 3 hours, so he asked for extra dishes to be made too. He figured Xia's mother might want one last meal with her son. 3 hours later, several chicken dishes were set in front of Xia's mother. She thanked Shen and cried with joy. Xia's mother told Chenlu she knew he was a good person and asked her son to cherish that and never betray him. Then mother and son shared a tearful moment. Chen quietly stepped out of the room. A while later, Xia came to him and said sadly that his mother had passed away, but at least she didn't have to suffer anymore. He also told Chen to watch what he could do from now on. Chenlu started thinking that with Xia's talent, becoming the Invincible Iron Fist was only a matter of time. Then he realized the team was getting stronger fast, which meant it was time to manage them better. He decided to create rewards, punishments, and a clear rank system to motivate everyone. He remembered how gathering camps did it before. Leader, deputy leader, elder, elite, regular member, and new member. And there would also be special slots for people like Sudhaju and Millie. He decided anyone who reached level 3 would become elite. Everyone else would be regular members, and new people could earn promotions through their actions. Later, points could be traded for supplies. Since points would come from performance, every rank would depend on merit. The next day, Chen told everyone the point system was starting. Any elite member with leadership skill could become a captain and lead a small squad. For now, Shu Yun would lead the women's team, while Fang Yu and Guang would serve as temporary captains for the men. He said the new system was now in place and anyone who performed well could live well too. Hearing that, everyone got fired up and wanted to kill more zombies to earn a better life. Elsewhere, another group was heading toward Chen's villa area. A man in a car named Xiao asked a boy what was going on and why there weren't any zombies around. The boy said a team near the villas had wiped them out. They were strong fighters, and they even ate meat for dinner. That shocked Xiao. He turned to his companion Jintao and asked if they should go check it out, maybe even make friends with them. Jino agreed, hoping they might get some meat. On the way, he told Xiao he remembered that before the world ended, a rich man named Chen, the main shareholder in his company, had asked for $300 million. Soon, they noticed a barricade in front of the villas. Jiao asked what money even meant. Now, Jintao started thinking Chen might have died long ago. Back at the villa, Lan was standing outside on guard. Seeing such a large group approach, he got nervous and called Chenlu for help, saying a lot of people were coming toward the villa. As soon as Chenlu came out, Jiao and Jin Tao were stunned to see him alive. Shen tensed up too when he realized who they were, his creditors, and wondered what they wanted. After greeting each other, Jiao asked if he was in charge of the villa. He said yes. So, Jiao brought up the loan and said it had grown to 330 million with interest, though he was still willing to accept the original 300 million. Chenlu just smiled, wondering why Xiao thought he'd pay anything back. Then he said the debt had already been paid. If Xiao never got the message, that was probably because of the broken network, not Chen or his bank account. From the back, Jinta yells at Luo for trying to trick them over such a huge debt. He just smiles and tells Jinta to bring proof that the money was never paid. He already knows they can't. Then Chenlu says they actually helped him before, so as thanks, he can give them a ton of rice. Jawai says Chenlu is clearly lying, but he'll still give him a chance if he hands over some meat. Jawai quickly raises the price and demands 15 tons. Jinta cuts in. If Chenlu doesn't have that much he can pay with the girl behind him. That makes Chenlu snap and he coldly asks what they'll do if he refuses it. Jawai sees how tense things are and realizes his confidence comes from real strength, so acting reckless would be stupid. So Jawai backs down and says he doesn't want the meat anymore. Jinta instantly blows up and demands to know what he was doing. Chenlu is pleased and tells Jinta Hai to leave safely before anything bad happens. Jia Hai made that choice because he could tell Jintao only wanted the women behind Chenlu. He also wanted to test Chenlu's strength first. So for now, he chose to leave. Jinta, still furious, challenges Lua and his group. He gives everyone else one warning. If they don't want to die with him, they should stand with Zhou Hai. Jintao is stunned when the others really do step back with Xiao Hai, so he activates his power and summons skeletons. Chenlu is a little impressed. Jinta has dark element abilities, but it's a shame he isn't going to live. Jinta laughs, thinking they're all seeing this for the first time and shouts that they'll be dragged down to hell. Chenlulu orders his people to fight. 5 points for each enemy and 100 points if they capture Jinta alive. Right then, Dharma runs over barking. Chenlu asks Rice to translate. Rice says Dharma wants a point system for dogs too, or he'll sue for dog discrimination. Chenlu gets annoyed and asks when he ever stopped feeding Dharma meat. Then he tells him fine, he'll get points just like everyone else. Dharma is thrilled and jumps right in the fight. He tears through enemies already dreaming of 20 points and becoming an elder. Helub unleashes a lightning attack and wipes out a huge number at once. Till then, Myling tells everyone to ready their spells so the enemies can't rush. Dharma keeps dropping enemies with pure speed, leaving Jinta shocked and Chenlu annoyed since was supposed to train his people, but the dog is stealing the whole battle. Then Dharma charges straight at Jinta. Terrified, he begs the dog to stop and squeezes his eyes shut, but nothing hits him. When Jinta looks again, he's horrified to see Dharma peeing right in front of him. Dharma is marking him as his points, then runs off to keep killing enemies while thinking about points. On the other side, Chenlu feels embarrassed and wonders if Dharma really had to do that in front of everyone like that. Jinta completely breaks down and grabs Chenlu's leg, begging to be spared. Meanwhile, Xiao Hai feels lucky he didn't push Chenlu any further. Chenlu tells Jintao he won't kill him. Secretly, he's pleased because Jinta's summons can help farm crystals. The issue is that only level 3 summons have crystals. So Jintao needs to be pushed up to level 4 first. Relieved to be alive, Jintao quickly asks what he wants him to do. Chenlu says he has high hopes for him, then tells Chenlu Guang to lock Jinta in a room and treat him as a new member. After that, Zhao Hai comes over and apologizes for offending Chenlu again and again, and offers him a gun as a gift to make up for it. Chenlumo knows a gun means nothing to him. Now that he's rank 5, so he uses it to shock Zai. He fires the gun and Zhou Hai freezes in surprise at it. Then he realizes he sent the bullet away with a void space. After seeing that, Zhao Hai finally understands Chenlu is on a completely different level. Compared to him, Zhou Hai is nothing, so he'd better stay careful. Nervously, Xiao Hai shakes Chenlu's hand and admits his view of him has totally changed. Chenlu says they can work together later as long as Xiao Hai doesn't have bad intentions. Then Chenlu asks Xiao Hai's people if any of them have Dark Earth natural or even auxiliary type abilities. Anyone interested in joining can step forward. He glances at Ling expecting him to speak up and protect his image as a leader. Chenlu Lua understands right away, steps forward, and tells everyone they get 3 meals a day, and even meat sometimes, but joining depends on their strength. That excites a lot of people, and they start sharing their powers while asking to be accepted. Chenlu then asks Zohai if he has any issue with it, and Zohai quickly says no, still scared of Chenlu's power. Now everyone grows serious and begins reporting their abilities and levels, hoping they qualify. Chenlu says the test is simple. Kill 10 zombies and bring back the crystals as proof. Do that and they can join. Hearing that, everyone happily heads out to hunt zombies. Before leaving, Ziahai tells him he can find him at Jinlong Garden and says he hopes he will help him sometime in the future. That night, Milling says the new recruits seem strong, so why not let them clear the nearby zombies too? According to her account, they should be able to wipe them all out before the zombies evolve. Chenlu says many survivors still don't want to fight. If a huge group runs into a mutant zombie, they could all be wiped out, but inside he knows that's only half the truth. He actually wants the zombies to mutate because stronger crystals are the only way for them to evolve too. Without that, they'd just be waiting to die when the real monsters show up. The next morning, Chenlu warns everyone to stay alert because the zombies are getting smarter. He says this because he knows they're about to level up. After they were gone, Chenlu thinks that death and injuries are part of survival. If people don't fight enough and build real battle sense, they'll die sooner or later. Then Rice suddenly tells Lu she has a bad feeling. Myling is gonna get hurt, though not badly enough to die. Chenlu remembers Muling, Malu, Sudhaju and Dharma are together, so normally there shouldn't be any chance of injury. Tense now, Chenlu asks Rice if it's life-threatening, and Rice says no. Then Chenlu starts wondering if he should go after them. However, he quickly stops himself. If he rescues them every time, they won't grow. Even if Muling reaches king level, she still won't become the spirit flame fairy that way. He pats Rice and praises her for being an amazing cat. While thinking that only level 10 spiritual users can sense danger ahead of time, that means Rice has reached something close to that. So Chenlu decides to feed her better crystals and help her level faster. The scene moves to Myling's group fighting zombies. Myling says that before one punch was enough to kill them, but now level 2 zombies are clearly tougher, which should mean their crystals are better than level 1. Sudhaju says he doesn't feel a huge difference between them. After the fight, Myling says they made a pretty good haul today. However, danger is already nearby. A mutant zombie is watching them from a distance. It realizes these humans are nothing like the ones it used to eat. So instead of charging in, it sends other zombies to swarm them first. Dharma senses more zombies coming and warns the group with loud barking. Mia tells everyone not to panic and Ming and Sudhaju decide to deal with the zombies one by one. They try but the numbers are overwhelming, so Meng pulls back for a moment to catch her breath. Then the mutant zombie uses its power to speed up the zombies. Seeing them suddenly move so fast, the group gets alarmed and wonders what changed. So now Myling and the others have no choice but to stand and fight. They started fighting, but the mutant zombie avoids Mage and sneaks around, planning to strike from behind. Myling spots it just in time and jumps in front of Mage to protect her. The mutant zombie scratches Myling's arm, but she doesn't hesitate and attacks right back. So, the mutant zombie decides to run, realizing it's no longer safe. So, Taju tells Myling to handle the normal zombies while he holds off the mutant until they can finish it together. Millie prepares to support Sudhaju as well. When Dharma returns, the shouting immediately tells him something serious happened while he was away. The moment he sees the mutant zombie, he rushes in, thinking that if anything happens to those three, Chenlu will turn him into dog meat. Dharma's attack pulls the mutant zombie's focus, giving Sudhaju a chance to strike. But even a slash to the head isn't enough to kill it. So Dharma keeps chasing and mauling the mutant zombie while it tries to escape. He knocks it to the ground, and then the whole group attacks together to finish it off. After they finished the mutant zombie, everyone was worn out, so Mauling called off the search for the day. Dharma though was thrilled to get a pink crystal from the mutant zombie. Later, Dharma took the crystal to Chenlu and asked Rice how many points it was worth. Lua checked the pink crystal, saw it was level 4, and said Dharma would get 100 points for it. That instantly made Dharma happy, but the mood changed fast when he told Rice to absorb it and reach level 4. Dharma exploded, asking why the crystal he fought so hard for was being handed to a cat. Chenlu calmly told him it was his choice. Turn in the crystal and get the points, or keep the crystal and lose the points. Dharma quickly said he didn't need the crystal, only the points. Chenlu just smiled. Handling Dharma was easy for him. He wanted Rice to have it because she had helped him before back when she warned him during Millibai's future reading. Still, he was worried because he still hadn't told her about Sidage's injury. Chenlu couldn't tell if her silence was because her level was too low, or because Sidaju's wound wasn't serious enough. That was why he decided to strengthen that broken ability no matter what. A few days later, Dharma came over and called everyone to look at him. So, when they did, Millie asked if he looked bigger. Millie said it wasn't her imagination. Dharma had definitely grown. Sudoju joked that maybe it was Mayu's cooking, but Dharma barked in protest. Rice translated, he had reached level 4 and his body had changed. Everyone was shocked and even Milling felt annoyed that she was improving slower than a dog. Rice then said, Dharma wanted to know how many points Luo would give him for this upgrade. Curious, Luo asked why he needed so many. Dharma's answer was wild. He wanted to become an elder first, then work his way up to deputy chief so one day everyone would. He got mad on the spot and kicked him, thinking Dharma was trying to steal his position. Right. Then he got a call. Afterward, Chenlu said Xiaohai had sent someone again. They were asking for help. When Chenlu went to meet the visitor, a boy handed him an envelope and introduced himself as Song Linghai. He said he came to show respect and deliver it. Song Linghai added that Xiaohai told him to give over the envelope. Whether Chenlu agreed to help or not, Chenlu then asked him to explain what was going on. Song Linghai said a supernatural being named Jiang Wu had suddenly appeared and started causing trouble. Even Xiaohai didn't want to fight him. But Jiang Wu kept yelling that if Xiaohai refused to be his little brother, he'd keep wrecking everything. He also said Jiang Wu had taken down 10 of their men by himself and those men all had level 2 powers. That stunned him. If Jiang Wu could beat 10 people alone, he figured the guy had to be level 4. He started wondering how Jiang Wu evolved that far. It probably wasn't talent. More likely he got lucky like Chenlu once did and found a level 4 crystal. Then another thought hit him. If he killed Jiang Wu, he could get that level 4 crystal and maybe push himself to level 6 or even 7. So, Chenlu kept asking Song Linghai question after question about Jiang Wu's power. And in the end, he agreed to help Xiaohai and check Jiang Wu himself. He told Song Linghai he'd be back soon after packing. Inside the villa, Luo asked Rice if this trip would be dangerous. Rice said she couldn't tell yet. Nervous, Chenlu asked if that meant it was safe or not. After a short pause, Rice said he could go without worry. So Chenlu took Rice with him and left Dharma to watch the house. In the car, he was impressed by how nice it was. Hearing that, Sling Linghai said he could keep it when he got back. Once Chenlu reached their base, he only had to ask Rai wouldn't refuse. When they arrived, Draw Hai thanked Luo for coming. The moment Chenlu saw Jiang Wu, he laughed. In his eyes, Jiang Wu was just leaning on a few powers. Then he attacked Jiang Wu and dropped him in a single move. Everyone was left stunned by Chenlu Luo's strength. Even Jiang Wu couldn't believe he lost that easily. After that, Chenlu started looking for the crystal, but couldn't find it. Song Linghai asked if he was searching for something and offered to help, saying he was great at finding hidden things. Sure enough, he quickly guessed the spot Jiang Wu would have hidden it, and soon he pulled out a crystal. Song Linghai happily handed the crystal to Luo. Chenlu saw it was a level 6 crystal, but only a quarter of its power remained. It was also a spiritual type, so he decided to give it to Rice. Jia Hai, meanwhile, was curious about what these crystals could do. Soon after that, Jia Hai told everyone there that they should unite and start clearing out the zombies. He even invited Jiang Wu's teammates to join them. Before leaving, Chenlu told Xiao Hai he was heading home. She asked if he wanted someone to escort him back. Instead, he asked for the golden Bentley, and Jia Hai agreed right away, giving it to him Luo. After he left, Jia Hai told Song Linghai that knowing Chenlu had huge benefits when things got bad, he could save them. On the way home, Rice watched a show and Chenlu asked why she and Dharma liked TV so much. Was it really that good? It turned out the show was about someone who could predict the future. So, Rice asked if that person was stronger than her. Chenlu explained it was just acting, not real life, so there was no reason to compare anyone to her. After that, he started wondering if watching the show had inspired Rice and taught her fortune-healing. Suddenly, Rice shouted that she sensed a big breast omen. Chenlu tensed up and asked if it was good or bad. He asked again if it was really a bad sign, or if she was just scaring him. Rice insisted it was about a big breast and it was bad. Chenlu Lu hurried toward the villa. When he got home, everyone was hurt, so he quickly asked what happened. Myling explained that during training by the artificial lake, they ran into a huge swarm of over 2,000 bees and barely handled it. Chenlu realized he needed to inspect the area around the villa more carefully. Then he asked Miley about her and her sister. Miley said it wasn't serious. They were all okay, and Mile was only coughing a little. She leaned in and whispered that Myling had been stung on that part, then slipped off to her room. Not getting it, Chenlu asked, which part? Millie shyly pointed at her breast. That was when Lu understood Rice's warning. The big breast bad omen was about bees stinging Milling there. They later cut to two boys talking. One of them badly hurt. Mac urged Sack to go join the villa group since it was safe, but Sack wanted him to come too. Mac said he couldn't. The entry fee was 3 crystals and they were 1 short. After he died, Sack could take his crystal and enter the villa alone. In the end, Mac died and Sack raged over the rule. Why demand so much, force people to fight alone and keep them from teaming up to kill zombies? In his mind, those villa people were the reason his brother died. So Sak decided to kill Chenlu and the others for revenge. That night Sak went to his villa and said he wanted to join the team. Rice immediately told Chenlu that Sak was carrying killing intent toward him. Chenlu wondered what kind of grudge made Sak come to murder him, so he told Sak to walk around with him. After they went farther away, Lu slapped Sak and demanded to know why he wanted him dead. Sak denied it, but he told him to talk fast. His time was limited. Sak knew he was about to get beaten to death, so he got up and prepared to fight back. That surprised Chenlu. Sak had two different powers. Sak charged at him, yelling that Chenlu harsh rules had killed his brother while Chenlu sat at home playing with a cat. Chenlu got angry and snapped back, asking how Sak had twisted this into sounding like he caused the apocalypse. Sak told him to shut up and fight, but Chenlu was far too strong and Sak went down in a single slash. The next morning, he stood at the villa gate staring at one of his own followers. He was watching the boy because Rice had said she felt he was going to die. Chenlu remembered his name was Shuinking and that he used wind powers. Shuinking led his group toward the forest to get some experience. Chenlu stayed there to see if Rice's prediction could be changed and if he could save him. Then Chenlu saw a black cat attack Shuinking. He wondered if this was what Rice had been talking about, so he struck the cat and saved Shuinking. But the instant he did, Rice coughed up blood and collapsed. Dharma froze in shock, then started crying, not knowing what had happened. He tried to wake her up, but when she didn't respond, he rushed off to find Chenlu. Meanwhile, he was thinking that for a prophecy to come true and still be stopped, Rice's power might be far beyond what he thought. Suddenly, he saw Dharma racing toward him. Dharma came running over in tears. Chenlu's heart sank. Something had clearly gone wrong at home. He rushed back with Dharma right behind him, and the moment he got there he froze. Rice had collapsed. When he checked her, he finally relaxed a little. Her heart was still beating. Then Chenlu looked around. The guards at the gate were fine. So no intruder had come in. If that was true, who hurt Rice? Dharma was just as shocked and said he had no idea. Right then, Millie arrived and asked why Chenlu called her back. However, as soon as she saw Rice, she asked what happened. Chenlu told her to forget everything else and heal Rice first. Lu first thought saving Shuinking had caused Rice's prophecy to rebound on her. But then he remembered Ming's case and pushed that idea away. Rice soon woke up. They learned the prophecy had been disturbed, which made her cough blood and pass out. He apologized for what happened to her. Rice explained again that she felt like she stood on a track, and only Chenlu, Millie, and Ming were on it with her. For them, she could strengthen the prophecy more safely. For other people, using it meant taking a huge risk. She also said Dharma was desperately trying to get onto that track, but he was the farthest from her. Chenlu got it. Prophecy could be adjusted, but only after enough intimacy was built, so this power had to be used carefully. Lu then told Dharma to get closer to Rice since it would help him too. Dharma immediately refused, saying he wasn't some bootlicker, but once he heard it might save his life someday, Dharma quickly changed his tune. Chenlu then told Rice that from now on, Dharma would serve as her part-time mount. A month later, he addressed everyone. He said they had already seen that some level 2 zombies had started evolving again, and the news made the crowd panic about it. Chenlu told them not to freak out. Zombie evolution only meant better stats and a little more intelligence. It wasn't the same as human growth. Then he said he'd give them some time. He went on to announce a new rule. For the next few days they only needed 1 level 3 crystal. After that the requirement would rise to 2. By then, one of his men came over and said someone from Xiao Hai's side was back with new information. Chenlu ended the meeting and went to see him. When he arrived, he saw it was Song Ling Hai. Song Ling Hai said someone had set up a trade fair near the toll station on National Highway 99. The organizer wanted everyone to gather and talk about how to deal with their problems. It would be held the next day. He added that Jia Hai planned to go and asked if Chenlu wanted to go. Chenlu agreed. He remembered hearing about events like this in his past life, but he never joined them. After his rebirth, his goal was different. He wanted to gather and win over top talents from every field. The next day at the trade fair, a boy stopped him. Lewin asked if they wanted to play. His stall offered everything for a fair price. 10 pounds of rice or super crystals. So the kid was really selling girls. Chenlu was furious that even after the world ended, someone was still using girls to make money, and he turned it down at once, saying he was loyal to his partner. Meanwhile, Chenlu's own people were setting up a stall to earn a little. They said too many people weren't needed there, so the rest could split up and look around. Lua told everyone to buy or enjoy whatever they wanted, but if they found anything valuable, they had to report it. Then he asked Su Xiao and Guang to follow him. A little later, he noticed a crowd gathered around something, so he went to look. He shoved through the people and saw Jiang Long, and he still had the chicken Xiao Hai had begged for. A boy named Zhong Ling was arguing with Jiang Long. He wanted the chicken, but Jiang Long kept asking for more. Jia Ming Liang snapped that Jiang Long had already burned his brother's head and still wanted money. Even so, he offered 100 kilos of rice and nothing more. Jiang Long still refused, so Chen Lu stepped in and offered 20 level 2 crystals for the chicken. Zhu Ming instantly got mad and demanded to know if Chen Lu was picking a fight. Mu ignored him, so Zhu lunged at him. But before he could touch Chen Lu, Xia sent him flying. Zhuing Lang yelled at Xia to stay out of it, warning that anyone who interfered would die. Xia asked him Lu to let him handle everything, and Chen Lu agreed. He wanted Jiang Long to regret this choice for the rest of his life. In just seconds, Xiao crushed several of them. His speed and punching power stunned everyone, and they had no idea what to do. In the end, many of them ran without even trying to fight. Watching Xiao, Jiang Long was stunned. He knew Xiao had been a boxing champion, but he never expected the gap in superpowers to be this huge. Since Chun'el wanted him to regret refusing the chicken, he completed the trade without asking again and took the chicken with him. However, the chicken kept pecking at Chen Lu Ludi, so he grabbed its feathers and yanked one out to teach it a lesson. Then Chen Ludi scared it further, warning that he could pluck all its feathers. Just then, an announcement told everyone to head to the toll station on the east side of the meetup, and each group leader should bring 2 people. So, Ludi chose Yawa and Sudhaju to go with him while the others were told to move around freely. At the meetup, when Chen Ludi reached Xiao Hai invited him to sit near him. Xiao Hai explained that the organizer was Ye, heir to the Ye group, a family involved in foreign trade, but he didn't really care about Ya. What mattered to him was the president beside Ya Fei Lu, a metal-type superpower user who could turn into different weapons to support others. In Chen Ludi's previous life, Lu had also become a king. Chenlu Lusu even wondered if after recruiting him, he'd make Lu turn into a sword or a staff. Ya Fei then introduced himself and said his base had 1,252 survivors with 812 at level 2, 56 at level 3, and 4 at level 4. That bothered Luo a little. In his own group, only 4 people, plus a dog and a cat, had reached level 4, which meant Yufei was strong and had plenty of high-grade crystals in his hands. Jagwei then announced 2 pieces of good news. First, once someone reached level 4, they no longer had to worry about water, and even level 3 users could manage a little. Chenlu knew that part was true, but polluted water permanently damaged a person's potential, so anyone who drank it would pay for it later. Yafei then pulled out a crystal and said the second good news was this level 6 crystal. He didn't know its exact rank, but with a level 6 crystal, people could rise to level 4 much faster. Hearing that, Xiahai was stunned, then relaxed. He realized Chenlu must have used even stronger crystals to become this powerful. Yeguai kept talking about crystals and evolution. Seeing this, Hiluo started wondering why was sharing so much and acting so generous. Ye then said the reason was simple. He didn't want everyone killing each other. So, he wanted to gather them, unite them, and build a collective. He added that nobody would be forced to join. This collective would create an elder council. Any strong leader could become an elder and all major choices would be decided by vote. Chenlu saw through it right away. This wasn't charity. Yago was trying to gather followers. The other group started whispering about whether they should join him. Then a girl shouted that Ya had said joining was voluntary. However, if someone stayed out, they shouldn't complain later if they got bullied while gathering supplies. That set off a wave of murmurs. People had also received pamphlets from Ya Gafie asking them to form an alliance and stand together. Chenlu understood the trick. By handing those pamphlets to every member, Ya was tempting people directly. Even if a leader refused, their subordinates might still join in private. Yag then coldly told everyone that if they were interested, they could come sign up. Chenlu knew he was ruthless, and he also remembered hearing little about him in his previous life. That probably meant Yagaf soon got himself killed. Chenlu smiled to himself. Once Yagafei died, he go after Lu. A man then walked over to Xiaohai and suggested they join forces against Ya. He said many people already hated him so they could recruit more and deal with this together. So Xiaohai asked Chenlu about the offer and Chenlu refused. He said he had no interest in joining a bunch of kids fighting. Later Chenlu Guang reported that 3 more people wanted to join them, but he quietly warned Chenlu that their level 3 recruitment plan had drawn a lot of attention, so they had to stay careful. Mu immediately suspected they were infiltrators trying to slip into his ranks. So he decided to have Rice check them and told everyone to head back home. On the way, Chenlu spotted a girl and recognized her at once. She was Ming Yin, a natural ability user who had mastered the skill of improving seeds. So, Chenlu stopped. Chenlu stopped the girl right away, thinking he needed to get that treasure from her fast. Mang Yin panicked when she saw people around her and ran. Lu even called out to her, telling her to stop, but she turned into a rabbit and sped up. That didn't help. With his void space, Chenlu caught her easily. Manjin froze in shock the moment she was caught. Even then, Chenlu's snorts told her not to panic. He wasn't going to hurt her. He just wanted her to come with him, but she stayed silent. So he said he'd take that silence as a yes. Back at the villa, Millie asked where he found that chicken and rabbit. Right then, Mang Yin changed back, and Millie was stunned by the trick. Mang Yin was furious with Chenlu, but he called Shu and told her to look after Mang Yin and give her food. She refused, saying she'd rather starve than eat what they gave her. A little later, Chenlu found Mang Yin eating breakfast. So he tried to tease her, but she answered him directly. Then he sat beside her, apologized for dragging her there, and said he had seen her ability, so he knew she was a natural ability user, and his base really needed someone like her. He promised that if she grew vegetables, she'd get meat for dinner every day. Mang Yin agreed since she didn't have much choice. Still, she planned to watch everyone first, and if they were decent people, she'd have Chenlu bring over a little fish. Chenlu left her some seeds and told her to start growing vegetables. After that, he told Sadhaju the men who joined them at the trade meeting were spies. Sadhaju said not to worry. He and Jia had already beaten a confession out of them. They had admitted that 2 worked for Ye Fie and 1 for Qian. So Chenlu told Sadhaju to get rid of them quietly. Then Songling Hai came to his villa again and said Chil had suddenly invited Xiao Hai over to talk about taking down Ya. He added that Qilin kept insisting Xiao Hai bring Chenlu too. So Xiao Hai wanted Chenlu answer. Chenlu agreed. He wanted to hear the plan, and if Liu was in danger, he could step in. At Chilin's place, Chilian said he would face Yafi himself. After winning, he'd take 30% and everyone else could split the rest. Before he could go on, Chenlu cut in and said he wouldn't join. He didn't have enough people. Chilin warned him to be careful, saying when 2 sides fight, the onlooker usually gets killed too. Hearing that, Jiao Hai tensed up. He couldn't believe Chilin was still provoking Chenlu. After saying that, Chilin pushed further, asking if he planned to let both sides wear each other out so he could steal their supplies. After Jia Hai stood and said he could vouch for Chenlu, he stayed out of fights. Chilin brushed that off and sneered that if Jia Hai weren't there, Chenlu wouldn't even be allowed to sit with them. He'd have to kneel to speak. Jia Hai knew things were over now, so he stepped back. Chenlu coldly asked what gave Chilin the confidence to make him kneel, then stood up and showed he was ready to fight. Chilin laughed and said he might be level 4 like Yege, but no one beats a 100 men alone. Then he demanded he hand over his crystals and lead the attack on Yege. Only then might they spare him. At that point, Chenlu understood everything. Chilin planted spies and used Jiao Hai to lure him there. Chilin then ordered his men to take everything Chenlu had. He said he never wanted to touch them, but if Chilin died here, Yafai might live longer, but he still used void space and appeared behind Chilin. Quailin jumped in shock and demanded to know if Chenlu had a death wish. He didn't get to finish. Chenlu slapped him and told him to quit the nonsense. Lua then asked what plan she had to kill. Yeah. Quailin still refused, saying that if Chenlu dared kill him, he'd never leave the base alive. Quailin's men rushed over shouting for him, looked to let their brother go. Chenlu Luwak said he hated threats most of all, then asked again if Chilin would talk. The others kept yelling that if he pushed this further, he'd die. Luwak didn't back down, tell the plan or die. Chilin spat back that he should kill him and die with him. That set Chenlu off and he killed him. Seeing that, more people charged at Chenlu to avenge Chilin. Chenlu found it annoying. Now he'd have to deal with Yafie by himself. For the moment though, he moved through the attackers and took them down one by one. The rest were stunned while Xiao Hai just sat there knowing it would end like this. After dropping a bunch of them, Chenlu got bored and decided not to kill the rest. He told everyone not to panic. He wouldn't touch anyone who didn't start trouble. He only gets rid of people who come at him first. He added that unlike Yago, he wasn't trying to use people for manpower. With no other choice, everyone begged for mercy so he would spare them. After he left, everyone started talking about Chenlu's strength. They were shocked a level 4 could be that strong. In the end, they chose to side with Yafei, figuring his 4 level 4 fighters could handle someone as dangerous and uncontrollable as Chenlu, so they went to speak with him. The scene moves to Ye's base where a boy was crying to Lu, saying he had to make things right. Lu asks what happened, and the boy said that 3 days earlier, he went out to kill zombies. When he came back, his wife was gone. Later, someone secretly gave him information, and he found her in a pit. He said Yuling Jie was the one who did that to her. Lu first made sure it was true, and then he stormed off to confront Yuling Jie. While looking for him, Lu heard someone say the woman died too soon, and now they'd have to find another one. Hearing that, Lu threw the door open and demanded to know what was going on. Yuling Jie acted confused and asked what was wrong. Lu marched up to him and shouted the question again. Yuing-jae had forced himself on another man's wife. Ye Fei stopped Liu and told him to calm down. He admitted Yuling was wrong, but said death was too much punishment because Yuling was more valuable than most people. Lu fired back that if value was the issue, then he was worth more than Yuling and he was going to kill him. Yuing-jae panicked and begged Yu to save him, saying he was only taking the blame. Lu was stunned and demanded the truth. Yuling-jae said Yuge spent his days killing zombies, so what was wrong with enjoying women at night? Hearing that, Lu exploded. He shouted that Fei was supposed to be leading everyone to kill zombies, gather supplies, and fight for a better future, not wasting time with women. Furious, Long Yu declared he was leaving, and from now on, their paths were separate. Yuing-jae begged Yakov to do something, warning that if Liu exposed the truth, they'd be in trouble. Yakov hesitated because many people in the base were close to Liu. Then Yuke came up with an idea. He told Yuling to spread word that Liu had gone mad, preyed on the weak, and lost his humanity. Yakofi would spare him this time for his past service. But Liu had to take his men and leave the base. So Liu left with his people, wondering where they could go next since he had been too naive to think everyone truly wanted to keep fighting zombies together. Sometime later, people from Chile's side went to Yakov and told him a man named Chenlu was gathering strength against him. Elsewhere, Sha came to Chenlu and said he had reached level 4. He explained that once physical strength hits level 4, the crystals keep giving off power to temper the body, and that power can be guided to specific parts. So he told Sha to focus the rest of that tempering on his fist. Then someone cut in and reported that Xiao Hai had arrived asking for shelter because Yafi was coming after him. Chenlu told them to bring Xiao Hai in. Then he asked how Yafi found the base and Zhou Hai said it was because of Chil's men, the ones Chenlu had let live. That made Luo angry. Every time he spared future trouble, it came back to bite him. Xiao Hai urged him to get ready fast, because Yafi and the others were heading there in a rage. So he ordered everyone to prepare for defense. A while later, a long line of cars rolled toward the villa. Jarf was thrilled. He'd gathered a huge crowd under the excuse of unity and better survival. Then he stirred them up, claiming some selfish people were stopping that unity, so they had to be removed. Once they arrive at Chenlu's villa, Jagarf boasts that he brought more than 2,000 people, including 76 level 3 fighters, over 1,500 level 2 fighters, and 2 level 4 fighters. He ordered everyone inside to surrender, saying anyone who gave up now would be treated like a brother in the days ahead. He even tossed out promises to lure them over, but no one answered. Hearing that, Chenlu just laughed. Even the regular people in his villa ate better than what Yarf was offering. He also noticed Liu wasn't there and started wondering where he had gone and whether he should look for him first. Jarf lost his temper when nobody responded. He told Zhang Hao to lead the first attack and promised a reward if he killed Chenlu's group. Nervous Zhang Hao asked why his team had to be the ones to go first. Pa pressed him, but Zhang Hao said willingness wasn't the issue. His men all knew the first group and would be the first to die. Jar Fei was clearly disappointed and looked around only to realize everyone else was hiding and avoiding being picked. Inside, Chenlu was getting annoyed. Were they going to attack or not? At this point, he was starting to think these people were a bunch of clowns sent by monkeys. So, he casually tossed aside the core of the fruit he was eating, which shocked the crowd. They couldn't figure out where he was getting fresh fruit from. Jigar then turned to Ha and asked why she had charged in without letting him boost her defense first. If he had, the attacks wouldn't have hurt her. Looking pleased, he asked whether she would help him. Ha agreed and ordered everyone forward. Luan backed her up, warning that anyone who refused would be electrocuted. The moment they got inside, Chenlu's side opened fire. The attackers barely held on by using earth shields to block the hits. When Hannah opened the gate, she found a huge ridge standing between it and the villa. She had no idea why it was there, and before she could think more, Su Yun and Ming struck. Dharma joined in and went straight for Ha. One by one, Yafi's people started dropping, and he finally understood that Chenlu's side was far stronger than his. Before Ye could escape, Dharma chased him down and fired electric balls at him. Then Dharma followed up with kicks and punches until Ye went down. The moment Ye died, the rest broke down and surrendered, begging Chenlu to spare them. Chenlu told them to bring Hanya's partner to him. Crying, Luan begged not to be killed, saying he was a priest. He agreed to spare him, but only if he told the truth about whether Liu had really been guarding the base. Luan said Liu had been thrown out for bullying others and acting overbearing. That surprised Chenlu because it didn't sound like Liu at all. Luan then admitted it was Yafi who framed Long Yu. After that, Chenlu told Zia Hai to bring his old people over, help clean up, and watch the entrance. He promised them a treat when he got back. Muan then told everyone to get in the cars. They were heading to Yogaf's place to grab supplies. Dharma asked about his points, but Chenlu told him to stay and guard the villa. They could talk about it after the trip. Song Linghai asked Zhou Hai about joining him, but he cut in and said the world had changed. Skills alone weren't enough anymore. Xiao Hai's people hesitated because joining now would make them juniors. Zhou Hai told Song Linghai that if they could get an advanced crystal, they might still have a shot at rising in the future. At Yagaoi's base, Chenlu sent everyone to gather supplies while he checked the area himself. Then Luo spotted a golden dog and happily patted her head. When he realized it was a female, he got excited. He'd found Dharma King a mate and saved himself 1,000 points. Later back at the villa, Chenlu thanked Xiao Hai for the help and announced they'd have a barbecue the next day. When he went inside, he found Dharma waiting to talk about points. However, first Chenlu told him he had brought back something special. As soon as Dharma saw the golden dog, he started tearing up. Chenlu was confused, wondering if he was really that happy about getting a female dog. In fact, Dharma thought Chenlu wasn't only feeding rice, he'd also been keeping other dogs outside. He took the golden dog as his replacement and got mad, thinking all his efforts so far meant nothing to him. Seeing him cry, Chenlu asked what was wrong. Didn't he like the wife he brought? He even asked whether Dharma preferred a big dog or a small one. That finally made Dharma feel a bit better once he understood she was meant to be his wife. Even so, Dharma King flat out refused to accept the golden retriever as his wife. So, Chenlu called Rice over to help settle things and translate, while he argued with Dharma King about the point total. Lu said Dharma would get 300 points for killing Yafi. Rice translated that Dharma was saying he also killed others too, so Chenlu raised it to 500 and told him his total was now 1,500 points. Rice then translated that Dharma wanted to trade all those points for the title of Elder Dog. He tensed up but agreed even though he couldn't understand why Dharma cared so much about that title. Rice added that Dharma wanted the news announced right away in front of everyone. Chenlu told both of them to go sleep since it was getting late. The next morning, Xiao Hai and the others were thrilled that the barbecue was really happening. Chenlu also told Xiao Hai that when he left the villa, he'd be given 200 lb of meat. He was doing it because the meat was close to expiring and needed to be used. A bit later, Lu called everyone together and announced that one member had done amazing work lately and earned 1,500 points. The amount needed to qualify as an elder, so he was promoting that member to elder. Hearing that, everyone was stunned. Becoming an elder took 1,500 points, and most of them only earned 3 or 4 a day. They started guessing it had to be Shahal Ming or Shu Yun. Then Chenlu introduced their new elder and everyone relaxed when they saw it was Dharma King. That made sense to them. Dharma King was so strong that even all of them together couldn't beat him. Chenlu praised Dharma's hard work and told everyone to call him Elder Dog. So they all did. While Xiao Hai felt like he was watching kids play house. Then he announced that Dharma was treating everyone at the bar, and they could drink as much as they wanted. Everyone thanked Dharma for the gift. Elsewhere, a boy told Lu that Yao Fei and Hana had been killed. Long Yu couldn't believe it, but the boy urged him to come see for himself since the base was nearby. When they arrived, they found people having a barbecue and started wondering if they could join. The guard told them they had to contribute something before eating or become members first. The rule was simple. Be at least level 3. And after joining, help fight zombies. Liu smiled because that idea matched his own beliefs. But his mood dropped when he remembered 2 people in his group were still only level 2. At first, they thought the level 3 members should join now, while Liu stayed behind to help the others reach level 3 first. But then they decided to ask anyway. They explained that only 2 of them were level 2, while they also had 1 level 4 and wanted to know if the villa would still let them join. So Liu asked the guard to inform the leader that he was Long, a level 4 elementalist, and wanted to have a talk. The scene moves to Chenlu, who was telling Dharma that everyone had drunk 1,568 beers, which meant his points had dropped to 1,568. Dharma was horrified and wondered how that was possible. Did these people drink like pigs or what? Just then, a guard reported that a group wanted to join and their leader, Long Yu, hoped Chenlu would accept their 2 level 2 members too. Hearing that name, Chenlu lit up and rushed to the entrance to meet Liu. When they met, Chenlu asked why his group wanted to join. Lai Yu said it was because his way of doing things matched their own. Chenlu then asked about his ability. Liu explained that he could turn his body into metal, giving him strong defense and solid physical power. Chenlu could tell Liu still didn't understand how valuable that power really was, so he decided to show him. Lai Yu got ready and Chenla punched him in the chest. Lai Yu was shocked that one punch could shake his metal body back. He couldn't understand it, because level 3 elementalists had attacked him before without causing that kind of force. Chenlu then said he'd heard metal elementalists could reshape metal into different forms, making it stronger and sharper. Liu said he could do that too, but Chenlu caught him off guard by telling him to turn it into gold. Liu tensed up. He had never tried that before. Chenlu told him to study a gold ring, learn its atomic structure, and try. Liu nervously gave it a shot. To his shock, he really turned the metal into a gold ring. Smiling, Chenlu asked if he understood his true value. Now he explained that the change didn't last because Liu's level was still low, but as he got stronger, he'd slowly be able to make transformed metal stay solid. Milio went on to explain even more uses for that power, and Liu said he finally understood. So Hiloa happily welcomed Liu and his people, inviting them to join the barbecue. Meanwhile, a girl named Li Fish arrived at Chenlu's villa, using invisibility to look for Mangan. Mangan was eating without a care when she suddenly heard someone crying nearby. She looked up and froze. It was her friend Li Fish. Li Fish was stunned to find Mangan casually eating chicken fried rice while she'd been worried sick. She had come looking for her. Outside, Dharma noticed an intruder had slipped in and rushed to tell Chenlu. Chenlu immediately ran toward Mangan's room. He wasn't about to let his future with Mangan fall apart. The moment he stepped in, Muo demanded to know who Li Fish was and how she got inside. Mangan quickly explained that Li Fish was her friend and used invisibility to sneak in. That made Chenlu even happier. An ability like that could be really useful. He explained that he brought Mangan here to keep her safe, but didn't expect Li Fish to care this much too. Then he invited Li Fish to stay with them if she wanted. Li Fish asked what she'd have to do. He said she'd need to use her invisibility to help find more mutants. Li Fish asked if he meant the ones that look strange and stand out. Chenlu tensed and asked how she knew that. Li Fish said that on the way here she saw a dead zombie still moving. It looked totally different, so she didn't dare get close. Chenlu realized it had to be a Heil mutant zombie. So he asked Li Fish where it was. Once he got the location, Luo was ready to check it out, but Zhou stopped him, saying something felt off. He saw Zhao shaking and asked what happened. Why was he so nervous? Zhou said he spotted a zombie 100 meters away. But in an instant, it rushed over and killed several of his people. Chenlu was shocked by how strong it sounded. He started wondering if this was the mutant that killed Jia. Zhou's whole group kept talking about how fast and powerful that mutant was. Then to Chenlu's surprise, Rice showed up and said he was finished. Rice asked what he meant. How could the mighty Void King be finished? Chenlu quickly pulled Rice into a black space and told her to sense it carefully. A few seconds later, Rice said it was nearly dead. It was insanely dangerous, but it also carried huge benefits that made Chenlu realize the mutant had actually come for him. From Xiao and the others' report, he guessed it was a level 7 wind mutant zombie. What bothered him was that he didn't remember anything like it from his past life. He also kept thinking about the huge benefits part, because even a level 7 crystal shouldn't be that valuable. Chenlu then asked whether Milling and Millie were in danger too. Rice said no, this time only Chenlu was in trouble. After they came back out, Xiao asked if they should evacuate right away. Lu told them to stay in the villa while he went ahead to see the zombie himself. At the same time, Su, Millie, and Miling were coming back with supplies and crystals. The mutant had followed them all the way to the villa. It lunged at the guards by the gate, forcing them to sound the alarm and alert Chenlu that the terrifying mutant had attacked. When Su and the sisters turned around, they were stunned to finally see the mutant behind them. He rushed in and slashed at it with his void sword, but to his shock, the strike left no wound at all. Millie panicked and asked what was happening. Chenlu knew he was in trouble. Mei and the others were there, so he couldn't just run and leave them. A moment later, the mutant zombie attacks Chenlu and puts everyone on edge, then suddenly shifts its attention toward Millie and Miling. Knowing he couldn't beat it head-on, he decided to escape through void space with the others. The problem was he'd never tried taking 4 people with him before. Even so, he chose to risk it and told everyone to hold on tight. He tried to get away, but just like he feared, only he was transported. Everyone else was left behind. The zombie immediately went after Millie and Chenlu's heart dropped. He jumped back to fight, hoping the mutant's short lifespan would finally run out. The mutant closed in on Chenlu, and all he could do was pray it died first. Then a crystal lit up inside his head, and the zombie dropped dead. Before Lo could figure out what happened, he passed out. Millie and the others panicked. Milling ordered the guards to seal the main gate until he woke up, then had Sudhaju carry him to his room. Back in the room, Dharma was horrified and yelled at everyone for letting their master end up like this again. Rice told them to calm down. She had already predicted Chenlu would be in danger, but he wouldn't die and he might even gain something big from it. Millie kept crying, still scared for him. Rice got annoyed and asked why nobody believed her. The story then jumped ahead 2 days when Chenlu finally woke up. Seeing him conscious again, Millie and Dharma were relieved. After hearing he'd been unconscious, Luo tried to remember what happened. Then it hit him. It seemed like he had used some kind of power to speed up the mutant's death. Now he was confused, wondering if that ability was time acceleration. Chenlu focused and tried to use that power again, thinking he might have gained a second ability, and he had his new power really was time acceleration. When Millie heard the word acceleration, she asked what he meant. He stiffly brushed it off and said it was nothing. Then he remembered that in his past life he had only met one person with time-based acceleration. His mind flashed back to that life when he was stealing something, and Millie tried to stop him. He warned her not to forget that he was the Void King. Then he suddenly couldn't move, and a girl asked what he'd do if she stopped time, and right after that, Millie kicked him in the butt. Back in the present, Chenlu remembered the girl's name was Jiang Chushur, and she could stop time for one target with a single move. He also recalled that after Jiang Chushur died in his past life, he took her body away from the zombies and stored it in dimensional space. But back then, he never absorbed her crystal. He pushed the thought aside. In the present, his crystal had shattered, and it would need at least 3 months to recover. Chenlu asked Millie if they had taken out the mutant crystal. Millie handed him the crystal, and his mood sank after all that work. It was only an 8th grade crystal. He offered it to Dharma, telling the Dharma King to absorb it and reach level 5. The Dharma King refused at first, saying Chenlu Lua would probably charge him points for it, and he was already deep in debt. Chenlu got mad and said he wouldn't deduct anything, and whoever reached level 5 first would get 500 points. The second he heard that, the Dharma King snatched the crystal, thrilled at the thought of earning 500 points. Millie said she'd go ask Mayu to cook, but Mua stopped her and sent the Dharma King to do it instead. He also told the Dharma King to let everyone know he was awake and announced 3 days of beef and mutton to celebrate. After the Dharma King left, Chenlu hugged Millie, feeling lucky to have someone who cared about him. Elsewhere, his subordinates were fighting a boy named Anshin Luo, who mocked them for not running when they had the chance. He said they were out of options now and couldn't blame him for what happened next. His side mocked him back, saying he only looked tough because of that elephant, while their elder dog was way stronger and cooler. They kept baiting Anshenlu, saying if he really fought that dog, he might die before he even understood what happened. They kept mocking him, warning that if he dared face it, he wouldn't even know how he died, and Shenlua was shaken. He couldn't believe any dog could be braver than his unbeatable elephant. After wiping out Chenless men, Shenlua headed straight for the villa to find that dog. What he didn't know was that 2 wolves were trailing him and his group. Back at the villa, the girls were playing with the golden retriever when they spotted a huge elephant coming their way. They quickly warned everyone inside to get ready to fight and defend the villa. As soon as Chenlu heard about the elephant, he guessed the rider had to be Anshenlu. At the entrance, Miling asked Anshenlu what he wanted. After hearing they had an amazing dog, he assumed they meant the golden retriever and laughed, saying that little dog sure was brave. The Myth sisters immediately got tense and realized he had the wrong dog. Still, the golden retriever really was fearless, standing right in front of the elephant, and Chan Luel laughed again and asked if the dog really wanted to fight. Miling stepped in and accepted the challenge for the dog. Dharma tried to jump into the fight too, but Chanlua stopped him. This was Milling's training. The battle began, and when the elephant attacked with its trunk, Miling answered with Red Lotus Burst. Chenlu was impressed. Miling had really learned his signature move, Red Lotus Burst. The hit enraged the elephant, and it threw Anshenlua off its back. Annenlua panicked and ordered his whole team to gang up on Miling. Chenlu was irritated. This was supposed to be a one-on-one fight, and Ancient Lua was cheating. Even with the whole group attacking, Miling still held her ground, but Chenlu finally told his people to join in. Within minutes, Ancient Luo's side was completely beaten. Seeing that, Ancient Luo turned and ran, so Luo told Dharma to chase him down. Dharma gladly took off, already thinking about the points he'd earned for killing Ancient Luo. But then, Ancient Luo ran straight into the wolves, following from the other side, and got attacked by them. Dharma got excited, but before anything else, he wanted the points for taking down Ancient Luo. The wolves were shocked by how strong Dharma was. Then everything got weird. Dharma fell for the white female wolf the second he saw her. When the wolves tried to run, he chased after them. He caught the white wolf and awkwardly asked if they could be friends. Just then, Chen and the others showed up and realized these were wolves, not dogs. He quickly saw what was going on. Dharma was acting like a total lover-struck puppy around the white wolf. So, Chen Lu brought the wolves back to the villa. At the villa, Dharma kept yelling about his wolf, so Chen kicked him and told him to calm down. The wolf was never going to warm up to him like that. Then, Enshin explained that wolves respect strength. Enshin explains that wolves respect strength, so gaining their submission means proving dominance rather than trying to win them over with affection alone. "Master." He kicked him away again and told him to quit making a fool of himself. After that, Chenlu thought about their situation. At this rate, zombies would hit level 4 in a little over a month. Those zombies would be stronger and a bit smarter. For now, the villa was still safe, but being inside the city meant a huge zombie wave could come later. That risk was real. So Chen decided they needed a new base before it was too late. He pulled out a map. On it, he found a village about 30 mi from the city. He chose it as their next base and planned to go there the next day to clear the zombies first. Then the next day came and everyone headed for the village. On the way, Chen warned them to stay alert for both normal zombies and mutant ones. Then said he'd scout the area first. While checking the place, Chenlu found the water was clean. The fish in it tasted bitter and sour. That was strange. All of a sudden, a mutant attacked and the group started pulling back. Even so, some of them were grabbed by the mutant zombie. Tamian went over to inspect the mutant. To his surprise, it could talk. It called itself Iron Head and bragged that its head was so hard anyone who wanted to live should move aside. However, Chain answered with a kick right to Iron Head's crotch. Iron Head cried out that his head was tough, not that part. He ignored him and kept attacking that spot while Iron Head kept shouting that his head wasn't down there. Then Chen switched targets and hit the head, following up with a rain of punches to Iron Head's face. In the end, Iron Head started crying and begged Chenlu to spare him, promising he wouldn't hurt anyone again. Chen figured Iron Head could be useful as a training dummy for Sad Haju and Myling, so he kept him and ordered him into the truck with no trying to run. Elsewhere, some mutant crabs were moving toward a certain place. At another base, people reported a sudden tide had flooded a huge nearby area and asked if they should move toward the city. Everyone pushed for going there. Their leader Fang, a level 5 player, told them to pack up and get the vehicle ready. They were leaving for the city the next morning. A month later, Chenlu was yelling at a man named Li Hao for keeping the supplies instead of sharing like they agreed. That was the issue. Li nervously denied it, saying he'd never dare trick them. Chen had shown up out of nowhere and forced that partnership on him in the first place. Hearing Fen's name, he remembered that in his past life, Fen had also been a major power in the region with talented followers who all passed level 10. While they were still talking with Li Hao, a guard came in and said a group was outside the villa, asking to meet Chenlu, and their leader was Fen. Chen told them to let Fen in. When Fen arrived, he apologized for taking Chenlu's things by mistake. He said he had gotten 600 tons of rice and flour and would give half as compensation. If that wasn't enough, he was willing to hand over all of it. He accepted the 300 tons of rice and flour. Then he asked Fang what he had really come for. The two went somewhere private to talk. Fang started by saying he'd just come from Cloud City, where he ruled as the top boss. He made it clear that no base leader there would dare refuse him. He added that big places near the sea and the coast were no good for survival anymore. So large groups would need to relocate. Divine City, the only major city nearby, would likely become the future meeting point for everyone. Then Fang asked Chen to work with him and deal with the coming storms together in the future. Chenlu understood the idea, but he kept wondering what Fang really wanted. The man seemed too quick to bend. That felt off. Fang finally got to it. He said he'd seen Chen's base outside the city and honestly envied it. Then he asked for half the land for himself, saying his man Yanglu could grow vegetables there and split the harvest 50-50. That made Chenlu furious. He could ignore Fang acting overly friendly. However, asking for half the base crossed the line. He said an alliance was possible only if Fang had no hidden agenda, and if they worked together, it would be on his terms. Otherwise, there was nothing to discuss. Fang shot back that alliances usually follow the stronger side. Chenlu snapped and asked if Fang really thought he was stronger. Fang said he had reached level 5 more than half a month ago. He admitted he couldn't storm Chenlu's base alone, but if he attacked little by little, dozens would die every day and eventually everything would belong to him. He asked if that was a threat. In his head he scoffed. Dharma had hit level 5 a month and a half ago, and Myling Sadushu and the others reached level 5 a month ago too. Fang had nothing to brag about. Fang then proposed a best-of-3 duel with the winner leading the alliance. Chen agreed and told Fang to do it today. After that, Chenlu figured beating Fang outright might be tough, so he decided he could always make an accident happen during the duel and kill him. Funny enough, Fang was thinking the same thing. He planned to accidentally kill Chen and settle everything at once. At the arena, Fang reminded Chenlu that anyone who broke the agreement would be punished. He agreed and sent Sudahaju out for round 1. Fang chose a level 4 elemental user and told Sununyu to step up and fight. As the match began, Sunyu raised earth pillars as a shield. Sudahaju looked a little annoyed. If he were slimmer, he could have slipped right through. Next, Sun Yu used a swamp-type attack. Watching that, Chen was impressed. Sun Yu clearly had the talent to become someone important later on. Still, Sudhaju smashed through the defense with a few hard punches, and Sunu gave up the match. Fang was furious to lose the first round, so he ordered his people to bring out the truck. Inside was a level 3 mutant zombie, and the sight of it shocked everyone. Even Chen had to admit he'd underestimated Fang. He hadn't expected him to control a zombie too. So Chenlu decided to answer zombie with zombie and told Soju to bring out Iron Head. When Iron Head showed up, he immediately started complaining that he was starving, because Chenlu kept promising food tomorrow and never delivered. Chen responded with another kick to the crotch, saying he'd been happy with Iron Head's obedience for the past month, but not with this attitude. Then he ordered him to go kill Fang's zombie. Fang was stunned, just like him. Chenlu had his own zombie under control, and he had no clue how strong Iron Head really was. So, the zombie fight began. But after taking one fire attack from the other zombie, Iron Head forgot the fight and lunged at a girl to eat her instead. Seeing that, Chen rushed over to save her. He ordered Iron Head to get back, but Iron Head just yelled that he wanted to eat people. Chen reminded him food was promised for tomorrow, but Iron Head had already figured it out. Tomorrow was never coming. For a moment Max considered killing Iron Head, but right then, Iron Head mutated. He tensed up and tried to cut off his legs first, but his attack did nothing. Then Iron Head yelled that he'd evolved and was much stronger now. He tried to smash Chen under his paws, but Chenlu dodged and struck Iron Head's weak spot, only for it to fail. Iron Head bragged that even that place had become tougher now. Chenlu realized the mutant's former weakness had turned into his hardest part. It was so tough that even the level 8 zombie Chen, once killed with his time acceleration ability, hadn't felt like this. So, he used time acceleration again and charged in with the Void Sword. At the same time, he pictured the attack in his mind, imagining Iron Head being forced backward. Suddenly, Iron Head froze as his body began tearing apart on its own. Chenlu was confused, too, and wondered if those cuts came from the attack he had only imagined seconds earlier. Just as Chen moved in for the finishing blow, another attack came at them. It was Fang trying to use the moment to kill Chenlu and later pretend it was an accident while aiming for Iron Head. But Fang was stunned when Chen came out of his ultimate attack completely unharmed. He coldly told him that if he wanted to land another hit, he needed to move faster. That one line shut the attack down. Fang Jianqing quickly tried to play it off and said it was just a mistake. At the same time, Iron Head begged Chenlu not to cut him in half and kept apologizing, but it changed nothing. Chenlu ignored the pleading and sliced through his waist, finishing him for good. While pulling out the crystal, Chenlu noticed Fang Sanchang staring at it in shock. From its size, Fang guessed Iron Head had reached level 8 or even 9. Yet Chenlu still beat him with ease. After that, Fang King walked over, admitted defeat, and called him both the winner and their new leader. Chenlu shot back with one question. What kind of friend sneaks in an attack like that? Fang Jiangqing kept insisting it was an accident and begged him to believe him. Chenlu wasn't buying it. He started slapping Fanging around, then demanded a straight answer about who the leader was. With tears in his eyes, Fanging finally gave in and said the leader was Lu. Then he turned to the girl and the rest of Fanging's people, asking if they would join him like the deal said. She agreed and Chenlu told her to introduce herself and explain what everyone could do. Even so, Fang Jiangqing was boiling inside. He had lost every follower, but he still thought he could rebuild somewhere else if he made it to another city. So, he begged Mu to let him go, promising his people would join willingly. Mu agreed and said neither he nor his men would touch Fang Jiangqing. Fang Jiangqing told his followers he wasn't their leader anymore, then took off running, trusting him Lua to keep that promise. Chenlu only glanced at Dharma and that was enough. Dharma understood right away. Chenlu said his people wouldn't kill Fang King, but a dog still could. Once Fang Jiangqing got a little distance away, he started to relax, thinking no one was coming after him. Then a dog rushed straight at him. Fang Jiangqing froze and nervously asked what it was going to do. In that moment, he realized he didn't even measure up to Chenlu's dog. After finishing the job, Dharma started thinking about how many points he would earn. On Shenla's side, he was going through Fang Jiangqing's roster. If he took them all in, his force would reach 3,000 people. So he decided to test everyone first and only keep those who passed. He told Lang Himlu to spread the word. Not long after, Dharma came back and asked about his fee, and the extra charge for burying the body to pay for the crystal in the service. Chenlu handed Dharma 500 points. Then he told Dharma to come with him to the new base, so they could inspect the area and see how the work was going. Next, the scene shifts to the new base where Shahal was under attack by bugs. Shahal started cutting them down and in the end, the mutated one begged for mercy and apologized. When Chenlu arrived, he saw what it was and decided it could actually help improve the area, so he spared the mutated beetle. Then Chenlu made a deal with it. The beetle had to help when called, and in return, it could eat dong whenever it wanted. It accepted the deal for 200 points worth of dong each day. After that, the scene moves to Xiao Hai and Songling Hai talking about Chunla's new base outside the city. By the end of their talk, they decided to break up their own group and join Chenlu together. When Xiao and the others arrived, they were amazed by how big and impressive his new base was. Chenlu saw them and asked Xiao why they had come. Xiao said they wanted to join his side and asked if he would accept them. Chenlu agreed since Xiao seemed like a strong leader who could help gather people and useful information. He told Xia there were 2 teams open, one left behind by Zhongfang and the second needed a leader. So Xiao got that spot. Then the scene shifts outside the base where 2 boys were talking. One of them was named Linchen. Linton's friend told him Chenlu's base was highly advanced and recruiting anyone level 4 or above. So Linchen told his friend to check their supplies while he went to meet the person in charge with a proper gift. Inside the house, Chenlu and Xiao Hai were talking when Guang interrupted to say that someone named Linchen wanted to meet Chenlu. He told him to bring him in. When they met, Linchen introduced himself and presented the gifts he had brought. However, the moment Chenlu saw him, rage hit hard. In his past life, Linton and his men had blocked him and Big Saju. The next moment flashback to that past life when Chenlu and Saju were surrounded by Linchen's group as they chased them down. Saju told Chenlu to run and died protecting him. Because of that, seeing Linton again filled Chenlu with fury. Even if Linton hadn't done anything in this life yet, Chenlu still felt he had to die for what he did before. Only then could Chenlu get some peace. Still, he needed to wait until Linton gathered the same people who had trapped them in the previous life. So he hid his anger and said he liked the gifts. Linchen brightened up and explained that he was new here, so he hoped Chenlu would look after his group. Chenlu agreed and told Guang to spread the word. Anyone against Linton was against him. Linton thanked Chenlu and said he had brought one more thing for him. He called his men over with the gift and explained that thousands of giant sea turtles had washed up near the shore, so he took the chance to hunt them. Linton offered the turtle shells, saying even a level 4 evolver would struggle to break them. That made Chenlu think about heading to the beach. On the way, he ran into a mutant zombie. The zombie asked him if they could work together. Chenlu was a little impressed, but then the mutant asked him to lure humans over his food. Chenlu asked what he would get in return. He wasn't helping for free. That instantly made the mutant furious, and it barked back as if Chenlu should be grateful just to be asked. That set Chenlu off and he started beating the zombie. After getting pummeled over and over, the mutant was left stunned, wondering why this human was so brutal. In the end, the mutant zombie apologized. Even then, he made his own deal. The mutant would lure strong zombies to him and in exchange he would give it meat to eat. Then the scene shifts to the beach where Chenlu went after the sea turtles. The turtles panicked when they saw him and lashed out by aiming straight for his groin. That made Luo furious. He pulled out the void sword and cut down the sea turtles in a few quick slashes. Afterward, he collected the shells and stored them in void space until he suddenly spotted the Turtle King and tensed up from its size. This monster looked enormous with strength around level 7 or 8. Then Chenlu noticed the Turtle King was laying eggs. He figured its bloodline had to be special, and raising those eggs from birth could be a huge gain for him. However, while he was still thinking, the Turtle King noticed him, so Chenlu had no choice but to try killing it and taking the eggs. Before he could make a move, the Turtle King struck first, shooting its neck out nearly 5 m. Chenlu barely dodged and was shocked by that ability. However, he also felt a little better knowing turtles usually rely on defense. Then to his surprise, a water blast shot right at him, catching him off guard for a moment. Now Chenlu realized this turtle fought like a Blastoise. He thought about going all out, but dropped the idea because it would drain his power too much. He also saw that using void movement in that area would be hard and understood he couldn't win head-on, so he decided to draw the Turtle King away and steal the eggs instead. Chenlu ran from the nest on purpose, making sure the Turtle King chased him. The bait worked and Lu easily grabbed the eggs. When the Turtle King realized what happened, it became furious and confused. Too late to stop him. As it attacked again, Chenlu used his void space to escape. The Turtle King was left stunned, searching around for where he had gone. A short distance away, he laughed to himself, thinking there was nothing the Void King couldn't take. Then the scene shifts. By 2 days, Chenlu remembered it was time to meet the mutant zombie again. So, he asked Rice what she sensed. She said the trip looked safe, and that his luck was through the roof. With that answer, Chenlu headed to the meeting. After he left, Rice got confused. She could still sense Million kneeling but not Chenlu anymore. The scene moves to the meeting spot. This time the mutant zombie had brought its boss and told him all about Chenlu. Without waiting, the boss zombie attacked him with a spatial slash. Chenlu was stunned. The zombie had actually brought a mutant with space powers. Once he saw how fast it was, his tension rose even more. He was sure he could handle a level 8 zombie alone, but level 9 or 10 was another story. On the other side, the mutant zombie was shocked that Chenlu dodged with a similar power and asked if he was a spatial ability user too. That question surprised Chenlu. It knew about that. Then the mutant attacked again, and he answered with his void sword. To his shock, the blade didn't even leave a scratch. Now he had to figure out how to break through a level 9 defense. He even got cut by the mutant's counterattack, so he had no choice left. Even with the risk of crystal rupture, Chenlu decided to trust Rice and use time acceleration. He dodged, slipped behind the zombie, and activated the skill as he struck. To his surprise, it worked. The zombie's lifespan started burning away fast, but the effect was still too slow. Chen kept hoping the zombie would drop dead. Even so, the mutant zombie still lunged at Chenlu, desperate to get revenge. Right before it could reach him, it suddenly collapsed. As it hit the ground, the zombie couldn't understand what was happening. In the end, Chenlu brought the mutant zombie down. The other zombie saw that and instantly tried to run for its life. Chen caught up with it with no trouble and mocked it, asking if it didn't want to rip out his guts anymore. The zombie burst into tears and begged him not to kill it. He just laughed. He said he would spare it since it could help him lure in strong-level zombies every week. When Chenlu got back to the base, Wang Hao reported two things. Mutants had been seen nearby, and the western base boss seemed to have a level 7 crystal. Song Linghai also brought a list of evolvers he had found. Chen said the news itself wasn't a big deal, but one name shocked him. Jin Yongjiang Chenlu believed that guy could become a future Kingle evolver, even though he was only mid-level now. He told Wang Ho and Song Linghai to gather everything they could on Jin Yuanjiang. Then he got a call from him. Guang saying a man named Jian was being hunted. He also said Jian might trade level 7 crystals for protection. Chenlu Guang even thought about taking the crystal first and tossing Jian out after. Hearing that, Chenlu wondered when Chenlu Guang had turned so ruthless. Then Chenlu decided to use this chance to build a true sanctuary, one where he could settle things for people no matter how badly they'd messed up. So he told him Guang to spread the word. He was personally protecting Jiashan, and anyone who wanted Jiashan or anything he had could come take it themselves. Meanwhile, at the western base, a boy rushed over to Jian with the news. Jiashan had escaped to Chenlu base and Chenlu was sheltering him now. They grew nervous since they couldn't fight Chenlu head-on. They called for a mutant zombie named Iron Leg and said it was his turn. Iron Leg asked why he should help them. If he didn't, would he still get to eat? Before Jiang could answer, an underling ran in shouting that someone had broken into the base and no one could stop them. He didn't even finish before the intruder killed him. Zhenang nervously demanded to know who it was. A man named Moing stepped forward and asked if Zhen was the leader. Then he coolly asked whether Zhen wanted to handle this himself or if he should start. Iron Leg charged at Moing, yelling that this was his territory. However, Moing blinked behind Zhenang and killed him in one move. Soon after, a girl named Mai showed up and joked that she thought she was late. Moing told her the mutant zombie was strong, but no one could beat his sword. Mulai then said she had found something. A notice sent from Chen's side. After reading it, Moing laughed and decided to prove them wrong. After that, Moing and his group headed back to their own base. The scene moves to him near the Turtle King's eggs, waiting for them to hatch. Once they did, Chen went to greet the baby turtles, but one blasted a water ball right into his face. Chenlu was stunned, then delighted. The little turtle already had a level 2 ability. After that, he considered using time acceleration to help them grow faster. While Chenlu was training and playing with the baby turtles, he got a report 10 patrol members had been attacked by a level 4 enemy. 2 survived, 1 came back with the news and the other was being held hostage at the enemy base. Hai Kuang added that the leader was named Moing. Moing said that if they wanted the hostage back, they had to come to the top of Mount Wuyun with only 3 people, otherwise the hostage would die. Hearing the name, Chen tried to remember if he'd ever met a Moing before, and if not, why this guy was coming after him. Chenlu Kuang also said the survivor mentioned a strange sword. With a single slash, it cut their captain in half. That made Chenlu pause. Could Moing use a void sword too? That night on Wuyun Mountain, Molly said she didn't think anyone was coming and suggested they leave early. Moing shut that down. He was sure they would come because the other side was probably planning to trap them with numbers. If so, that would make things fun. Then, a voice replied that only a few beers could make someone think like that. Moing was startled to find Chen already there and wondered when he had shown up. The hostage lit up the moment he saw him, noting that Chenlu then asked why Moing had set his sights on him. Moing said Chen's arrogance amused him, and he just wanted some fun. He smiled, thinking this was just like his past life when he got bored. He chased the same kind of thrill. Moing then drew the void sword. Chenlu praised him for having a spatial power like that, then said it was a shame he was asking for his own death. When Chen pulled out his own void sword, both Moing and Molly froze. They couldn't believe someone else had the same power. Chenlu laughed to himself, thinking they were idiots. Panicking, Molly summoned several creatures. Chen was actually pleased. He thought Molly might become a useful pawn later. With one slash, he wiped out every summoned creature. Molly was stunned, but Moing's followers forced themselves to stay calm and rushed them together. He cut through all of them in no time. Moing tensed up. Even at level 6, he couldn't track Shen at all. Chenlu told Moing that since Moing had slaughtered his people, he would return the favor and erase Moing's group the same way. Then Chenlu was suddenly smashed into a wall. Looking up, he saw Molly had used a dark ability. She yelled for Moing to run. He said he'd let Moing run for now. His 400-meter sword was already waiting for him. The moment they saw that sword, both Moing and Moing panicked and started begging for mercy. Chong then said he also had spatial manipulation and could even teach it to Moing. Moing quickly admitted it was an incredibly useful skill. Chenlu answered by slapping him around and asking if he was even worthy of being taught. Instead of killing Moing, Chenlu chose to break his limbs and drag him back as a warning to everyone else. Back at the base, Moing begged for forgiveness and pleaded for her brother's life, even offering herself to take any punishment in his place. Sean walked over, patted her head, and told her to behave and listen. If everything went smoothly, he explained that she'd be allowed to see her brother again in 2 months. Moing agreed, and he told the girls to watch over her and make sure she stayed alive. He was doing all this because he wanted level 7 crystals. After that, Chen noticed Xiao Hai waiting and warned him to be more careful from now on. Jia Hai then said they had taken in a small team of a few dozen people who had just arrived in the capital. His brother was Jiaozi Chenlu and his sister was Jiaozi. He added that his brother used wind and his sister had the hearing that Chenlu was pleased. Xiao Hai also brought over the latest news from Sunling Hai about Jin Yanjiang. He was willing to submit but wanted 30 cans of milk powder and regular vegetable supplies first. Chenlu agreed and told Xiao Hai to send Su to Bihao with 3 luxury cars since Chenlu wanted to inspect the place himself and lock it down. He then met Jin Yuanjiang, pointed out where the supplies would be kept, and asked again about joining. Jin Yuanjiang said he would, but he had one condition. No base kept useless people around. He explained that, but his wife was pregnant. He hoped she could stay safely in the base and handle logistics work. Jan agreed but made one thing clear. If Jin Yuanjiang wanted points, he had to kill zombies. The scene then shifted to the sea where the Turtle King cried out for help because someone had stolen his children. When a clamshell opened, a beautiful woman named Hai came out. The Turtle King stared at her in shock and asked about her new form. She explained that she'd leveled up and could now switch easily between human and clam form. The Turtle King said he could still sense his children and asked her to help bring them back. She agreed, but told him to have his turtles guard her clam shell first. The scene then returned to Chun as he headed home. On the way, he heard a girl's voice introducing herself as his new underling, Xiao Shi. She urged him to hurry back, saying that if he didn't, she and Millie would be dead. That instantly put Chenlu on edge. He couldn't imagine what could threaten Millie Milling, when the base had Dharma at level 7 and Millie Milling and Sidhaju were all level 6. In the middle of that tension, he told Sidhaju he was going back first and the others needed to follow fast. When Shun arrived, he got annoyed seeing Millie and the others acting so calm. He asked why they looked relaxed when Millie had claimed it was a life-or-death emergency. Rice answered that now that Chenlu was back, there was no danger. Then Xiaozi explained that an 8M creature like a sea turtle was standing near the base. At once, Chen realized it was the same turtle whose eggs he had stolen. He rushed outside to face the turtle. Feeling confident he was level 7 now, and with the base backing him up, he figured he could win easily. The moment he got outside, he shouted at the turtle and demanded to know how it dared show up here. However, Hai cut in and asked who he was calling a beast. The second Shen saw her, he was stunned. She was a king-level powerhouse, the killing god. Seeing Hai floating in the air, he froze. He guessed she had reached level 10. Still, he felt a little safer. In his past life, he had managed to kill her once, and he remembered her weak point, darkness. Then Hai suddenly formed a barrier. It rose like a wall around him. Chenlu scoffed and asked if she really thought a weak barrier like that could hold him. As he searched for a way out, Hai fired her annihilation light at him. He barely dodged it. Chenlu countered with a surprise strike, but Hai slipped away, catching him off guard. That made her even harder to pin down. Then the Turtle King seized the opening and lunged from behind, trying to swallow Chenlu whole, but Chenlu escaped with Void Walk. Haichi laughed, mocking him. Did he really think those cheap tricks could hurt her? At the same time, she sent giant hands after him. However, Chenlu kept dodging with Void Walk. While avoiding her, he tried to think fast. He couldn't use other attacks in midair, and normal skills did nothing to her. Worse, Void Walk only had a limit of 100 uses. Watching him blink away again and again, Hai asked in surprise if he could use that move without any limit. He considered using his time power, but when he tried, nothing happened. That only made things worse. Meanwhile, the Turtle King turned toward Chenlu's followers, ready to wipe them out. Millie stepped up and started directing everyone, wondering how Chenlu had ended up tangled with freaks like these. Then, the Turtle King noticed a dog holding one of his babies in its mouth. He got emotional for a second, but quickly understood the dog was dangerously strong. Dharma warned him that if one slap hit the baby turtle, he couldn't promise what would happen next. Did the Turtle King really want his children hurt? Chenlu was impressed by that move. He rushed over to Dharma and took the baby turtle into his hands. Then he shouted at Hai and the Turtle King that if they attacked now, no one could say who would die first. Even the baby turtle cried out that anyone who wanted to kill its mother would have to kill it first. The Turtle King felt crushed hearing that his own child now saw Chenlu as its mother. Hai coldly said the child was useless now and moved to attack Dharma. Chenlu tensed up. He saw no clear way to stop her and it looked like Dharma was finished. However, when Hai got close enough to strike, Chenlu jumped in front of Dharma and yelled for her to be banished to the ends of the earth. Hai glared at him furious. Then a spatial exile opened and Hai vanished, showing Ilua had just used another strange power. Dharma let out a breath, knowing he would have died if his master hadn't stepped in. Chenlu was stunned too had he really pulled off spatial banishment and sent Hai away. However, the move drained him badly and even his crystals started cracking. Knowing he would return, Chenlu decided his first job was to find her weak point. The clamshell. He went to the Turtle King and asked about it. The Turtle King was shocked and demanded to know how Chenlu even knew. He told him to forget that and just answer. Hai had tried to hurt the baby turtles, and that was cruel enough already. The Turtle King had to admit he was right. Hai really had tried to harm the babies, so he agreed to talk, but only if Chenlu returned his children afterward. Chenlu refused. Once Hai learned he gave away the clamshell's location, she'd be furious and might attack him. He also reminded the Turtle King that he wanted his children safe. Besides, Chenlu had grown a little attached to the baby turtles, so he suggested the Turtle King stay near Rice, where he and the babies could also be protected. The Turtle King agreed, then pulled a shell from his back and gave it to Chenlu, saying his kind would not trouble anyone carrying it. He was pleased. He had gained something valuable with a very simple trick. After that, he told Millie that with the 4 baby turtles in hand, the Turtle King wouldn't dare act recklessly. He needed to head to Hai's lair first. Millie offered to come and boost his speed, but Chenlu turned her down, saying he wasn't going there to fight Hai head-on. Later, Chenlu waited for hygiene and thought things through. Breaking the clamshell wouldn't kill her right away. It would only buy time, and if she lost control and started slaughtering people, he wouldn't be able to stop her. When Hai arrived, Chenlu greeted her. Confused, she asked how he knew her name. He calmly said he also knew that once her clamshell was destroyed, she wouldn't have long to live. Hai was shaken at first, then figured the Turtle King must have told him everything. She asked what he wanted. Chenlu said they had no real grudge, so there was no need to fight to the death. Then he asked her to think about how long she had already lived and how much longer she wanted to live. Hai didn't understand, so he explained. He had time powers. He could speed time up now and in the future he was sure he could reverse it too. That caught her attention. She asked if he really could do that and Chenlu said yes, but only after reaching her level, which would take at least a year. Then he asked if she could wait 1 year. Hai agreed, but warned him that if a year passed and he failed, he couldn't blame her for getting rough. Chenlu accepted. A year from now, who would threaten whom was still up in the air? He then said he would return her clamshell, but she had to show good faith too by giving him the pearl on her head. To his surprise, Hai agreed to that as well. She said she hoped that in 1 year Chenlu would truly learn to reverse time. Otherwise, she said strength in the apocalypse was just wisdom. Chenlu laughed by his own wisdom. He had already pulled both the Turtle King and Hai to his side. The story then cut to a rare mutant zombie using a radiant attack to burn people alive, drying them out in seconds. Suddenly, a boy ran over and nervously delivered a message. His leader was willing to offer sacrifices, and the zombie could eat all he wanted. The mutant zombie laughed and asked if such a good deal was real. He added that if the offer wasn't enough, he would eat them too, and they had better be fresh. Then the scene moves to Chenlu's new base, where Xiao reported that Chengguan base had taken in a new light-type mutant zombie in a small village near North City. He figured that no matter how scary that mutation looked, it meant little against his time ability. He asked Rice about the attack and what she thought. Rice said this was a chance for Millie. And as for Chenlu himself, he should stop asking. Chenlu was pleased. This meant Millie was about to get stronger. The scene moves to Chongyuan base where Chongyuan was already dreaming about the future. Once the luminous zombie was dealt with, he could claim a level 6 crystal and level up. To his shock, one of his men rushed in to report that someone had smashed into the base and was heading straight for the mutant zombie's room. Changguan asked if the guards were all dead and how they had let Chenlu in. The boy explained that Lua had broken through a wall and barged in. Some men were surrounding him now, so Chengguan needed to go see for himself. In the zombie's room, the luminous zombie was busy eating when Chen Yuo kicked in the door and walked inside. The luminous zombie looked at him and asked if he was the next meal, then told him to cut off his ears and hand them over. Chenlu snapped back, asking how he dared speak to his father like that. The zombie flew into a rage and attacked. Mimsy laughed at how slow it was and teleported away. The luminous zombie was stunned and looked around, trying to figure out where Chenlu had gone. Before it could react, he struck from behind and judged that the zombie was around level 8 or 9. He realized he'd have to use his trump card. The zombie attacked again, yelling that it would erase Chenlu. This time, Chenlu Wu didn't wait and activated his time acceleration move. To his surprise, pain spread through the zombie's whole body. It slowly died. Lu pulled out the crystal and saw that it was level 10. Then Cheng Yuan showed up and shouted for Chenlu to put down his crystal. He asked what he meant by his crystal. Once Cheng Yuan recognized him, Chenlu casually asked if he could just take it as a gift. Cheng Yuan admitted Chenlu's base was powerful, but pointed out that Chenlu was alone right now. Then he gave him a choice. Drop the crystal or lose his life. Annoyed, Chenlu said that if Changguan refused to live in peace, then fine. Chang Yuan ordered his men to attack and promised big rewards to whoever brought him down. They got ready to move, but before anyone could act, Chenlu used his new power and warned that anyone blocking his path would be destroyed. Then a boy named Zhang Chuang stepped up, said Cheng Yuan deserved to die and declared Chenlu his new boss. Hugh liked hearing that and praised Zhang Chuang. Zheng Chong was overjoyed, thinking his future was now secure. And it was Chenlu really did make Zhang Chuang the new boss of that base. Sometime later, Chenlu Lu offered the level 10 crystal to Millie. She refused, saying it should go to him since he was the base anchor. Chenlu said he was close to level 8 already, and the crystal wouldn't be enough to push him to level 9, so it was better for her. He added that she needed to keep up with him in strength for his sake. Millie blushed, knowing he was teasing her in a romantic way. Then a week passed and Shamluo finally reached level 8. He noticed that with both space and time powers working together, his upgraded energy had risen by 4 times. Even if his body had only barely reached level 10, he knew he could start his plan. The next day, Hiluo gathered everyone and announced some good news. The base had improved a batch of seeds, boosting yield by 50%. After that, he decided to hold a trade meeting at South Stadium in Divine City. 5 days later, he told everyone to spread the word nearby. Chenlu was thrilled if people bought into this. He could make a huge profit selling seeds. The news made everyone excited, and they praised Chenlu, glad they had chosen to stay with him. Once they settled down, Chenlu said he had one more announcement. Starting that day, anyone who brought him enough chips could get his help and support. Then the scene shifts 5 days. At the exchange meeting, Chenlu Guang took charge as host. He brought Ouyang up to explain planting and the key rules. She said only natural ability users could do it, and they had to be at least level 4. After planting, they also needed to keep using their powers to clean the soil's pollution. Watching from afar, Chenlu noticed the turnout was small. Still, he hoped this would raise the value of natural ability users. Then he spotted someone, Wang Li. Chenlu remembered that in his past life, Wang Li had been obsessed with Mai and tried hard to take her for himself. Chenlu also remembers Wang Li creating a fake crisis so he could appear like a hero, only for the plan to fail and get an innocent person killed. Back then, Mei had used resurrection for the first time to bring that victim back to life. Now, Chenlu wondered if he should kill Wang Li right away or wait until he got stronger and gave a better crystal. When the planting talk ended, Chenlu Guang moved on to the next topic, the peace plan. He explained that their base would handle all kinds of problems for anyone who paid enough. Then Deng Shanhong stepped up with a level 7 crystal and asked Chenlu to help kill someone. He asked who the target was. Deng Sanhong said he wanted them to kill the food monster, Crazy Dragon, the one who had eaten his brother. The crowd was stunned. Crazy Dragon was actually Fang Long. His big brother demanded an explanation, and Crazy Dragon sneered that Deng Shanhong had escaped last time, but not this time. Deng Sanhong yelled out Crazy Dragon's real identity and pointed straight at him. Chenlu Guang hesitated for a second and looked to Chenlu Guang. Chenlu gave a small nod, so Chenlu Guang accepted the request and declared that every ogre should be killed. Wang Li stood up and said, Fang Long worked for him. Then he asked how Deng Xianhong could accuse Fang Long of eating someone without any proof. Deng Xianhong shot back that he had seen it with his own eyes. Wang Li insisted that could still be a lie. People around them started whispering about possible deceit. In the end, Shenlu stepped in. He told Deng Xianhong not to worry since they had taken the level 7 crystal and accepted the job. Fang Long was going to die whether he ate someone or not. Wang Li called Shenlu unreasonable, saying they had no feud. Luo answered plainly. He wanted Fang Long dead so Wang Yi could hand him over or deal with the result. That put Wang Li on edge. He knew this was Chenless ground and if they fought, he would lose. Fang Long was useful but not worth dying for. He figured his attitude would make others hate him. Once he reached level 7, he could team up with them later, so Wang Li backed down. The second he did, Fang Long bolted. Chenlu told Xiao to take care of it. Xiao cut him off and Fang Long angrily demanded to know if he understood who he was. Xiao didn't answer. He dropped him with a single hit. Wang Li was shaken. His second strongest man had gone down in one punch. Xiao followed up with a few more punches, and Chenlu told Deng Xianhong he could do whatever he wanted with Fang Long. Then Lu turned to the crowd. He knew some of them thought he was too arrogant and doubted his strength, so he revealed he was at level 8. Everyone was stunned. A level 8 fighter was a true regional ruler, the kind of person ordinary powerhouses couldn't compare to. The crowd quickly asked him to show what a level 8 could do. Chenlu agreed, then asked Deng Xianhong how badly he wanted Wang Li dead. Deng Xianhong said he wanted that too, but a level 7 crystal clearly wasn't enough. That was exactly what he wanted to hear. He smiled and said that since Deng Xianhong was a customer, he'd throw in a bonus. Then he told everyone to watch carefully. He was giving Wang Li to Deng Xianhong for free. Wang Li stiffened, suddenly realizing Chenlu was serious. Knowing he couldn't win, he chose to run. But the instant he turned to flee, Chenlu used Void Exile and cut off his head. Holding Wang Li's head, Chenlu asked the crowd if they saw that clearly. The crowd froze, stunned by what had just happened. Higuang tried to smooth things over by saying Wang Li kept zombies, which was why they acted, but Hiluo cut in and said he always removed every future threat and never let anyone who crossed him stay alive. He warned them that unless they had 9 lives, they should never offend him. Seeing his fury, everyone got scared and quickly promised they wouldn't provoke him. Then Shenlu's tone softened. He told them not to be afraid. He wouldn't hurt anyone unless they came after him. After that, he asked everyone to register and collect their seeds. He said he trusted them to pay what they owed. After growing the seeds, everyone agreed to his terms. Out of fear, sometime later, Sudu brought Chenlu news from Duang. A zombie named Iceland had formed a zombie base called Iceland Club. At the name, Chenlu remembered Iceland was a dangerous zombie and that club was a strong force made up of smart, advanced zombies. Sudu added that Iceland had used Chenlu's absence to gather zombies and was likely planning a night attack. Chenlu immediately told him to call everyone back and get ready for battle. As he was leaving, people crowded around him and asked to join his base. Chenlu told them a zombie horde might hit his base that very night, maybe 10,000 strong. He couldn't abandon home, and since they arrived now, they would help defend it. If they survived, they could become regular members. He also made one thing clear. They could leave now, but if anyone ran during the battle, he would show no mercy to that person. Once everyone chose, Chenlu said the ones still hesitating were out, and the ones who left had made their choice. As for those who stayed, he promised he wouldn't let his people take needless losses. Hearing that, they felt they had picked the right side. That night, Zhuang reported that they had gathered 6,000 zombies so far. Abyssalin praised him, saying that force was enough to rip the enemy apart while they watched from the rear. Then Ablasin ordered Duang to lead the horde in and come back after. Duang agreed, but he was nervous. Playing undercover against someone like Chenlu was not easy. On Chenlu's side, he was ready. The zombies were in sight, and the battle had begun. He told everyone to prepare, then released Skill 1. The group opened fire with fireballs, but the zombies kept blocking each other, so the skill wasn't landing well. Even so, the fire users kept fighting. A few minutes later, Myling reported that their large area fire spell could only be used twice, and the elemental fighters were running low. It was time for the next move. Chenlu then ordered the physical fighters to get ready and join the battle. Sudigu and the others rushed out to fight the zombies. Watching from above, Abyssalin admitted the enemy had some real skill. Another zombie told him not to worry. The wall was close to falling and one more wave should finish them. But Abyssalin got angry. If the enemy was this prepared, then someone had tipped them off. He turned to Zhuang and started suspecting him. Back with him Luo, Hiluguang relayed Duang's message. His cover as the mole was about to be blown. Duang also said Ablazelin planned to kill him then gather another zombie wave. Chenlu had hoped to make Duang leader of that group, so if Abyssalin killed him, that plan was done. he decided to deal with Ablazin himself. Before leaving he told Lu Guang to let Millie and Milling take over. Meanwhile, Alan was beating De Zhuang and demanding to know why he had betrayed them. Then Chenlu appeared behind Alan and asked if he was the leader of the zombie base, the one bold enough to attack him. Alan fired an ice crystal attack at him. Chenlu just smiled and cut off his head. After that, Chenlu waited for Duang to make a move so no one would doubt his loyalty. Duang understood right away. He jumped up, shouting that Mu had killed his big brother, and that he would take revenge with everything he had. Then, Duang threw a punch at him, and Chenlu played along, acting like he had been beaten back. He fled while shouting that he'd returned for revenge later. Happy that Duang's cover was now safe, Duang shocks everyone by punching Chenlu without hesitating. They ask if he wasn't scared. Chenlu might cut him down with his sword. A zombie named Black Thunder says they can't risk making Chenlu an enemy right now. Still, the group needs a leader, so he suggests taking charge himself. The group listens in silence. Duang slams a punch into Black Thunder and snaps that their big brother just died, yet he's already trying to grab power. He keeps beating him until Black Thunder finally gives in. Black Thunder quickly apologizes. Even so, Dawang says that's not enough. He has to make an example of him. After that, everyone starts calling Dawang their leader, but Dawang stops them. He says they're all equals now, no higher or lower. From this day on, their clan will be called Brotherhood Alliance. Later, DJ returns to him and asks how he did. He praises him, says he'll help him get stronger, and reminds him to keep recruiting smart, high-level zombies. Before leaving, Chenlu hands Dang a crystal as a reward. Chenlu wonders why the zombies pulled back so fast, figuring the next few days should bring in plenty of crystals. Then Jay-Z contacts him through telepathy. Hai found a level 10 creature and wants Chenlu to come collect the crystal so he can level up fast just like she promised. Excited, he tells Ji to let Hygiene know he's on the way. The scene shifts to the sea where Chenlu meets Hai and warmly calls her sister. Hai says a few pests had been bothering her lately, so she dealt with them for him. Then she gives him several crystals. Chenlu is thrilled with the reward, 2 level 7 crystals, 2 level 8 crystals, and 1 level 9 crystal. He thanks her and promises to work hard, grow stronger soon, and help her in return. Then he asks about the level 10 creature. She says it's out in the sea and tells him to wait at the shore. Once the time is right, they'll attack it together. 10 minutes later, Hai comes back, driving the creature out of the sea. The two of them attack at once, and Chenlu immediately uses spatial cut, but the fish dodges and fires back with an ice beam. Chenlu senses up. The blast is too close and he can't avoid it. The beam freezes Chenlu on the spot, making him realize he underestimated the mutant fish. When the creature fires the ice beam again, Chenlu Lua uses space exile and sends the fish away far off. Hai asks where he sent it, saying the result looked uncertain, kind of like what happened to her before. Chenlu tells her not to doubt him. This time he sent it about 30 mi east. After that, they collect the crystal. Chenlu is delighted to get a level 10 crystal from the fish and figures he only needs 4 or 5 more to reach level 9. Hai then tells him to try eating the giant mackerel. He stares at her shocked and asks if mutant flesh isn't hard to eat. Hai then explains her strange evolution and why she advanced so much farther than humans. She says that a year ago while resting on the seafloor, something fell into her body. A piece of meat, or at least that's what it seemed like. It caused intense pain as it slowly merged into her body. She was convinced that if it kept going, she would die. Luckily, her old friend, the Turtle King, saw what was happening and ate the rest of the meat right away. Hai says they both gained a huge benefit from it. The pain was terrible, but the effect was amazing. Chenlu is still puzzled about what that meat really was. Hai explains that after she swallowed that mysterious meat, fierce fish started hunting her. The giant mackerel had also eaten some of the same meat. Chenlu thinks it over carefully, but for the sake of power, he's willing to try it. By this point, Chenlu is no longer the lonely survivor who once waited for the world to end around him. He has food, territory, allies, awakened fighters, and even former enemies whose interests now overlap with his own. Every victory has come from remembering the first apocalypse, preparing earlier, and refusing to waste the second life he was given. The dangers ahead are still growing, but this time Chenlu is building a future instead of merely surviving one more day. For Chenlu, the second apocalypse has become a chance to protect what matters and create a world worth living in.